Chapter 421. 165 Incident. The Arrogant Su Nanjing, Second Update, _2. Yang Lin suddenly laughed. She spoke with a hoarse voice. Don't go looking for Teacher Lu, I still have 2,000 in my card, I'll withdraw it for you. Hurry up and go. Yang Jianpain slammed the beer can onto her head, looking at her emotionless face, the excitement in his eyes, fueled by alcohol, began to spread. You're a monster too. Not even capable of crying. Yang Lin lowered her head, gazing at the lily crushed under Yang Jianpain's foot. It was her lily, she thought. Auntie Zhang always saved the best for her, and now it was being trampled underfoot. With her head covered in fresh blood, she slowly opened the door and went out. Across the way, the old lady cracked her door open to watch her, opened her mouth as if to say something, but in the end, she didn't. Yang Lin took back her gaze, knowing what the old lady wanted to say. Everything will be better when you grow up. That's what everyone kept telling her. When she was 9, that's what the police told her. But how old did one have to be considered grown up? She made her way slowly down the stairs. She was now 19 years old. She had been looking forward to growing up since she was 5. Was 19 grown up enough? But why couldn't she see the end of the road? She had walked so far, endured so much suffering, never been afraid. She was only afraid she wouldn't reach the end of this road. People on the street stared at her strangely. Some even asked if she needed to call the police, if she needed to go to the hospital, but Yang Lin ignored them all. Her bangs were matted with blood and stuck to her forehead, and with the blood loss, her vision was beginning to blur. Yang Lin reached the street corner, mechanically withdrew the money, all savings from her part-time jobs for her college education. She bought a bottle of liquor and then went to a pharmacy to purchase some sleeping pills. The clerk looked at her head, wanting to say something, but Yang Lin walked away. Once outside, she calmly opened the bottle and stuffed the pills into it. Finally, she came to a convenience store and bought a knife. With the knife in hand and clutching the bottle of liquor, she walked step by step toward the tube building. Inside Ji Heng's courtyard, Ji Xiaojun had to leave for Beijing earlier today, and Ji Heng, taking advantage of Bai Lian's school hours, sent her a message. The butler was telling Ji Xiaojun and Shen Qing what to watch out for. Ji Xiaojun was somewhat startled. But my students. At a time like this, you shouldn't be worrying about that. I will take care of it for you, Xiao Jie interjected with implied meaning. The butler bowed his head, slowly and methodically sipping his tea. This tea. He paused for a moment. This tea should be the same as he remembered, served by the old master of the Mu family in its heyday to him as a reward. The butler clearly remembered this familiar taste. Where did this tea come from? He suddenly looked up. Shen Qing glanced over. It should be from Xiao Jiang. Xiao Jiang. It was the butler's first time hearing this name. Who is he? It's aliens. Shen Qing hesitated briefly. What exactly was Jiang Fulai's relation to them? Beside him, Ji Heng blew out a ring of smoke. His demeanor very detached. Alien's friend. Alien must be Bai Lian, the butler thought in surprise. Bai Lian had friends like that? He looked down at his cup of tea. Or perhaps there was something wrong with his taste. At 6:30. Xiao Jie spoke up. We should be leaving. If we're any later, we won't make the flight tomorrow. Upon hearing the departure, Shen Qing couldn't help but grip Ji Xian's sleeve, and the group made their way outside Purist Street, where Ji Heng smoked in silence, without speaking. Ji Xiaojun didn't inform the Ren family about his departure. Of course, even if he had, there's no guarantee they would have come. A silver commercial van was parked at the street corner. Shen Qing looked towards the bus stop, murmuring softly, Why hasn't Alien returned yet? The butler glanced at Shen Qing and Ji Xiaojun. He knew how dearly they regarded Bai Lian as their own child and advised them, Don't tell her about your trip to Zhongjing for now. For the butler, taking them to Zhongjing was already a stretch. It would be troublesome if Bai Lian found out and wanted to join. Thinking of how much coaching these two would require for Zhongjing, the butler felt a headache coming on. A taxi slowly came to a stop on the opposite side. Bai Lian, who usually waited for the number 12 bus, had uncharacteristically taken a taxi back upon hearing of Ji Xian's departure. She was still in her blue and white school uniform. Only holding her phone, her slender figure emerged onto the long street, her eyes downcast, exuding a lethargic and serene charm, both obedient and a bit mysterious. The street was not crowded with cars, but there were quite a few people out for an evening walk. Those who saw Bai Lian smiled and greeted her. She had only been on Purist Street for half a year, yet she was known by more people than Ji Hung. Xin Qing's expression also instantly softened. Alien! Grandpa, Aunt, Bai Lian returned without a backpack and greeted them one by one. Finally, she turned to Ji Xiaojun and asked casually, Uncle, why are you suddenly leaving? The butler coughed softly. Ji Xiaojun weighed his thoughts for a moment, then touched Bai Lian's hair, his eyes deep. For the second half of the year. I will explain it to you properly then. The second half of the year? Xiaojie glanced at Ji Xiaojun, doubting half a year's time would be sufficient. He thought Ji Xiaojun intended to bring Bai Lian to Zhongjing by his own means in the latter half of the year. Bai Lian lowered her lashes, her voice calm. Is it safe? Don't worry. Ji Xiaojun tugged at the corner of his lips. He had too much in Xiongqing to let go. Leaving suddenly was hard, but he looked at Ji Hang. He narrowed his eyes slightly and smiled. There won't be any problems. We should go, Xiaojie reminded politely. The group boarded the vehicle. As long as safety was assured, Bai Lian's phone chimed. She lazily raised her hand to bid farewell to Shen Qing and the other, swiping open her lock screen as she did. It was that person from before. She's taken a knife upstairs. Bai Lian's expression tightened. Yang Lin's father had returned a few times, but there were no issues before, and she had hoped this time would be no different. She typed quickly, Go up and check, it'll be right there. She backed out of the messaging app to book a ride. Xiaowu and Xiaoqi weren't around. Beside her, Xiaojie was sitting in the driver's seat, just about to start the engine and drive away, when from the direction of Qingshui Bridge, the roaring sound of a sports car engine approached. Xiaojie instinctively looked up. Seeing a flamboyant red sports car ahead, he narrowed his eyes, waiting for it to drive off first. However, it was rare to see such high-end cars in Xiongqing. As he was contemplating, the car screeched to a halt, arriving arrogantly in front of Bai Lian. The car window rolled down, and Su Nanjing's hand was lazily resting on the steering wheel. He smiled at Bai Lian. Sister Bai Lian, what are you doing here? Chapter 422. 166 Resolved. A few bigwigs coming to Xiongqing under 1. Bai Lian bowed her head. No one accepted her ride request on the ride-hailing app. Clutching her phone, her right hand resting on the car window and head slightly lowered, the night wind tousled her hair as she spoke amidst Su Nanjing's astonished gaze. Are you busy right now? Her drooping brows and eyes were wrapped in cold indifference. Su Nanjing replied subconsciously. No. Good. Bai Lian opened the passenger door, sat in the seat, and buckled her seatbelt, her fingers gripping it so tightly that her knuckles turned white. Please take me to a place, thank you. At that tone of voice, Su Nanjing subconsciously pressed down on the gas pedal. Bai Lian was in a hurry. She sent a message to Ji Hang on WeChat and then pulled up Yang Lin's address. Purist Street intersection. In the silver business car, Xiaojie watched the red sports car with a CML Club sticker race away, noting how Bai Lian got into the car. He couldn't help but glance at Ji Hang standing outside, who had been frowning but seemed to relax considerably after a look at his phone. Where is she going so late? Xiaojie started the car while looking at the rear-view mirror. Shen Qing was also open-mouthed. It was her first time seeing such a sports car in Xiongqing. Hearing Xiaojie's words, she said, She must be going to study, I guess. Besides studying, Shen Qing didn't know what else Bai Lian could be doing. After all, Bai Lian used to study in the library until it closed every day before going home. Going to study in a sports car this late? Both the butler and Xiaojie were surprised, feeling that the whole family seemed to inexplicably trust Bai Lian. However, it wasn't strange, if it wasn't for that night seeing Bai Lian talking to two unfamiliar thugs. The butler would also think Bai Lian was just a beautiful bookworm. Neither asked further, and the butler merely mentioned, It's not safe for a girl to be out so late. Shen Qing thought of Bai Lian lifting the dean's heavy 28-inch suitcase with one hand, a task difficult for two people to manage, and fell silent. West of the city. Yang Lin's home was 2 streets behind the school. This area was dirty, messy, and poor. Xiang Cheng's development almost didn't touch this place. Street vendors dotted the road, and the streets were littered with waste and garbage. Approaching 7 o'clock. The fiery red sports car stopped at the entrance of the street, and Bai Lian got out of the car, asked someone for directions, and walked down an alley without lights. Hey! Su Nanjing hurriedly sent a message to Zhang Fulai, then chased after her. His flamboyant brows and eyes throbbed strenuously. What are you doing here? If anything happened here, he could only compensate Jiang Sir with his life. Bai Lian stood in front of a tube building, comparing it to the photo on her phone before lifting her eyes, the light from the building reflecting in her gaze, her voice cool, looking for someone. 4th floor. Yang Jianping had drunk 2 glasses of white liquor and was already fast asleep. Yang Lin sat in her room. She hadn't turned on the lights, just sitting on the floor, the moonlight streaming in through the window, coldly lighting the dagger in her hands that glinted ominously. She only stepped out when there were no sounds from outside, looking at Yang Jianping, who was sleeping on the sofa. She was good at biology. With the knife, she gently traced above Yang Jianping's collar, where the heart was located. Bang! The door was forced open. Yang Lin's knife was pressed against Yang Jianping's heart, seemingly feeling the wild beats of his heart, when she instinctively looked toward the door. Her vision was greatly impaired due to serious injuries. She could hardly see clearly anymore, only sensing a shadow looming over her. Then, a hand that could be described as warm seized her right hand. "Classmate, give me the knife," she heard the other person's gentle voice. "Your hand can be used to do many more things in the future." Bai Lian pulled the knife from Yang Lin's hand. She was already too late to stop Zhang Xiai's. Yang Lin seemed to recognize the person in front of her, the warmth on her hand similar to what she had felt before. She let go of the knife, her face deathly pale. She had been sober under the belief that she would die, but as her spirit relaxed, she fainted entirely. Bai Lian caught her, then turned her head to look at Su Nanjing, who had just entered. "Hurry and take her to the hospital." Su Nanjing scanned the surroundings, his smile fading as he saw she had no intention of leaving. With a grave voice he said, "Come with me." Bai Lian lazily twirled the knife in her hand and kicked away a beer can at her feet before bending over to pick up the lilies that had been stepped on next to the sofa. She gently blew off the dust and straightened the bent petals. "Does your car have room for a 3rd person?" "Don't worry," she turned around, staring at Yang Jianping lying on the sofa. "I'm making a call to the police." She dialed 110. In the dimly lit hall, Yang Jianping was jolted awake by a bucket of cold water. As he watched warily, he saw the beautiful girl in a school uniform standing before him. Chapter 423. 166 Resolved. A few bigwigs coming to Shangqing_2. Awake! Bai Lian's grip loosened, and the steel wash basin dropped to the ground with a clang. She slowly bent over, school uniform still stained with Yang Lin's not yet dry blood, a smile tracing her lips. Yang Jianping was used to throwing his weight around, and with a flick of his hand, he aimed to throw something at Bai Lian. But she blocked it effortlessly with 2 fingers. In Yang Jianping's terrified gaze, she smiled faintly, seized him by the neck, and lifted him up. "How could there be someone like you here?" Then, casually tossing him to the ground, Yang Jianping's forehead glistened with cold sweat as he shakily got up from the floor. Bai Lian advanced, driving him step by step to the door with the tip of her knife. Her smile was tender, and she seemingly exerted no considerable effort, with the knife point never actually touching Yang Jianping's body. With each step he took backwards, the terror in his eyes intensified. It ended at the top of the staircase. Bai Lian looked at the stairs behind him, slowly dragged the knife up his face with the point ending on his eyeball. "Did your desk mate accidentally fall from here before?" Yang Jianping's eyes suddenly widened. Amidst the chaos of the western city's tube building area, Jiang Fulai arrived to find Bai Lian standing under the sole streetlight. She hung her head slightly, the moonlight casting a leisurely glow as she leaned against the streetlight with a lily tucked in her pocket and fiddling with a lighter in her hand, her cold pale fingers pressing it, a crimson flame dancing to life. Her blue and white school uniform was open, bearing stains of still wet blood. Jiang Fulai approached without a hint of a smile on his lips, closing the car door and striding over. With light and shadow interwoven beneath the moonlight, the dark fabric of his clothes fluttered in the wind, his presence sharp and fierce like the chilling light of a knife's edge. "Ah!" Bai Lian looked up, her fingers halting. "Wait, this is Yang Lin's blood." She spoke. Jiang Fulai pursed his lips, nodded his head after confirming, "Su Nanjing is at the hospital." "I've called the police." Bai Lian lifted her head. "They haven't arrived yet. I'll wait a while longer." "No need." Jiang Fulai glanced coolly over her shoulder and reached out to take the lighter from her hand. "Someone will take care of the remaining matters." Bai Lian stared at her lighter. "Oh," she uttered. Xiang Cheng's best hospital was somewhat far from where Yang Lin was. Crossing the ring road and then through Wallow Avenue, Luckily there was no traffic jam at this hour. When Bai Lian and Jiang Fulai arrived, the young master of the Jiang family was getting scolded by the attending physician. She's malnourished and got such severe injuries, yet you didn't bring her in time, we almost couldn't save her. No one had ever scolded the esteemed young master like that, apart from Jiang Fulai. He clenched his cigarette, glanced at the emergency room with a laugh. He remembered. Bai Lian was negotiating with the doctors. Out in the hallway, Su Nanjing took a drag of his cigarette, and the nurse glanced at him, daring not to stop him. Who is that? He cocked his head towards Jiang Fulai. Jiang Fulai, looking in Bai Lian's direction, slowly said, her classmate. Su Nanjing raised an eyebrow. Understood. Fine, Bai Lian, a mere classmate, managed to break the young master Jiang's principle of loving experiments. After Bai Lian and Jiang Fulai left, Su Nanjing took out his phone and snapped a photo of their retreating figures, sending it to his mother. Who is that next to you? Su Nanjing, Sister Bai Lian. It only took 2 days for Su Nanjing to call Bai Lian's sister fluently. From across the screen, Su Nanjing's mother was obviously surprised. She's wearing a school uniform, looks very well behaved. Su Nanjing thought for a while. She studies every day. This was what Ming Dongheng had said. He mentioned he had never seen someone who loved studying more than Bai Lian. Su Nanjing arranged for a caregiver to look after Yang Lin. Yang Lin didn't wake up until the afternoon of the next day. Su Nanjing booked a private room with its own reception area. When Bai Lian arrived, he was sitting in the outside living room, holding a piece of paper, leg resting on the coffee table, with the deputy director by his side. How did you fall down the stairs? Su Nanjing gave the deputy director a polite smile. Do you need me to reenact it, or are you suspecting me? The deputy director wiped the sweat from his forehead. This young master looked friendly, but dealing with him felt even more pressured than dealing with Chief Chen. Not at all, he laughed nervously. Yang Jianping had a history of previous occurrences, and now he was also suspected of human trafficking. So the deputy was just following up as a matter of routine. People are still blatantly human trafficking these days. Su Nanjing tossed the paper onto the table, having always been bold and brash. What has Chen Yongquan been doing for the past half a year? This continued until Bai Lian entered. Su Nanjing put away his half-amused expression, looked up, gave Bai Lian a smile, and also greeted Pu Xiaohan, who was with her. Chapter 424. 166 Resolved. A few bigwigs coming to Shangqing_3. Your classmate is so cool, didn't say a word, didn't eat anything, Su Nanjing concluded with a slight frown. There might be some psychological issue. His attitude towards Bai Lian had always been approachable, not making people feel distant. Su Nanjing lowered his head and saw the papers that Bai Lian was holding, on which he could see the logo of Shangqing No. 1 Middle School. This is exam paper questions from the school, Bai Lian answered deliberately. I brought them for her. Su Nanjing. Who brings this kind of specialty to see a patient? The deputy director beside them wiped away sweat, finally feeling relieved. What kind of people are they in Shangqing? He raised his head and glanced over, recognizing Bai Lian when his eyes landed on her face, the girl from last time. The deputy director quickly lowered his head. After Bai Lian entered, Yang Lin still had her eyes closed, but when she heard Bai Lian's voice, her eyelashes trembled and she opened her eyes. She lay on the hospital bed with most of her head wrapped in gauze. Heiress your exam paper. I and Ning Xiao were at the library doing homework on Saturday. Bai Lian placed the papers beside her and glanced around the environment. Yang Lin whispered her thanks. Su Nanjing crossed his arms and leaned against the door, with raised eyebrows thinking, this girl's silence is selective. Of course, he didn't know that Yang Lin was even more notoriously unapproachable than Ning Xiao in Shangqing No. 1 Middle School. Bai Lian just sat down on the chair beside her and calmly said to Yang Lin, also, 12,870 yuan, remember to pay me back. Yang Lin smiled gently and said softly, okay. She was transferred to a regular ward that very day. Su Nanjing touched his nose at the door, watching Bai Lian without daring to speak. The deputy director hurried out of the hospital. He encountered Ren Qian. Ren Qian's position had recently been taken over by someone else, and he was facing retirement. He hadn't been sleeping well lately, dark circles under his eyes. Seeing the deputy director, he quickly stopped. Director Wang, what brings you here today? Came to follow up on a case. Although just a deputy director, Hearing Ran Qian call him director made Deputy Director Wang's heart comfortable, prompting him to add a few more words. Ran Qian naturally noticed the file bag in the Deputy Director's hand. What case would bring him personally to the hospital? Has there been some major incident in Xiangqing? Ran Qian feigned surprise. However, this time Deputy Director Wang did not elaborate, only smiling at Ran Qian. Old Ren, take care of your health, I've got things to attend to. After the man left, Ran Qian tilted his head slightly. Find out who's been admitted to the hospital. In the evening, Ran Qian invited Chen Gang over and casually mentioned the incident at the dinner table. Has some big shot come to Xiangqing again? Chen Gang was startled, as he was unaware of any such news. Seeing Chen Gang's reaction, Ran Qian nodded, realizing Chen Gang was also unaware. It wasn't because he had been marginalized. No matter, keep asking around. Chen Zhu, after you finish eating with Wan Xian, go study straight away. The college entrance exams are coming. At the dinner table, Chen Zhu nodded, but as he looked down, he remembered the cool motorbike he had seen at the school gate that day. Saturday. Su Nanjing got up early and saw Ming Dongheng carefully holding a wooden box. He settled at the table and gestured to have his breakfast brought over. What's this? There were no top-level clubs in Xiangqing. The only place that provided some excitement was a racing track around the mountains. Su Nanjing lived an ascetic life in Xiangqing. Miss Bei's guqin. Ming Dongheng set it down, then called the maintenance teacher. A guqin needed regular maintenance and care. Bai Lian had gone to see Zhang Xiais with Jiang Fulai, so the task fell onto Ming Dongheng. Guqin. Su Nanjing, with one leg casually draped over, sipped his tea leisurely, and upon hearing this, smiled at Ming Dongheng. Ming, can little sister Bai Lian play the guqin? This was somewhat unexpected. He had seen Bai Lian that night. She lived in bungalows, and Su Nanjing had originally blamed Jiang Fulai severely after finding out where she lived. Her family circumstances seemed average. It didn't seem like she would learn to play the guqin. Yes, Ming Dongheng spoke succinctly. It seems she really loves the guqin. It was said that Bai Lian even took her guqin with her for the short time she was in Jiangjing. Is that so? Su Nanjing picked up a dumpling while sending a message to his mother. Where has your young master Jiang gone? He asked offhandedly. Ming Dongheng surprised him with his answer. Prison. Cough cough, Su Nanjing showed a rare expression of surprise. Prison. Miss Bei's classmate is there. Su Nanjing uttered an ah sound, feeling somewhat stunned. Not really, so all of Sister Bai Lian's classmates were so explosive. One wanted to wield a knife in a fight, and another was already in prison? She was such a good student. How did she come to have such classmates? Su Nanjing was utterly perplexed. Jiangjing. The class differences in Jiangjing were very pronounced, and navigating the social strata was difficult without backing or ability. Upon receiving Su Nanjing's message, Zu's mother mulled it over. Guqin? She set down her teacup and rose. Go ask if old Master Chen has any time recently. The butler put down his watering can and retreated softly. It was well known that old Master Chen was aged and in poor health, but he kept his passion for calligraphy and the guqin, yet none of the Chen family had the talent for these arts. Zu's mother, whose own mother had been an opera singer, also graduated from the Jiangjing Music Academy. During a visit to meet old Master Chen, at the Chen residence she had once seen Principal Jian. Aware that old Master Chen respected him as a friend. The Su and Jiang families had good relations. Everyone knew that Su Nanjing was a brother to Jiang Fulai, and without knowing Su mother's specific request, old Master Chen did not reject her outright. Old Master Chen held Principal Jian in high esteem. He knew that if he mentioned it, Principal Jian would not refuse him anything, as he had owed Principal Jian a great debt of gratitude. So he gave Zu's mother Principal Jian's contact information. In the residential area of the Jiangjing Music Academy, Jian Zhongyo had not been awake for long. His room played soft music, and his personal phone had a new friend request early in the morning. He didn't add many people on his private number usually. He looked down. Hello, Principal Jian, this is Gao Yan. The other party had added him through old Master Chen's shared contact card, and Jian Zhongyo accepted the request. Gao Yan. Principal Jian, I have a junior who is very fond of the guqin. Could you find some time to give her some guidance when she comes to Jiangjing in the future? Chapter 425. Number 167 in line. Brother Jiang wants to take Alien as his goddaughter. Second update, _1. Gao Yan sent the message and patiently waited for a reply. In Jiangjing, the Guzheng is very popular, and Jian Zhongyou might not be as influential as the president of Jiangjing University, but he had won the respect of many people. Getting an audience with him in Jiangjing could be difficult. Even members of the Chen family who had never learned Guzheng found it hard to meet him. And only the old master Chen had taken Chen Beixian to meet Ding Jian. Ding Jian had 3 students, 2 of whom Gao Yan didn't know. But one of them, Gao Yan was very familiar with by reputation. Lang Shuhe, the talented woman of Jiangjing, once as famous as the prodigy Jiang Shijue throughout Xinjiang district. However, in the past 2 years, Jiangjing hadn't produced any other startlingly brilliant individuals. Gao Yan thought a lot. She and Jiang Fulai's mother had grown up together since childhood, and their affection for each other was deep. Love me, love my dog. Just seeing Bai Lian's silhouette made her feel her sisters would definitely like it. She couldn't intervene in Jiang Fulai's affairs, but she had to make sure to arrange everything properly for Bai Lian. As she thought, she sent another message to Su Nanjing. Do you think she would agree if I asked to adopt her as my goddaughter? Gao Yan and her father both liked daughters very much, and although their branch of the family did not get along with Su family's second uncle's branch, Gao Yan really coveted the daughter of the second uncle's family. While pondering over this, Jian Zongyi's reply came back. Gao Yan quickly looked down to read it. Ding Jian, it's possible. After meeting with Zhang Xi's, Bai Lian went to the library to do homework. Jiang Fulai lazily followed behind her carrying a laptop. The library, the queue for doing homework was increasingly large today. Aside from Jian Zhe, there was also Yang Lin, who had a bandaged head. Jian Zhe carefully asked, "Classmate, are you sure you can do homework in this condition?" Yang Lin simply swallowed a handful of medicine. Without saying a word, Pu Shaohan sat down next to Yang Lin and swatted Jian Zhe away with a slap. "Mind your own business, what are you looking at?" She bared her teeth. Jian Zhe and Tang Ming quietly complained about how Pu Shaohan had become so fierce. Tang Ming just grunted a sound, very coldly. Jian Zhe suddenly felt a bit confused, not understanding how this small group had become so unfamiliar after just a few days of absence. It wasn't until Jiang Fulai arrived that the familiar chill and breathlessness touched Jian Zhe, who was quite moved for a moment. The library had a long row of seats, and they sat in the last row by the windows, with the 3 innermost seats reserved for Bai Lian and Jiang He. Bai Lian sat in the middle, Jiang Fulai took the seat by the window, and the remaining seat was Jiang He's. Jiang Fulai extended his hand to place the laptop in front of him, flipped it open, his slender fingers casually tapping the document library as he started browsing through the submitted reports, his mood peaceful. Occasionally, he would open WeChat to reply to a few questions. Until partway through, a message from Su Nanjing came, saying he had brought Jiang He over. Today, since Ming Dongheng was waiting for the Guzheng maintenance, the task of delivering Jiang He was given to Su Nanjing. Opposite the library, Su Nanjing was wearing a white t-shirt with a casual baseball jacket over it, holding a cigarette in his hand, watching Jiang He squatting beside a lamppost with resignation. By his side stood a man dressed in a satin shirt, holding a phone, his features deep. "Bin Gwen," Su Nanjing took a drag of his cigarette and shook his head. "You should know I can't get involved in this matter. You could go to Chen Yongkuan or Sister Beixian instead." While speaking, he was also messaging Jiang Fulai. Jiang He was the only person among Su Nanjing's and Jiang Ziju's circle whom he couldn't handle. Xiao Bin Gwen nodded, expressing understanding. His gaze turned towards Jiang He under the street lamp. "With him here, isn't Jiang Jr.?" The Xiao family had cooperation with the Su family, everyone in the circle knew each other, and Su Nanjing and Xiao Bin Gwen shared a good relationship. Both were part of the group, and Xiao Bin Gwen had come to seek him out after hearing he was in Xiangqing. Su Nanjing glanced at Xiao Bin Gwen, smiled without saying a word. Jiang Fulai's whereabouts in Jiangjing were always a secret, but Xiao Bin Gwen was not a talkative person, and Su Nanjing trusted that he understood discretion. As the two talked, a lazy figure came walking over from the opposite side. The person wore a white top, and a pale blue long skirt below, the collar, cuffs, and hem all embroidered with delicate peach blossom patterns. Judging by the time, the peach blossoms in Xiangqing should begin blooming soon. Seeing her, Su Nanjing extinguished his cigarette and took a step forward. "Are you alone? Where's Jiang Ji?" Su Nanjing was very surprised. With Jiang He having a fit, Bai Lian's coming was pointless. Bai Lian's cold, Half-lidded black eyes glanced at Jiang He squatting under the street lamp, her tone indifferent. He's queuing. Queuing, huh? Su Nanjing pinched the cigarette, nodding his head. The next second, he hesitated and looked towards Bai Lian. Sister Bai Lian, what did you say he's doing? Standing in line for milk tea. Bai Lian explained. Su Nanjing. At the side, Xiao Bingwen stopped discussing serious matters when he saw the unfamiliar woman approaching. He just stood aside, looking at Bai Lian with surprise a few times. Such a look was rare to see even in Jiangjing. Let's just wait for him to come over. None of us can handle Jiang He. Su Nanjing looked at Bai Lian's beautiful and lazy face, unable to associate Jiang Fulai with lining up. His brain instantly became somewhat chaotic. As he was speaking, he saw Bai Lian walked over to Jiang He and grabbed his collar. She picked up the child in one swoop. The child frowned, looking at her expressionlessly. What's wrong? Bai Lian squatted down. Jiang He was wearing a blue little vest. Go to school, go back. With just 2 words, Bai Lian understood his meaning instantly. Did your brother say he will send you back to school the second half of this year? Jiang He was about to raise his hand to block his ears. Bai Lian reached out to push his hand away. Jiang He put it back again. Fine, Bai Lian smiled. I'll also go to Jiangjing in the second half of the year. Jiang He was startled for a moment. Bai Lian slowly said, I will become a university student and you. She smiled. Jiang He silently lowered his hand. Come along by yourself. Bai Lian patted her dress as she got up, and then politely bid farewell to Su Nanjing. I'll take him to the library first. Su Nanjing watched dumbfounded as Jiang He obediently followed behind Bai Lian. He then took out his phone and sent a message in the group chat. Su Nanjing. At Ming Dongheng now I understand your, what the hell, Ming Dongheng. Jiang Shijue. Question mark. Su Nanjing put away his phone. He watched Bai Lian leave, having had 2 what the hells today. Once the others left, Xiao Bingwen still gazed in the direction where Bai Lian had departed. She is. Xiao Bingwen could tell from just now that the brother Jiang Su Nanjing had mentioned was Jiang Fulai, and that girl was just with Jiang Fulai. Yes, it's exactly as you think. Su Nanjing came back to his senses. Jiang family's young master's principles and bottom line seemed to have no use with Bai Lian. Thinking this, he smiled at Xiao Bingwen. Xiao Bingwen retracted his gaze. She. How come I have never heard of her in Jiangjing? In his memory, there was no one who matched the girl he had just seen. Su Nanjing relit his cigarette. Normal, she's not from Jiangjing, just a good student from this locale. What? Xiao Bingwen was especially surprised. No wonder he had never heard of her. Jiangjing's top circles were only so big, especially among their generation. There were only a handful of impressive people. Xiangcheng? Xiao Bingwen then lost any interest in delving deeper. Don't talk nonsense after you go back. Su Nanjing glanced at him with a smile. I know your family is also acquainted with the Gao family. Xiao Bingwen's heart tensed up. Nanjing, rest assured. Su Nanjing chuckled, not reminding him further about the matter. In the evening, Bai Lian returned with Jiang Fulai. She was going to pick up her guzheng. By the time the 2 adults and 1 child got back, the sun had not completely set. In the antique-looking hall, Su Nanjing had just gotten back not long ago. He finished a phone call with Gao Yan, and when he saw Bai Lian, he immediately stood up. Jiang He was sluggishly trailing behind Jiang Fulai and Bai Lian. Jiang Fulai was holding a stack of books, and Bai Lian was casually playing with Jiang Fulai's laptop with her hands. It was not a large laptop, very thin, and she could spin it on the tip of her finger. Xiao Bingwen, sitting hesitantly beside Su Nanjing, was talking to Ming Dongheng. Master Xiao, Ming Dongheng replied very formally. I don't know about Director Chen's affairs, but even Mr. Wang has not found any leads. Wang Yufeng had mines, but he was affiliated with the Dawson family. It was not easy to find out that he had been providing resources for experiments and heavy industry over the long term. Xiao Bingwen knew that both Director Chen and Ming Dongheng were hard to deal with. About to continue speaking, he saw people returning at the entrance, and he quickly stood up, his eyes focusing on Jiang Fulai, young Master Jiang. Jiang Fulai placed the stack of books on the coffee table. His eyes and brows exuded a chilly pride, and without raising his head, keep talking. It meant not to mind them. Jiang Fulai went to get Bai Lian's guzheng. Bai Lian leaned against the doorway, not entering, as she waited for the Gujing to go have dinner with Ji Hung. Xiao Bingwen glanced at Bai Lian beside him but did not continue speaking. It was Ming Dongheng beside him though, who, upon seeing Bai Lian, got up to pour tea, and Xiao Bingwen was taken aback by his actions. Su Nanjing paid attention to the laptop spinning in Bai Lian's hands and was terrified. If it fell, the whole laboratory would be heartbroken. Sister Bai Lian. Su Nanjing held back his gaze from looking and recalled Gao Yan's words. He walked over to Bai Lian, somewhat hesitantly. Have you ever entertained the thought, for instance, of having more family members? Or having another mother? Bai Lian placed the laptop flat in her palm, finally resting it on the bar counter, while looking at a message on her phone. What? On the phone. Wang. How long can my godmother last? Chapter 426. Unusually talented individual _1 takes the 168th preliminary exam. Bai Lian had reminded Wang Yufeng about his grandmother's sickness during the new year. Ning Xiao had also been coming out to do homework less frequently lately. She looked at the message, stopped, propped her elbow on the bar, and began to ponder over Wang Yufeng's issue. It's like, Su Nanjing leaned against the wooden minibar and paused to think. Having an additional mom, perhaps? His voice wasn't loud, but Ming Dongheng, who was delivering tea, and Xiao Bingwen, who was not far away, both heard him. Not to mention Xiao Bingwen. Even Ming Dongheng was particularly surprised. Bai Lian was sensitive to the word, mom. She didn't look up, idly tapping on her phone's screen, but her hanging hand was a bit tense. Then let's forget about it. She picked up the tea Ming Dongheng had brought over and took a leisurely sip with her head bowed, her expression relaxed and casual. Not far away, Jiang Fulai put down his violin. Bai Lian stood straight, reaching out her hand. Give it to me. Jiang Fulai's expression remained unchanged, but a hint of gloominess could be seen on his stern face as he handed the violin case to Bai Lian. He escorted Bai Lian back. After the two had left, Su Nanjing leaned against the bar, turned to Ming Dongheng, and clicked his tongue. Bai Lian, pretty interesting, huh? Ming Dongheng glanced at him and stayed silent. Only then did Xiao Bingwen slowly inquire, Nanjing, what you meant just now was, my mom has always wanted a daughter, right? Su Nanjing went back and sat on the sofa, refilling the cup head finished drinking from with water. She's definitely the daughter my mom dreams of having. As he spoke, Su Nanjing thought his own mom was kind of weird. He had only known Bai Lian for a few days, and although they already had a life-and-death relationship, asking her so abruptly if she minded having an extra mom. Jiang Fulai would kill him if he heard that, wouldn't he? He lowered his head and sent a message to Gao Yan. I'll think of another way. Across from him, Xiao Bingwen was taken aback, the Su family wanting to adopt Bai Lian as a goddaughter. He looked up slightly towards the outside. Did that Miss Bai just now not know who Su Nanjing is? Let's hit the bar tonight. Su Nanjing crossed his legs and looked at Xiao Bingwen. Well, scout the place out. Next to him, Ming Dongheng reminded, you guys should bring some bodyguards. Qinglong Bar was the only one in Xiangqing that was worth Su Nanjing's visit. Su Nanjing was well aware of this. Backter Street did not belong to domestic forces. The Su family in Jiangjing could count on one hand those who were comparable, but internationally that was all there was. The only ones who held sway in Backter Street were those old families that operated abroad. Xiaoming, Su Nanjing smiled at Ming Dongheng. You're getting more and more thoughtful. Meanwhile, at Ji Heng's. After Bai Lian returned, Ji Heng was video calling with Ji Xiaojun. I know, buying a house. Ji Heng turned on the yard lights. Ji Xiaojun was urging him to hurry up and buy a house, but his response was nonchalant. You didn't run into anybody? On the other side of the phone, Ji Xian's face was somewhat blurred. No. Ji Heng could understand. Their lineage didn't count for much. Seeing Bai Lian return, Ji Heng handed his phone to her. Your uncle, aunt. Upon seeing Bai Lian in the camera view, Shen Qing snatched Ji Xian's phone. Alien, why did you come back so early today? Came back for dinner. Bai Lian set her backpack aside and chatted with Shen Qing at a leisurely pace. Since Shen Qing and Ji Xiaojun moved away, she had been coming home much earlier than usual. Jiangjing. The residence where Ji Xiaojun was temporarily staying had a sense of the old times, and the rooms were quite spacious. In the large hall outside, the butler flipped through some documents and casually set them aside. What are they doing? They're making a phone call, Xiao Jie said from the side, his tone respectful. They had been busy sorting out Ji Heng's accounts for the past few days. However, it came as a surprise to the butler that Ji Xiaojun and Shen Qing stayed in, showing no interest in visiting various attractions. Let him get used to the accounts first. The butler was aware that Ji Xiaojun was an artist, and there would definitely be some barriers in learning these things. If it really doesn't work out, find someone to manage them on his behalf. Xiao Jie furrowed his brow, originally thinking he'd be able to bring back an assistant for the master, especially since Mu Hang had some skills back then. But now, it appeared to be causing trouble for the Mu family. The new week started, and the junior and senior high school students also began their school year. Xiangqing No. 1 High School was much livelier than before, but along with the bustle, there came the groans of all students. Because the start of school signified the beginning of the initial exams. After school in the afternoon, Su Nanjing was still waiting for Bai Lian by the roadside. Her group of friends was as formidable as ever. Today, they needed to head to the Zhang family first to help move some goods. Chapter 427. Unusually talented individual _2 takes the 168th preliminary exam. Seeing Bai Lian, he lifted his hand slightly. Sister Bai Lian. He was wearing casual sportswear, very relaxed. He had been looking for Bai Lian frequently these days, his face noble and handsome. There was even a dedicated thread for Su Nanjing on the forum at school. When they learned he was Bai Lian's certain brother, a bunch of girls exclaimed underneath. Sure enough, a Bowtie's relatives are all beauties. The boys in school were rather frustrated. After all, they had just gotten rid of Zhang Xiai's and now another outsider had appeared. Bai Lian asked Wang Qi and the others to go ahead to Zhang family's place before she went to find Su Nanjing. As she approached, Su Nanjing noticed she was holding a roll of A4 paper, all rolled up, not knowing what it was. This is a new style bag. Su Nanjing withdrew his gaze, took a beige bag from the motorcycle, and handed it to Bai Lian. You can carry your books in it. Bai Lian didn't have much awareness of brands in this world. Su Nanjing had given her more than one. Jiang Fulai only let her keep it, and if she didn't like it, she could just sell it on a second-hand website. Thank you. She thought for a moment and reached out to take the bag. Su Nanjing glanced at the milk tea shop on the opposite side, remembered something, and immediately said, Sister Bai Lian, wait a moment. As fast as he spoke, Bai Lian didn't even have time to stop him before she saw him dash to the milk tea shop across the street. Bai Lian just stood there, casually looking down and unfolding the A4 paper, slowly reading it. Miss Bai. Not far away, Xiao Bingwen approached, his voice very polite. He was here to find Su Nanjing. He had seen Bai Lian a few times these past few days while following Su Nanjing. Although he couldn't figure out Bai Lian's depth, Xiao Bingwen was quite polite to her. Bai Lian looked up slightly, and behind Xiao Bingwen, there was a young man she hadn't seen before. He went across the street. I'll be back soon. As she spoke, she lazily flipped another sheet of paper. Thank you, said Xiao Bingwen and glanced casually at Bai Lian's paper, full of English text with a data chart in the middle. This glance left him startled. Most of the English words were quite difficult. Xiao Bingwen was from the management department and had spent a few years abroad. His English was good, but this was the first time he found something he didn't quite understand. Bai Lian, she could understand it? Xiao Bingwen withdrew his gaze, walked a few steps to the side. Young master, Xiao Yilei looked at Su Nanjing, very surprised. What's the third young master doing? Xiao Yilei was Xiao Bingwen's right-hand man. They had been scouting the Qinglong bar for several days, got to know a few people, and today heard that a new boss was coming. Before heading to Purist Street, Su Nanjing was busy with a bag and a trip to the milk tea shop. Xiao Yilei naturally found it strange. He looked at the girl in front of him, head down looking at the A4 paper, his gaze falling on her school uniform. Are you bringing her along too? Bring her. Xiao Bingwen withdrew his gaze and shook his head. Even with 3 times the courage, Nanjing wouldn't dare. Although he didn't understand why Jiang Fulai was fond of her, these days he had more or less figured out Bai Lian's place in the hearts of Ming Dongheng and the others. The junior and senior kids were back, and the line to buy milk tea grew long. Yang Lin stood in front of the cash register, her head wrapped in gauze, but these wounds had become common for her, so she didn't fall behind in her classes or part-time job. Yang's mother came in to buy milk tea with a boy and another girl, and immediately noticed Yang Lin in front of the cash register. Are you okay? The incident with Yang Jianpain had spread throughout the tube building. What would you like to drink? Yang Lin didn't look at her tone indifferent. Next to Yang's mother, the girl looked impatiently at Yang's mother. Hey, what are you actually here for? The little boy stepped on the girl's shoe next to him, then looked up at Yang Lin and made a gun-shooting gesture, very arrogantly, as if he'd been spoiled. Bang bang, kill the ugly monster. He was burned halfway through when someone picked him up. What are you doing? Seeing her son being lifted away, Yang's mother was very anxious and rushed to intercept the tall figure, protecting her son. Su Nanjing gave Yang's mother a glance, shrugging gently and very amiably. Your son? Sorry, I thought he was an orphan. Laughter from the school kids nearby followed. Feeling humiliated, Yang's mother decided to leave without buying the milk tea, taking her son with her. 2 milk teas, Su Nanjing finally leaned against the counter, his tone unhurried. The kind your deskmate always drinks. Yang Lin didn't say a word and made 2 identical cherry milk teas. Su Nanjing took 1 cup, the other he left in place, and with a smile said, Thanks a bunch. He turned back, handed the bag of milk tea to Bai Lian, and looked at Xiao Bingwen. How did you end up here? Chapter 428. Unusually talented individual _3 takes the 168th preliminary exam. It's about the company consultant issue, Xiao Bingwen said straightforwardly to Su Nanjing without any intention of avoiding Bai Lian. I'm thinking of looking for Professor Huang. Bai Lian had no interest in listening. She waved her hand at Su Nanjing. Thank you. Then she turned and walked in the direction of the Zhang family's place. After Bai Lian left, Su Nanjing finally sat on her motorcycle, looked up at Xiao Bingwen, and folded her arms across her chest. Then it's no use looking for me. Although I am from Jiangjing University, I later switched to economics. You should look for Brother Jiang. Xiao Yilei, who was with Xiao Bingwen. Who would dare to? The street with the tube building. Yang Lin's mother quickly received a call from her current husband, who said with more than a hint of sarcasm, Did you give her money? Don't forget that your son is going to get married someday. They moved back only after hearing that Xiangqing was becoming prosperous, and when real estate prices there rose, they simply bought an 80 SQM apartment near the tube building. Ever since Yang Lin's mother returned, her husband had been very bothered about Yang family's business. Yang Lin's mother felt an inherent sense of guilt about leaving Yang Lin behind. After all these years, chastised by her husband like this, she hesitated. She's about to take the college entrance exams. So what? The current husband became alert. Anyway, don't bring her back here, and don't give her a penny. The daughter of a gambler, Tian Bao is going to apply for Beijing University in the future. Don't let her lead him astray. After so many years away, Yang Lin's mother felt nothing for Yang Lin except guilt. Realizing this after her husband's words, she remembered that her future old age would depend on Tianbao's support. She weighed her options and concluded, I understand. Several students from class 15 were in the backyard of the Zhang family's house, moving flower pots and merchandise. Mr. Zhang was not at home today. He had probably gone on a business trip after the new year. Mrs. Zhang brought out a bunch of snacks and coke for the group of students. I've told you, there's not much merchandise today, you didn't have to come. When Bai Lian arrived, most of the heavy lifting was already done. She moved the last box of flowers from the truck and placed it into the backyard. Just in time, Suan called her, his voice cheerful. Alien recently, those people have stopped prying into your grandfather's information, maybe we were mistaken. Thank you, Bai Lian replied while holding a pair of scissors, slicing open the tape on the box to reveal a bunch of fresh flowers. She only raised an eyebrow, of course. No one was inquiring anymore because the person had been found. Is there anything you or your grandfather are lacking lately? Suan asked, then seemed to remember something. Also, what has your uncle been up to? I've called him twice and he hasn't answered. It's nothing, he's just been a bit busy lately, Bai Lian replied nonchalantly. With that, Suan no longer dwelt on the issue with Ji Xiaojun. After hanging up the phone, Mrs. Zhang passed her a can of Coke. Auntie, Bai Lian opened the Coke with one hand and took a sip. Zhang Xiais has earned a commendation in prison, decreasing his sentence by a month and a half. She and Zhang Fulai had been tutoring Zhang Xiais every week. But Mrs. Zhang only got to visit him once every half-month, so she hadn't heard this news. Really? Mrs. Zhang instinctively looked up upon hearing news about Zhang Xiais. How did he earn a commendation? During the new year, there was a disturbance in the prison. Zhang Xiais had knocked down the ringleader, quelling the unrest, and it was said he gained quite a few minions inside. However, Bai Lian did not go into detail with Mrs. Zhang about this. He helped the prison warden catch someone. Bai Lian downplayed the incident. She knew full well how clumsy Zhang Xiai's was and that he must have suffered a lot in there. Bai Lian was not concerned, but she knew Mrs. Zhang could not bear to hear it. Good, good, Mrs. Zhang wiped her eyes. I'll go and tell Yan Lu the good news. A reduction of a month and a half in the sentence meant he would be out even sooner. This weekend, the entire Xueqi No. 1 high school had scheduled a beginning-of-term examination. All 3 grades would take it together. The internal exams at Xueqi No. 1 high school were not as rigidly structured as the college entrance examinations. Saturday's exams were Chinese, mathematics, and English, with the final exam on Sunday morning still being the comprehensive science subject. Bai Lian only brought 2 pens, as usual. She was ranked first in the final exams, and all the senior year teachers knew her by name and face. Seating for the exams was done by rank, so she was at the first table in the first examination room. Almost as soon as the comprehensive science exam started, an invigilating teacher stopped next to her, looking down at her exam paper. Bai Lian's papers were always favored by the teachers for their neatness. Now, even Lu Lingxi and Lian Ningxiu's papers were starting to be scrutinized, not to mention the others, especially Wang Qi and a few who liked to show off with extravagant writing styles. Chapter 429. Unusually talented individual _4 takes the 168th preliminary exam. Lu Lingxi had scolded her more than once. After over 2 hours of exams, Bai Lian was still the first to finish physics, then biology, and finally chemistry. It had been more than a month since the final exams, and she worked on chemistry and biology every day. Because of these 2 subjects, she hadn't even done the questions on the Jiangjing app. So much so that when Tang Ming and Ning Xiao didn't know how to solve a problem, they would ask Zhang Fulai, who disdained them several times. The exam ended at 11:30, but Bai Lian handed in her paper at 11. The other people in the examination room were quite numb to this. Most teachers at Xueqi No. 1 knew that Bai Lian was not very good at chemistry and biology. As soon as she handed in her paper, 2 teachers went to look at her answer sheet but couldn't make heads or tails of it. Because one was the English teacher, and the other was the math teacher. Outside the gates of Xueqi No. 1, a sapphire blue car was already waiting at the corner. When Bai Lian opened the car door, he seemed surprised, tilting his head slightly, his pale complexion even more prominent under the sunlight. So early. The questions weren't difficult. I finished all I could do. The questions this time were provided by Xueqi No. 1 themselves and weren't half as difficult as the joint exam, making it easier for Bai Lian to handle. Zhang Fulai's slender fingers rested on the steering wheel as he started the car and headed towards their residence. Today happened to be a day off. Ji Heng had gone fishing with Director Chen, and Qi Yundai wasn't around either. So Zhang Fulai decided to take Bai Lian out for a meal. Bai Lian lazily rested her hand on the car window, looking down at the messages on her phone. Academician Ma, 145 days, Academician Ma. File. The file contained some papers Academician Ma had selected for Bai Lian. They were all quantum mechanics papers worth reading and were suitable for beginners, mainly for vocabulary building. She leaned back and said, Academician Ma sent me some new papers. Zhang Fulai drove at a steady pace onto the main road. Send them to me. Zhang Fulai's residence. When the 2 of them arrived, Su Nanjing had just woken up not long ago, and lazily yawned asking someone to brew a pot of tea for him. Xiao Bingwen had been waiting on the sofa for Su Nanjing for quite some time. Seeing the 2 return, Xiao Bingwen stood up with much restraint. Young Master Jiang. He wasn't like Su Nanjing and naturally did not dare to call Zhang Fulai brother. Zhang Fulai placed the keys casually to one side and nodded slightly towards him. Sister Bai Lian, Su Nanjing took a sip of tea and greeted Bai Lian. Didn't you go to the library today? Bai Lian saw Jiang He playing with Lego on the carpet beside the sofa. She walked over, sat next to him, helped him with the instructions, and handed him a Lego piece. I just finished an exam. She was wearing a long skirt with 2 pens stuffed into her oversized pockets. Su Nanjing also found it strange. It seemed as if Bai Lian could anticipate Jiang He's next move. She handed him exactly the Lego piece he needed. Ah! Seeing her empty hands, Su Nanjing was especially surprised when she mentioned she had just finished an exam. Brother Jiang, Su Nanjing suddenly remembered the matter concerning Xiao Bingwen and spoke to Zhang Fulai. Do you have any contact with Professor Huang? He glanced at Xiao Bingwen. Zhang Fulai bent down, handed 2 scattered Lego pieces to Bai Lian, his expression faint. Are you afraid Academician Ma won't find a reason for letting me study quantum mechanics? Su Nanjing laughed, nearly forgetting about that. Zhang Fulai went upstairs to the study to print the papers Academician Ma had sent for by Lien. After he left, Xiao Bingwen finally let out a sigh of relief. Watching Bai Lien play Lego with Zhang He, Su Nanjing said to Xiao Bingwen, "Don't take these researchers for fools. For Professor Huang's situation, think of some other solution. Or you could wait a few more years until he has results, and then claim him under your company's name. That's not impossible either." The few notable figures in Jiangjing's scientific research community were well known. Xiao Bingwen took out a cigarette pack from his pocket with much concern. "He-Wen is still far from ready." "There's also Liang Wuyu," Su Nanjing glanced at him and smiled. "You could try to compete with the Chen family for him. In the future, he won't be inferior to He-Wen." Xiao Bingwen nodded. Several families were competing for these seed players. Liang Wuyu was valued by the Chen family early on and had started working in labs since high school. Aside from him, there were no other outstanding students in the past 2 years. Liang Wuyu is also a senior, taking the college entrance exam with you. Like He-Wen, a rare talent seen once in a decade. "The Zhongjing app," Su Nanjing started, but recalling Bai Lien beside him didn't want to leave her out, he explained the situation. "Never mind, you might not know about it. One needed to meet certain criteria to use the Zhongjing app." Bai Lien handed the missing Lego piece to Zhang He, and when she heard Su Nanjing speaking to her, she lazily turned her head to glance at him. "Is that so?" She continued to leisurely pick Legos for Zhang He. Su Nanjing continued, "Professor Huang is a professor at Jiangjing University, also a student of Academician Ma. They both are pillars of Chang'an District. That laboratory underground at Jiangjing University, it belongs to Academician Ma. But Academician Ma has a special status. Ordinary people can't meet him, so if you, Xiao, really can't find anyone." Xiao Bingwen looked at Su Nanjing, wondering if it was okay to casually discuss Academician Ma's information. He watched Bai Lien slowly playing with the Lego, then reassured himself. Even Academician Ma was beyond his reach, so how could ordinary people understand his significance? Chapter 430. 169 She can't turn things upside down in the Zhongjing circle? Guessing rank _1. Su Nanjing said, and Bai Lien just nodded in agreement. Although she didn't react much, she still responded. "You're in your senior year of high school, almost there," Su Nanjing said with a smile, then turned to Bai Lien. "But I really envy you guys." "Envy?" Bai Lien picked up a piece of Lego casually and handed it to Zhang He, expressing surprise at Su Nanjing's remark. "Yes, even though this year's college entrance exam might be harder than last year's, it's still much better than our year." Su Nanjing didn't pay much attention to the college entrance exam, but had heard a bit about it because of Liang Wuyu. "Nanjing's year was like a battle of the gods," Xiao Bingwen added on the side. "That year was dubbed the toughest college entrance exam, producing a bunch of well-known figures." Su Nanjing laughed. "I almost didn't make it into Jiangjing University." "Is that so?" Bai Lien nodded. Next to her, Zhang He looked up at Su Nanjing. Su Nanjing was somewhat baffled and raised an eyebrow. "What are you doing?" Zhang He lowered his head again and resumed piecing together his Lego slowly. Upstairs, Zhang Fulai brought down a stack of printed papers. He had them bound and placed them on the bar. Ma Institute had given Bai Lien some introductory papers, some he had read before, and others were recent hot topics. There wasn't much for a senior high school student to get involved with, mainly to lay a foundation for the future. In the hall, the dishes had already been arranged on the dining table. Xiao Bingwen came today to meet Su Nanjing, who had slept until mealtime. Zhang Fulai didn't let him leave and invited him to stay and eat. He dared not sit close to others and took a seat next to Su Nanjing. "Are your school's test questions sufficient?" Zhang Fulai knew about the tension between Xueqi and Beiqing, but his reach wasn't that far, and in the end, Xueqi No. 1 High School had to develop on its own. The Chen family had been a great help to Xueqi No. 1 High School in recent years, but still, it didn't rise up. Like the Chen family, Zhang Fulai could only offer them some resources. As he spoke, he noticed there were no drinks next to Bai Lien, so he got up, fetched a can of cola, casually opened it, and placed it beside her. This scene didn't surprise Su Nanjing sitting nearby, but Xiao Bingwen was exceptionally astonished, thinking he had to be even more courteous to Bai Lien in the future. After all, even Zhang He didn't receive such treatment now. Taking her time, Bai Lien picked up the cola and took a sip, thinking about the school's issues. For now, yes, most of the students have poor fundamentals and can't handle the more difficult comprehensive questions. It wasn't just the senior students affected, but also the freshmen and sophomores. Listening calmly to her, Jiang Fulai's left hand casually rested on the table. After the college entrance exam, based on the exam quality, we'll reassess and aim for provincial key status without too much worry. It was the first time Bai Lian had heard of the provincial key assessment, and she asked some details. Teacher qualifications, school environment, and student performance were all part of the assessment, with student performance being the most critical. Apart from high scores, the school's bachelor's degree qualification rate was also important. Both Su Nanjing and Xiao Bingwen were listening and were quite surprised. Doesn't Xiangqing have a provincial key high school? The two of them were discussing studies. Xiao Bingwen looked at Jiang Fulai, who sat beside Bai Lian, always slightly bowing his head, quietly listening to Bai Lian speak. Although he still seemed enveloped in a chill, this gentle and jade-like demeanor was very different from what Xiao Bingwen had imagined. He felt that Jiang Fulai was just a bit cold, nowhere near as terrifying as the rumors said. Did you get the news about the supplier? Su Nanjing asked casually with chopsticks in hand, starting a conversation about business with Xiao Bingwen. Xiao Bingwen nodded with a smile on his face. Chail, he's involved with the Dawson family. I had a friend check it out locally. It's confirmed. Unable to find a collaboration with Wang Yufeng, they had to find a workaround. The two had been hanging out in bars the past few days, and with Su Nanjing's generous spending, they had gathered quite a bit of information and, through mutual interests, met a contact. Su Nanjing narrowed his eyes slightly. Get him more drinks tonight and probe some more. We want to secure this person. Also, how are the preparations for the Panshan Highway coming along? Almost done. Then let's check it out this afternoon. We have to be ready before the reporters come. Su Nanjing, hearing the news about Chail, was in a good mood. Turning to Bai Lian, he said, would little sister Bai Lian like to come have a look? There will be people doing bends this afternoon. After finishing her bite of food, Bai Lian looked up at Su Nanjing, her eyes bright. I haven't read today. Su Nanjing. Right. That's true. Little sister Bai Lian, the studious good student, probably didn't even understand that his mention of doing bends referred to motorcycle racing. After lunch, Jiang He went for a nap. Su Nanjing took Xiao Bingwen to check out the Panshan Highway and went to the small bar to pick up the keys. Chapter 431. She can't turn the world upside down in Jiangjing? Guess rank _2. His eyes immediately caught sight of the printed papers that Jiang Fulai had left on top. Research paper? Even though it was a stack of English printouts, Su Nanjing instantly recognized the website identifier and said to Xiao Bingwen, I can't understand any of these kinds of documents. Su Nanjing realized it was a physics research paper and complained a bit to Xiao Bingwen. I don't understand it either. Xiao Bingwen had never published in that journal, and it was only after Su Nanjing mentioned it that he learned of it, inevitably recalling what he had seen at Bai Lian's place last time. Was she actually reading scientific research literature? Because of exams, Bai Lian didn't bring any books today, and planned to read the new review articles published by academician Ma in the afternoon. She watched Jiang He lying on the small bed, her hand curled around the literature. Jiang Fulai stood to the side, watching her and suddenly said, Do you want to take a noon rest? Bai Lian didn't nap because she basically couldn't fall asleep, except for that half hour in the library last time. Upon his mentioning it, she also hesitated a bit. Is there another room here? Her gaze shifted towards Jiang Fulai, remembering correctly, Su Nanjing lived here. I don't sleep at noon. Jiang Fulai turned around calmly, opened his own room, dressed in black cotton soft home attire, his delicate profile highlighted in a soft haze under the light streaming through the window. Bai Lian looked up. His room was laid with gray flooring. It was a large room with a gray bed in the center, and a desk under the windowsill, all in a very cold color tone. The temperature was much lower than that in Jiang He's room. If you want to rest, you can come here. I will work on my project. Jiang Fulai left the door half open, his slender and jade-like fingers resting politely on the iron door handle. Bai Lian walked in to take a look, nodded lightly, and said, Okay. Nighttime. Jiang Fulai took Bai Lian back to Purist Street. Ji Hang and Director Chen had caught quite a lot of fish today, but the courtyard was not as lively as before. Director Chen helped Ji Hang cook in the kitchen. That evening, Ji Hung invited Jiang He and Jiang Fulai to stay for dinner. When Jiang Fulai returned, his room was still tidy, but on the desk by the window, there was a new piece of paper with a half-completed physics thought map. The handwriting on this paper was very neat. Jiang Fulai looked down at it for a while, then carefully folded the paper. She hadn't slept there, but she had read for a long time and written for a length of time. After the people in the courtyard had left, only Bai Lian and Ji Hung remained. Ji Hung hung the fish outside, planning to make dried fish. He did not embroider today but took out paper and a pen to sketch the designs for the graduation outfits for males, who didn't have many requirements, but Ji Hung had high standards for himself. Under the bright light, his head bowed slightly as he dropped a gentle stroke of the pen. Occasionally, he would glance at Bai Lian sitting under the tree. "Grandpa, if you have something to say, just say it." Bai Lian's fingers rested on the piano strings, her head not even lifting as she tuned. Ji Hang was silent for a moment. "You?" seemingly finding it hard to say. He thought for a long while before hesitantly speaking. "You might be getting a sister or a brother." Ji Mulan was pregnant. Ji Hung had known this news since Friday, but since Bai Lian had exams this week, he hadn't mentioned it. In fact, for the first decade plus of Bai Lian's life, she had always been the only child of the Bai family, and Ji Mulan felt that Bai Qiming had made it clear she was the heir. Who would have thought Bai Xueqi and Bai Xueqi would come along later? And that's when Ji Mulan realized Bai Qiming had a backup plan. Ji Hung knew Bai Lian had been the only child for many years. The incident with the Bai family had already saddened her into returning to Xueqi, and now here came this news about Ji Mulan. "Oh!" Bai Lian set her hand on the table, her tone nonchalant. She showed none of the sadness Ji Hang had anticipated, which only made him more silent. Ji Hang looked at her a while longer, sighed slightly, and resumed his drawing. He didn't know if Ji Mulan would seriously raise the child. He just felt she was carefully preparing her next masterpiece. A few streets away was a small courtyard. Inside, the lights were dim, and from a corner room came a continuous low coughing. The middle-aged man in a black coat had his eyebrows furrowed, a cigarette unlit in his hand, watching the old man on the sick bed with a frown. Ning Xiao sat at the bedside, adeptly helping her grandmother breathe smoothly. Grandma Wang's coughing had quieted down a lot, and sleepiness appeared to loom over her. As Wang Yufeng watched Grandma Wang's eyelashes slowly close, the weight in his heart lifted, but just then his phone in his pocket rang. Fearing that Grandma Wang would awaken, Wang Yufeng quickly hung up and stepped out into the courtyard. Chapter 432. 169 Can't she turn the world upside down in the Zhongjing circle? Guessing ranking _3. Hearing the sound from the room dwindling, he finally relaxed. Clenching the cigarette between his teeth, he pulled out his phone to return the call. "What is it?" His voice was heavy. On the other end of the phone, his confidant, sensing his bad mood, simply said, "How should this year's share be divided? Quite a few people in China have found Lucian and his men." "Well, talk when I get back." Wang Yufeng recently had no mood to deal with these matters, the scar on his brow imbued with a fierce aura. "Tell them to tighten up." "Yes, boss," his confidant replied. Wang Yufeng hung up the call, irritated. After waiting a while longer, Ning Xiao emerged from the room. His hair at the front was a bit long, shadowing the gloom in his eyes. "Uncle Wang." His tone was indifferent. "Godmother stopped taking her medicine?" Wang Yufeng sought countless doctors for Grandma Wang in the past, but she had long been plagued by illness. Being over 90 and still alive was already not easy. Ning Xiao went to sweep the trash in the courtyard, responding coldly with a "hmm." Wang Yufeng was not surprised by his cheap nephew's attitude. Watching Ning Xiao's retreating figure, he reached out to light his cigarette. "Your technique is good. It reduced Godmother's pain considerably. Which doctor did you learn from?" Wang Yufeng could naturally tell Ning Xiao's proficiency. "Classmate," Ning Xiao replied sparingly. "Classmate?" Wang Yufeng watched Ning Xiao's back, slightly surprised. He knew Ning Xiao well. Because of his early life experiences, he was usually distant and they rarely spoke. It was only in the last 2 years, as Grandma Wang's health failed, that they communicated more. Wang Yufeng glanced at Ning Xiao, took a slow drag from his cigarette, and spoke softly. "In a couple of days, you'll find a chance to invite your classmate for a meal. You let them know." Ning Xiao remained silent. "Don't let Godmother worry with her in this condition," Wang Yufeng exhaled smoke. "They teach you because they consider you a friend." After finally making a friend. Do you want me to tell godmother? I got it. Ning Xiao finally spoke. Your classmate, a boy or a girl? Wang Yufeng pried further. Ning Xiao looked at him coldly. Wang Yufeng removed the cigarette. All right, I won't ask. You stinker. Zhang Jing. Su family. Mid-month, the Su family gathered for a meal at the old master's place. The Su family lineage had substantially more people than the Zhang family, and with ambitious younger generations, strife within big families was inevitable. Gao Yan sat next to Su Jueling, below the old master. Across them, Su Jueming glanced at Su Jueling. I heard Big Brother secured a position for a clerk? With her makeup impeccably done, Gao Yan elegantly sipped her tea without a word upon hearing this. Su Jueling answered with minimal effort and a slight smile. Second brother is well informed. Of course, Big Brother has a fine son. Everyone in the clan respects Big Brother. Su Jueming lifted his head with a smirk. I've heard Nanjing has been up to something big recently. Let me congratulate Big Brother in advance. Big move. The old master indeed looked up, directing his gaze at Su Jueling with a smile. I was wondering why I haven't seen Nanjing lately. Where did he go? Among the younger generation of the Su family, many were outstanding, but in Zhongjing, Su Nanjing and Su Jin were particularly well known, particularly Su Nanjing, who had the backing of the Zhang family and who had always outshone Su Jin. Giving Su Jueming a brief glance, Su Jueling reported to the old master. Dad, don't mind the nonsense from my second brother. Nanjing has been off riding motorbikes in some secluded place recently. Less than 10 people knew that Su Nanjing went to Xiangqing to draw blood from Zhang Fulai. You're being modest, Su Jueming turned to the old master. Nanjing wants to give you a surprise. Su Jueling frowned slightly. After the meal. On his way back to his own yard, Su Jueling finally spoke to Gao Yan. Who did you want that position for? He asked casually, knowing his wife was a person of discretion, which is why he hadn't refused when she brought it up. For our future daughter, Gao Yan, wrapped in a thick military coat over her Cheongsam in the Zhongjing cold, paused as she recalled Su Nanjing's response, Xuedinga's daughter. She answered. Su Jueling was used to Gao Yan's odd descriptions. Daughter? Su Genie? Su Genie, Su Juming's daughter, was currently the highest status socialite in Jiangjing circles. Old Master Su greatly doted on her, and Su Genie was also very promising. Unlike her father, Gao Yan had a good impression of her. After all, with the family's prominence in the Su family, the only ones who could outshine Su Genie were members of the Zhang family. But in this generation of the Zhang family, there was no other young lady but Zhang Fulai. Chapter 433. 169 She can't turn the world upside down in the Zhongjing circle? Guessing rank _4. Gao Yan had been envious of her for a long time. It's not her, I have my eye on a goddaughter for you, it's... Gao Yan laughed softly, then seemed somewhat distressed. She doesn't seem to like us very much though. Oh. Su Jueling was surprised but not overly confident. Gao Yan had the idea of taking a goddaughter, and throughout Zhongjing, there couldn't be many people who would refuse, right? This was indeed novel, but since Gao Yan was not keen on elaborating, he didn't ask. Lin uncle, who had grown up with Su Jueling, was particularly astonished. Gao Yan wanted to take a goddaughter? Given Su Nanjing's status, if Gao Yan took a goddaughter, wouldn't she turn the Zhongjing circle upside down? After all, a huge part of Su Jinyi's high status in the circle was because she was a member of the Su family. And the Su family? Everyone knew Su Nanjing was a good friend of Zhang Fulai. Back in the courtyard, Su Jueling called Su Nanjing, his eyes slightly narrowed. What have you been doing these past few days? You got news so fast? On the other end of the phone, Su Nanjing sat at the bar, elbow resting on the counter, lips curved in a smirk. I've landed a deal that, if successful, means you won't have to worry about lab supplies for the coming year. This was indeed a big deal, and Su Jueling narrowed his eyes slightly. You need to be careful with this matter. Your second uncle might know about it. Don't worry, Su Nanjing squinted his eyes. Monday. A few scores were released first. This time, it was an internal exam at Xiangqing No. 1 High School. The questions, formulated by the grade-level academic teams, were not difficult. There wasn't a significant gap in the high scores. Mathematics was relatively easy compared to the final exam. Bai Lian and Ning Xiao both achieved perfect scores, and even Tang Ming aced the test. In class 15, the math teacher glanced over the students with a smile, instructing the papers to be distributed. Everyone did quite well this time, and the improvement in math is rapid. If you have any questions, feel free to come to me. Wang Qi came over, saw that Bai Lian and Ning Xiao got perfect scores again after English, muttered, terrifying, and returned to his seat. The questions were somewhat easy for Bai Lian and Ning Xiao. Therefore, Bai Lian didn't gain an advantage in mathematics and physics. After school in the afternoon, a group from class 15 walked together. Not far away, students from class 8 were also gathered. Class 8 was full of tough kids, either from wealthy families or families with power, many of whom had private tutors. Everyone only checked their own scores for the end-of-term joint exam and did not know others' scores. But Ning Xiao becoming first in place of Chen Zhu during a few monthly tests last semester was alarming. Therefore, almost everyone in class 8 had been taking supplementary classes during the winter break. Winter break was also a chance to pull ahead. The last two subjects' results will probably be out tomorrow. I wonder how much Bai Lian and Ning Xiao scored, said the class 8 monitor, who used to be close to Zhang Xi's. With a buzz cut, his gaze landed on Bai Lian in front of him, his voice lowered. Did Bai Lian hire a private tutor over the winter break? Upon hearing this, Chen Zhu, who was with Ran Wanxian, also paused in his steps. Looking toward Bai Lian's side. No, Ran Wanxian, holding her backpack, squinted toward Ning Xiao and Bai Lian, and finally rested her gaze on Bai Lian. She went to Zhongjing for a wedding. Ran Wanxian knew this from Ran Qian. The Su family had not extended an invitation to the Ran family. Hearing this comment, Chen Zhu was momentarily stirred. He and Ran Wanxian had been staying home, studying with the family tutor from Beijing, not missing a single day. Ran Qian had high hopes for Ran Wanxian, and the tutor they hired was among the best in Beijing. Vacations meant relaxation for other students, but for Ran Wanxian and Chen Zhu, it was an optimal time to fill in the gaps. Zhongjing, then you definitely want score higher than her this time, the class 8 monitor said to Chen Zhu, chuckling. Ning Xiao's family surely can't afford a home tutor. Chen, you have a great chance. These weren't random speculations. Playing for winter break certainly wasn't the same as studying for it. Chen Zhu heard this and just shook his head. Not necessarily. Not far away. Wang Qi noticed the looks from the students of class 8, frowning. What are those people from class 8 staring at us for? I don't know, Pu Xiaohan shrugged, playing with the camera in her hand. Their brains have always been a bit off. Tang Ming and Bai Lian were discussing a physics problem. Ning Xiao didn't pay attention to those people. Ning Xiao walked alongside the two, not talking much, only occasionally glancing at Bai Lian. The electric field comes down like this. Bai Lian's hand angled 45 degrees downward, under the sunlight, her fingertips glistening like jade. Looking at Tang Ming, imagine in your head how the path of Q and E would intersect. An idea struck Tang Ming and he slapped his forehead. Right, how did I not think of that? He took off his backpack and pulled out a practice workbook. Only then did Bai Lian slightly turn her head, fished out Bluetooth earbuds from her pocket, and while putting them on, she languidly looked at Ning Xiao. What did you want to say? It's just... Ning Xiao was inviting a friend to dinner for the first time. His eyes and voice both dropped, very quiet. My uncle wants to invite you to dinner to thank you. Do you have time? Chapter 434. 171st 3 are some kind of devils. Meet_1. Your uncle. Bai Lian was somewhat astonished. Ning Xiao nodded. Bai Lian remembered that man named Wang. It was the first time she had heard Ning Xiao mention his uncle. Ning Xiao was someone who inherently lacked affection, barely uttering a few words even in front of Grandma Wang. When Bai Lian last visited Ning Xiao's home, Grandma Wang's reaction was very agitated. Is this it? Bai Lian lowered her head to find an English reading app and pressed play. Just find a time that works for you. Ning Xiao breathed a sigh of relief. He was aloof, always speaking with a brooding tone. He hadn't had many friends before, and for over a decade, he had been a loner. Aside from Zhang Xi's, not many in class 15 dared to approach him. Before Bai Lian joined their class, Ning Xiao had never imagined he would eat hot pot with the people from class 15. Looking over at Tang Ming and Pu Xiaohan's group, Ning Xiao thought of Wang Yufeng's request and felt a headache coming on. Wang Yufeng had asked him to invite all his friends to dinner. Tuesday. All 3 comprehensive science exams were handed out. Bai Lian found a moment to hand over her mind maps and study methods to Lu Lingxi. In the office, Lu Lingxi took the stack of papers and looked down. It's what we've compiled. And part of it was what Ning Xiao and Tang Ming had put together for Zhang Xi's. Bai Lian looked at Lu Lingxi. With less than 4 months left, if they work hard, most students can score a few more points. With so many students in the school, there were those who had clear goals like Bai Lian and some like Zhang Xi's. These materials would also be helpful to those with clear goals. Thank you all. Lu Lingxi hadn't expected that Bai Lian and her 2 companions would take the time to do this. She packed away the materials. I'll distribute them to each class right away. Every top student has their own study method, both efficient and fast. Back then, a student from Xiqing had shadowed their top scorer during college entrance exams and asked about study methods that ultimately helped get into Jiangjing University. A story that also circulated online. Lu Lingxi knew these methods held significance for average students. As the grade director, she quickly convened a meeting with the class advisors. The class advisor of Class 8 took these materials and brought them to the class that afternoon, placing them on the lectern. These are study materials and methods provided by Teacher Lu. Anyone who needs to can come to me for a printout after class. Also, the initial test scores are out. You can come check your rankings after class if you're interested. After finishing, he picked up the exam papers and began discussing the physics multiple choice questions. This time, the physics questions weren't hard and the students in Class 8 performed well. After class, a crowd surged forward to see Chen Zhu's ranking. Chen Zhu Wanxian. Their seats had been changed. The class president of Class 8, now sitting in front of Chen Zhu, rested his hand on the table and leaned over to look at Chen Zhu, then glanced at Ran Wanxian sitting in the row next door. Are you two going to print those materials? Chen Zhu's dark eyes were fixed in the direction of the lectern, and he didn't respond immediately. Ran Wanxian hesitated. Heard through the grapevine, the class president's desk mate, a guy with a buzz cut, Bao Boyu, could barely suppress his laughter, that these study methods and materials are supposedly by Bai Lian and Ning Xiao's group. What? Chen Zhu's desk mate also laughed. I mean, what are they doing? Isn't this awkward? Are they sharing their study experiences? Who's going to print it? If you print it, remember to show me. Bao Boyu glanced at Chen Zhu, then said, I'm definitely not going. The class president didn't make any statement. Both Chen Zhu and Ran Wanxian had actually considered printing the materials, but upon hearing that it was compiled by Bai Lian and her group, neither of them reacted. Ran Wanxian turned to Chen Zhu and asked quietly, Are you going on Saturday? Chen Zhu shook his head. Not sure. I don't know who it is, but my dad might go. Go where? Bao Boyu knew these two were better informed than most. The MK Club has booked Panshan Highway, Ran Wanxian explained indifferently to the others, for a friendly race. Booked Panshan Highway? The class president was surprised. Who has that kind of money? Chen Zhu murmured. MK, you guys search it. A few classmates who had their phones immediately started searching. The MK Club, a top-tier luxury motorcycle club in Jiangjing, funded by the privileged scions of Jiangjing. Damn, Bao Boyu was astonished. Why would they hold a friendly race in a place like ours? Neither Ran Wanxian nor Chen Zhu had an answer to that. It was then that the chatter from those who went up to the lectern to check the grades suddenly stopped. What happened? Bao Boyu looked over and then stood up, pushing through the crowd. While speaking and laughing, he said, What rankings for Chen Zhu and Wanxian this time? It can't be that Ning Xiao has surpassed them again. Chapter 435. 171st 3 are some kind of devils. Meet_2. Upon looking, he was too late to close his mouth. That was agape. Class 8 scores were always good, especially for people like Chen Zhu and Ran Wanxian. Last semester, Ning Xiao exceeded Chen Zhu in the midterm exam. However, at that time, Chen Zhu was at least the second in rank, but now, Bao Boyu looked at the names in the first row. Chen Zhu Chinese, 136, 1, 6 Math, 142, 1, 4 English, 141, 1, 4 Science Comprehensive, 281, 1, 4 Total Score, 700, 1, 4 Chen Zhu was almost first in every subject in class, as usual, with rankings almost the same in school and class, occasionally switching places with Ning Xiao. But now, he was consistently ranked fourth from the top in every subject. Both Chen Zhu and Ran Wanxian felt the disturbance on the podium and stepped forward to check the rankings. The latter half of the semester had been extremely stressful for Ran Wanxian, who had hired a tutor charging a hefty fee, and she had believed she would confidently be able to return to her former level alongside Chen Zhu, only to find, not only had she not recovered, but her ranking had even dropped. Chen Zhu stared intently at the number, for a long time before turning to find the class teacher in the office. Ren Wanxian followed suit. A wordless silence spread from the entire podium. After a long while, someone finally broke it. I only have 590 points, and with 700 points to be at 4th, I want to know, what kind of demonic scores are the top 3? The office. The Class 8 homeroom teacher wasn't surprised to see Chen Zhu and Ren Wanxian. You've come. What are the scores for the top 3? Chen Zhu's face was exceptionally cold. He looked only at the homeroom teacher, his words terse. They're right here, take a look. The Class 8 homeroom teacher handed another ranking sheet to Chen Zhu. Chen Zhu and Ren Wanxian looked down to see the overall ranking list. No. 1 Ning Xiao. 741 NO. 2 Bai Lian. 737 NO. 3 Tang Ming. 736. The top 3 had pulled away from Chen Zhu by 30 to 40 points. A stark difference in scores. The two stared at the paper, unable to snap back to reality for quite some time. How is this possible? Ren Wangshuan's face turned pale. She had worked so hard with Chen Zhu during the winter break, and now she felt a sense of powerlessness. Of course, what she and Chen Zhu didn't know was that this gap was actually not significant, given that math and physics were far too simple for Bai Lian and the rest. When it came to the difficulty level of the college entrance exam, the gap would be even more apparent. Evening. Bubble tea shop. Ning Xiao went home early, while Bai Lian, Tang Ming, Jian Zhe, and a few others were reviewing inside. Yang Lin still had 2 hours of classes to teach. The bubble tea shop was larger than ordinary stores, well decorated and affordable. Although its cakes were not as delicious as before, they still tasted better than most of the other stores, and most people still liked to come here for their purchases. Su Nanjing and Xiao Bingwen, 2 young masters, stood at the door, also quite a scene. Bai Lian sat by the window, concentrating on her problems. Not far away, 2 girls were using their phones to take pictures of the window. Did you get it? Got it, got it. Quick, take a picture for me. I want to be in the same frame as Sister Bai. When Su Nanjing and Xiao Bingwen arrived, they saw such a spectacle. Though they knew Bai Lian was attractive, wasn't this a bit much? Her popularity really is quite something, Su Nanjing said with a laugh once he saw it. Xiao Bingwen stood next to Su Nanjing, rather surprised. You seem to think highly of her. He knew Su Nanjing wasn't easy to get along with. Can't quite say. Su Nanjing took out a cigarette. From childhood, he was the kind of personality that couldn't be controlled by his family, warm yet wild, often hitting it off with those who shared some common interests. Bai Lian, seemingly a well-behaved student however, got along quite well with him. He entered and, as usual, ordered a few cups of bubble tea for Bai Lian and the others. Once Yang Lin completed the order, she turned to serve the next customer. After Su Nanjing left, a regular store employee finally withdrew his gaze from Su Nanjing. Yang Lin, do you know him? Not really. His clothes look really expensive, like my month's salary. The employee clicked his tongue and increased the pace of crushing ice. Another boy added, more like your year's salary. A month might not cut it. Su Nanjing didn't interrupt Bai Lian and the others' study session. The two were just waiting for Zhang Fulai. After most of the students from First High left, Zhang Fulai's car slowly arrived. It was getting dark late in Xueqi, and the sun hadn't set yet. In the twilight, Zhang Fulai's tall figure appeared both solitary and cold. A cursory glance swept over, causing Xiao Bingwen to instinctively avoid eye contact, struck with surprise. Was Zhang Fulai in a bad mood today? He didn't dare to look at Zhang Fulai again. Almost time, Su Nanjing put out his cigarette and stood up straight. The racetrack is cleaned up. Chael will definitely love this feast. Chapter 436. 171st 3 are some kind of devils. Meet_3. Zhang Fulai had just stepped out of the laboratory when he heard the statement and gave him a look. Well done. Scarce mineral resources on Earth were just so much, and it was not easy to pry a bit away from a family like Dawson's, with its profound heritage and affiliation with M country. It's on Saturday night, Su Nanjing raised an eyebrow, curling his lips. It should be quite a big event. Are you and Bai Lian planning to come? Xueqi was not as chaotic as Jiangjing, and with Zhang Fulai around, Su Nanjing faced almost no obstacles from start to finish. Everything was surprisingly relaxing. So much so that he even invited Bai Lian and Jiang Fulai to attend the grand banquet. Jiang Fulai walked towards the milk tea shop, his gaze falling on the glass window, his expression easing slightly. "I'll ask her." Then she might not be willing, Su Nanjing pondered. She'd rather choose to study. 8 o'clock in the evening. Purist Street. Jiang Fulai took Bai Lian to the usual place. The street lights were bright, casting long shadows of the two. It wasn't late at this time and passers-by would greet Bai Lian from a distance. At the intersection, after sending off Bai Lian, Jiang Fulai paused, then reached into his coat pocket to take out a sandalwood box. "What's this?" Bai Lian looked down. "Sandalwood," Jiang Fulai said calmly and succinctly, "for helping with sleep." Bai Lian took it from him, looked up, the street lights casting hazy contours on her face. "For sleep." In fact, even Ji Hung wasn't aware of her sleep issues. "Yes," Jiang Fulai was reluctant to explain further, simply embracing her fully, resting his chin on her shoulder, his voice still clear and cool, his phoenix eyes slightly closed. "Su Nanjing invited us to watch the race on Saturday night." "A race?" Bai Lian asked, clutching the wooden box, shadows cast on her face by the streetlight. "What race?" "Motorcycle, I guess." Jiang Fulai knew about Su Nanjing's activity but didn't care much about it. "If you don't want to go, let's have hot pot fish head on Saturday." "Motorcycles?" Bai Lian's eyes lit up slightly. "Let's go." This was beyond Jiang Fulai's expectation. He looked down at her surprised. "All right." Releasing his grip, he added softly, "Go back, good night." Saturday. 11 o'clock in the morning. At Jiang Fulai's residence, the sun was gentle, and a mild breeze caressed the face. Su Nanjing and Xiao Bingwen sat in the wicker chairs outside, talking. Above them was the gazebo and the sunshine, Su Nanjing leaning back, his eyes slightly closed as he tapped his fingers on the armrest. "How's Xiaoguo's practice coming along?" "I've asked Chael to look after the club. This race can't afford a single mistake." Su Nanjing being able to chat with Chael was in part due to sharing the same hobby. "Don't worry, our people are keeping watch," Xiao Bingwen nodded, his expression serious. It hadn't been easy to approach Chael, and in all of Jiangjing, Su Nanjing was the first to reach this step. Who could have known that Chael would be hanging around the Azure Dragon Bar and would share the same hobby as Su Nanjing? Ming Dongheng was sitting next to Su Nanjing, his face cold, saying nothing. As the two talked, Bai Lian came out of the house, and Su Nanjing immediately looked over. "Hi, little sister Bai Lian, done with your homework?" By his side, Ming Dongheng picked up the keys on the table and stood up. Bai Lian greeted Su Nanjing in a lazy tone as well. "It's almost time for dinner. Where are you going?" Su Nanjing realized that Bai Lian was about to head out as he looked at Ming Dongheng. Today was the day Su Nanjing and Chael had organized a motorcycle chase. For this, he had prepared for 10 days. The group was planning to go to Panshan Highway just after lunch. "Going to dine with classmates first," Bai Lian said, holding a canvas bag, smiling at him. Today, Uncle Ning Xiao was inviting Ning Xiao's classmates for a meal. Su Nanjing looked at Ming Dongheng saying, "We happen to be heading to Panshan Highway earlier as well, Xiaoming. Don't make an extra trip. I'll take little sister Bai Lian there." Ming Dongheng gripped the keys tightly. Half an hour later, Xiao Bingwen's car stopped in front of a very clean, old-fashioned local restaurant. This street was somewhat ancient and was not frequented by non-locals. Bai Lian got out from the back seat and said goodbye to Su Nanjing. Su Nanjing leaned out to watch as Bai Lian entered, then withdrew his gaze, noticing two burly men who had just gone in and feeling slightly surprised, as they looked like martial artists with extraordinary abilities. So many martial artists in Xiangqing? It was out of the ordinary to see two such figures in a small restaurant. Xiao Bingwen also glanced over. "This place is on the border. Mercenaries are common here." Su Nanjing nodded. The two continued their talk as the car drove away. On the second floor, in a private room, Pu Xiaohan and Tang Ming had arrived 10 minutes before Bai Lian. Wang Yufeng was wearing a more amicable outfit today, and he greeted Ning Xiao's two classmates with a smile. "Ning Xiao has a difficult personality. Please be forgiving of him." Ning Xiao sat by his side, his face cold, silent. "Uncle, it's because the academic god was willing to hang out with us and even explained problems to us." Pu Xiaohan expressed his gratitude to Ning Xiao. "Our class ranked first in the average score for the midterm exams, all thanks to him. Wang Yufeng was surprised. He glanced at Ning Xiao and then asked, "Didn't you say there was another classmate coming? Why hasn't the person arrived?" Ning Xiao looked down at the time. "She's here." As Wang Yufeng wondered how Ning Xiao could be so certain, the next second, the door to the private room was knocked on 3 times, and Tang Ming, who was sitting by the door, opened it. Chapter 437. 171 Are your requirements high? Second update. _1. Wang Yufeng knew the last one to arrive was the student teaching Ning Xiao the techniques. By Tang Ming's side, Pu Xiaohan's eyes also lit up. Lian is here. Ning Xiao by Wang Yufeng's side also sat up straight. This made Wang Yufeng feel strange. It seemed that the last student was the leader of this little group. Just who was this person that could even captivate someone with Ning Xiao's personality? Just as he was thinking this, the person outside had already walked in. The newcomer was dressed in a loose lead white top and dark blue long pants, which looked somewhat like national-style training attire. A pair of wooden hairpins held up the long hair at the back of the head. She was casually carrying a canvas bag, with wisps of hair falling lightly across her forehead, and her ink-dyed eyebrows and eyes appeared relaxed yet cool. Although her style was different, Wang Yufeng recognized her. Wasn't this the girl who had saved him in the alley and then met his godmother? What a coincidence. Bai Lian, Wang Yufeng stood up and smiled at Bai Lian. So you're also Ning Xiao's classmate? Pu Xiaohan turned curiously. Uncle Wang, you know each other? Yes, we met at my godmother's house. Wang Yufeng did not mention the incident in the alley, only saying, previously when his grandmother accidentally fell, it was Bai Lian who brought her. Ning Xiao didn't know about this. He once again thanked Bai Lian, who had just transferred to their school at that time, and he did not know her yet. Pu Xiaohan and Tang Ming, who were still a bit restrained, were initially somewhat afraid of Wang Yufeng due to the tattoos that were faintly visible on his neck, but now that Bai Lian had arrived and they all knew each other, the atmosphere immediately relaxed. Classmates, add Uncle's WeChat. Wang Yufeng took out his phone, amicably adding Tang Ming and Pu Xiaohan's WeChat. If you need anything in the future, you can look for Uncle. All right. Both obediently took out their phones. When Wang Yufeng heard that Pu Xiaohan was a senior, he was momentarily stunned, and then looked at Ning Xiao. You're a senior already? He felt a bit embarrassed. He had brought back practice problems for freshmen on this trip. Ning Xiao. What else? Wang Yufeng felt a bit embarrassed and changed the subject. Is the college entrance exam coming up soon? All 4 of you need to work hard. After the meal, Wang Yufeng seemed particularly happy, and they only finished eating a little later than planned. He and Bai Lian lingered behind, and Wang Yufeng took out a cigarette. My godmother's condition is not good. She is conscious less and less, and I don't know how long she can hold on. You should spend more time with Ning Xiao. The last time Bai Lian took her grandmother's pulse, the signs had already been faint and weak. As they talked, the group parted ways at the door. Wang Yufeng watched Bai Lian and the others leave and then thought that he hadn't yet asked about Ning Xiao's grades. Where are you planning to apply? He turned around, asking casually. He planned to arrange things for Ning Xiao in advance. Ning Xiao, Jiangjing University. Wang Yufeng. Seriously. Although he didn't finish middle school, he knew that this was not a university just anyone could get into. At 6 in the evening, Bai Lian and Zhang Fulai arrived at Panshan Highway. The Panshan Highway in Xiangqing is located in the north of the city. Although it was only 6 o'clock, the entire Panshan Highway was already lit up with colorful lights and banners, and the grandstands on either side of the starting station had been renovated, sparkling in splendor. In the middle of the road were motorcycle enthusiasts from various countries. This was the second time Bai Lian felt there could be so many people. She was holding her phone. Miss Zhang, you're here. Su Nanjing didn't have time, so Xiao Bingwen, accompanied by others, came down to bring Bai Lian and Zhang Fulai to the viewing platform. There are 3 layers in the spectators' stand. The bottom layer had seating for regular spectators, as well as media reporters. The middle was for monitoring facilities and a giant screen, which would project live footage for those below. Many people were below, recording the giant screen with their phones. The 3rd floor was the VIP room, with a small section for a tea break room in the middle. Xiao Bingwen took Bai Lian and Zhang Fulai to the viewing platform, instructed the people outside to take good care of them, and then hurried away. Bai Lian saw there was a balcony and walked over. From the balcony, she could see the cheerleaders below, the huge screen opposite, and the audience on the first floor. The music and voices from below were booming. Zhang Fulai stood beside Bai Lian for a while, leaning slightly against the balcony, his eyebrows lowered. I thought you weren't interested in these kinds of things. It's all right, Bai Lian casually propped her hands on the balcony, her gaze fixed on a black motorcycle below, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. I've watched it sometimes. Outside, someone knocked on the door. It was Xiao Bingwen's man, Xueqi. Mr. Zhang, Miss Bai, here are some refreshments. He placed a small dish on the little table on the balcony. Seeing that Bai Lian and Zhang Fulai had no other instructions, he went back downstairs. He was very respectful. The sun was gradually setting, and streetlights were lighting up one by one, illuminating the entire Panshan highway as if it were broad daylight, making the crowd below even more excited. Zhang Fulai wasn't interested in motorcycles. He took out his laptop and placed it on the table, talking to Bai Lian while also checking his computer. The friendly match would start at 7:28 p.m. At 7 p.m., after Su Nanjing and Xiao Bingwen finished greeting people, they finally found a chance to say hello to Bai Lian and Zhang Fulai. Su Nanjing sat opposite Zhang Fulai and drank a large glass of water. It's not easy. Chael seems to love this scene. He's chatting with the racers downstairs. Zhang Fulai closed his laptop and started to talk business with Su Nanjing. Is everything arranged? You still don't trust me? Su Nanjing smiled. Zhang Fulai didn't say anything, just gave him a light glance. Su Nanjing, that matter with physics doesn't count. Bai Lian was still lying lazily on the balcony, listening to English and looking at the cars below. Xiao Bingwen stood by Su Nanjing's side, his posture also much more relaxed now. Just at that moment, someone knocked on the door. Xiao Bingwen went to open it. It was Xueqi. He whispered something in Xiao Bingwen's ear, and Xiao Bingwen's expression suddenly changed. What's wrong? Su Nanjing, holding a glass, looked over casually. Xiao Bingwen's expression was cold. Xiaoguo went back to Zhang Jing. Su Nanjing gripped the glass tightly, his tone becoming particularly dangerous. Back to Zhang Jing? When did he leave? This afternoon he said he wanted to take another lap to familiarize himself with the route. Xiao Bingwen pursed his lips. He must have gone back then. No substitute racer? Zhang Fulai tapped his fingers on the table, narrowing his eyes. Su Nanjing shook his head, looking quite troubled. There are not many in the club who dare to run this stretch. Besides Xiaoguo, there's one other person, but he can't run the whole thing. I personally recruited him. I didn't expect him to leave at this time. Zhang Fulai's gaze fell on Su Nanjing, coolly asking, Do you know who's behind this? Su Nanjing tilted his head back and gave a bitter smile. It must be an inside job. Thanks to Su Juming's reminder, Su Nanjing had also prepared well for Su Juming's moves. He took precautions against the people around Chael and made sure nothing happened on his watch. The only thing he didn't expect was betrayal from within his ranks. This business matter was crucial. Su Nanjing felt that his uncle wouldn't be so foolish, and it was his own fault for getting too comfortable with everything going too smoothly in Xueqi, lowering his guard. Zhang Fulai, looking at Bai Lian who was practicing her English words, lowered his voice. Let's talk inside. He stood up and went inside. The atmosphere downstairs was exhilarating. But in this room on the third floor, the atmosphere was very oppressive. Zhang Fulai and Su Nanjing were inside. Xiao Bingwen did not dare to go in, but his face also couldn't be said to be good. I should have not left his side. No one could have anticipated this. Xueqi clenched his fists in anger. Xiaoguo's betrayal is just despicable. Bai Lian tilted her head and looked at the backs of Zhang Fulai and Su Nanjing. She asked Xiao Bingwen, Is it that serious missing one person? How could it not be serious? This was Su Nanjing's big opportunity to get on good terms with Chael, concerning rare metals and international trade. Explaining all this to Bai Lian might be futile since she probably wouldn't understand. Xiao Bingwen, pressing at his brow, suppressed his irritation and explained to Bai Lian. If this matter isn't handled well, things will be even harder for Nanjing in the Su family. The Su family members scrutinize his every move, and his uncle has always been against him. Bai Lian took off her headphones, her hand lazily resting on the balcony, listening to Xiao Bingwen's explanation. It was now 7:18 p.m., and the staff knocked at the door. Third young master Chael is asking when you will come down. As soon as the words were spoken, The atmosphere in the room sank even lower. The match would start at 7:28 p.m. Chael must have already reported this incident to Grandpa, Xueqi added from the side, and then he sighed. If only we had a racer familiar with the route right now. There were no motorcycle clubs in Xueqi, and the routes on Panshan Highway were complex. There weren't many who ran them, so finding someone familiar with the route on short notice was not easy. After Xueqi finished speaking, Bai Lian thought for a moment, how high are your requirements? She wasn't professional. She had only run this Panshan Highway with Mao Kuan and the others. When she needed to blow off steam, she would either go to a fight club or drive here. Su Nanjing had given her things before. If their requirements weren't high, she could race a stretch. Of course, she wasn't professional, but she was wild enough. Chapter 438. 172 Wild Blueberry _1. It's not high level, they're all amateurs, Xiao Bingwen said softly, and it was precisely because of this that no one expected issues to arise. There are 9 racers. Chael likes the number 9. Just completing the race is enough. Su Nanjing found 3 capable racers, one of whom was his most trusted Xiaogua, while Xiao Bingwen had people keeping an eye on the other 2, excluding Su Nanjing's most trusted Xiaogua. Chael may act like brothers with Su Nanjing, but striking a business deal wasn't easy, or else Su Nanjing wouldn't have gone to such great lengths to construct a racetrack. How important it was to accompany Chael goes without saying. Even Su Nanjing was on edge. Despite having invested so much to raise the caliber, they were 1 short at the final moment. And on the crucial number, 9 at that. Bai Lian turned off the app on her phone and slowly flexed her wrist. Then I can do it. Xiao Bingwen was pondering the likelihood of finding a substitute to complete the full race when he heard Bai Lian's statement. What? He looked Bai Lian up and down. Compared to Zhang Fulai, Bai Lian was undoubtedly more introverted, with a loose white shirt on her exuding a mysterious artist vibe. So much so that when Bai Lian spoke, Xiao Bingwen never associated her with riding a motorcycle. Inside the house, Zhang Fulai was wearing a casual white jacket today, his naturally stern aura more prominent. His gaze solely on Bai Lian, the corner of his lips tensed. No! Su Nanjing too was startled by Bai Lian's words. Little sister Bai Lian? This is a motorcycle we're talking about. If there were many willing to ride tonight, Su Nanjing wouldn't have been in such a passive position. He had even thought about letting that substitute who couldn't finish the race take part. Even though they weren't race bikes, the motorcycles Su Nanjing prepared for today also had 1,000 cubic centimeters engines, although their top speeds didn't reach that of professional race bikes. Inherently dangerous. Not to mention Zhang Fulai, Su Nanjing also would not let Bai Lian ride, and given Bai Lian's appearance, she hardly looked like someone who could ride a motorcycle. Bai Lian nodded. I'm aware I can ride. The timing was off, but when Bai Lian said she could ride a motorcycle, Su Nanjing too was incredibly surprised. Next time I'll take you for a ride. Let's forget about today, this isn't a joke. Moreover, Su Nanjing didn't dare look back at Zhang Fulai beside him. He felt the chill coming from Zhang exude almost visibly. Real racing was a rider's game. They were not afraid of death. Su Nanjing was a true car enthusiast and understood the dangers involved. Don't you need someone familiar with the Panshan Highway? Bai Lian's gaze drifted towards the racetrack outside. She made a rough estimate. I've run this track no less than 100 times. I could do it with my eyes closed. Zhang Fulai's expression darkened. When did you run it? I used to run it a lot in the beginning. Bai Lian knew who really called the shots among them. Now I've been focusing on studying mostly, but I'll be careful. It's been a long time since I last ran. After all, Bai Lian redirected her gaze, her dark pupils turned to Zhang Fulai, her voice almost imperceptible. I value my life highly now. Zhang Fulai just stood in front of her, knowing a little about motorcycles because Su Nanjing liked them. An outsider like him only sensed danger, the kind where one mistake at that speed was irreversible. He looked steadily at Bai Lian. Be careful. Su Nanjing had thought that Zhang Fulai would be the most determined to stop Bai Lian, but in the end, it was Zhang Fulai who was the most indulgent. Nanjing, Xiao Bingwen watched Bai Lian go to get changed and grab a helmet, feeling very uneasy. Are you sure it's okay? Su Nanjing pulled out a cigarette, his gaze resting on Zhang Fulai in front of him. The usual relaxed air about him was absent. I don't know. If it hadn't been for Bai Lian speaking up today, he wouldn't have had any clue that she could ride motorcycles. Downstairs. The starting race track. 7:25. Su Nanjing went downstairs to greet Chael, a foreigner with chestnut hair and deep brown eyes. Su Nanjing communicated fluently in English. Sorry, we had a little problem with our people, but they will be here shortly. Chael held a champagne glass in one hand, his eyes squinting a bit as he observed Su Nanjing. All right. Su Nanjing watched Chael's expression closely, his heart sinking slightly, realizing that someone had already informed Chael about the issue in advance. The 8 motorcycles ahead. Orange, fiery red, ice blue. Each motorcycle had a person standing beside it. In the cheering crowd, a person in a fisherman's hat pressed an earpiece, bowed his head. They haven't put up a substitute. Chapter 439. 172 Wild Blueberry _2. On the other end of the earpiece, Jiang Jing. The middle-aged man put the phone on speaker. Su Jueming played with the bird in the cage. After listening to the person on the other side of the phone, he said with an ambiguous tone, "It's a pity that Mr. Chael is destined to be disappointed." "It's not just Mr. Chael who will be disappointed." The middle-aged man hung up the phone. "Yes," Su Jueming smiled slightly, "my respected father, he is going to announce his next successor at his birthday banquet. I wonder what he will think tomorrow." Considering whether the old master Su could live a few more years, skipping over Su Jueming, Su Jueling, he only had high hopes for Su Nanjing. The middle-aged man bowed his head. "Second master, I asked my son to rush back. What do you think?" "Rest assured," Su Jueming took down the birdcage and glanced at him. "You won't miss out on the benefits. Tidy up your things and go to the product department tomorrow." As he played with the bird, he walked back along the corridor. After the man left, someone carefully asked the middle-aged man, "Manager Gua, doing this, won't you offend the third young master?" Everyone knew that Su Nanjing was on the rise. If it weren't for motor racing, Guo Huai might not even have the chance to meet Su Nanjing. The third young master? The middle-aged man squinted slightly. Guo Huai has been following behind him for 8 years. What has he gained apart from being a racing driver? "I've been with the Su family for so many years, yet I've been demoted instead of promoted. Even without offending him, a person like him wouldn't consider us anyway. It's better to take a gamble." This was the opportunity he had waited 8 years for. "And," the middle-aged man said, a smile forming on his face, "after today, the third young master will have to bow down in the Su family. Whether the Su family belongs to the second master or the third young master, it remains to be seen." He seemed to see the boundless wealth of his future. 7:27. The first floor. Zhang Fulai had also come down, his gaze fixed on the big screen. From this angle he could only chase the camera's view on the screen later on. By his side, Xiao Bingwen still felt like he was dreaming. Hesitantly he said to Su Nanjing, "Can she really do it?" While keeping an eye on Chael's movements, Su Nanjing shook his head. "I don't know, Chael has already found out." "What?" Xiao Bingwen pursed his lips, realizing his voice was too loud. He lowered his voice. "So there's no hope for today?" 99%, I guess," Su Nanjing said casually as he watched the racetrack. There was still 1% chance, on by Lien. "Brother Jiang," Su Nanjing went to ask Zhang Fulai. "You haven't seen her race before either." Zhang Fulai's face wasn't looking too good either, he just nodded slightly. Su Nanjing was also getting anxious now. The roar of engines started up, and a black motorcycle rolled out of the garage. The person on the bike wore a black and white motorcycle suit, a black helmet, which wasn't very form-fitting. She leaned slightly forward on the upper body, casually supporting herself against the fuel tank with her legs. She suddenly stopped at the starting point. Su Nanjing was startled. This posture looked like she really knew how to lean into the curves and race. Because she was the last to appear, the camera gave her a close-up. She was still wearing her helmet, legs loosely touching the ground, her upper body casually leaning forward, very relaxed movements, yet inexplicably powerful. The camera focused on her pair of jet-black beautiful eyes. Am I seeing things? A female rider? Who is this person? Have any of you heard of her? It was the first time the audience at the race had seen a female rider, and they were abuzz with discussions. Su Nanjing was tightly wound inside, but he smiled and said to Chael, "This is my sister, she's only recently learned." "Your sister?" Chael was surprised, which allowed Su Nanjing to read some expression on his face. He could tell that Bai Lian wasn't a newbie, nor someone Su Nanjing had found at the last minute to fob him off. That's just too cool. She might not perform well, Su Nanjing observed Chael's expression, finally adding with a smile, don't mind. Bai Lian watched the red flag fall, squeezed the front brake, compressed the suspension, engaged the clutch and the gear, revving up the engine. 3, 2, 1. As soon as the lights came on, she gunned the throttle and took off. Actually, her speed wasn't fast, and the red motorcycle was first to squeeze into the bend, with the white bike accelerating to overtake between second and third place. The commentator's voice was also very excited. We see the black bike currently in fourth, very steady. The yellow bike has completely blocked her path. The battle between first and second is heating up. Look at the white bike go for the overtake. The bend at the starting line wasn't big, and Bai Lian maintained a moderate speed throughout. It wasn't until the first left bend that Bai Lian took to the middle of the road, as she always did when riding this mountain road at night, because sometimes there would be other cars, and it offered a better view. Now it was the same. At the left bend, Bai Lian's dark eyes narrowed, and she leaned forward to minimize the wind resistance. With a gentle push of her left hand, the bike instantly tilted left, creating an acute angle with the ground. Having studied physics, Bai Lian naturally understood. If the speed was fast enough, she could lean lower through the bend. The camera switched to her just in time to see her bike, at high speed, almost blur, making it hard to see her clearly, but the viewers knew that the bike was at a sharp angle with the ground, nearly touching it with her clothes as she passed. Gasps of amazement came from the crowd periodically. The racetrack had a total of 15 bends. The race lasted less than 20 minutes, and Bai Lian was too familiar with this road. Just as she had said, she could run it with her eyes closed. Quick, we have the black bike, last 2 bends and she's going to overtake third place? The commentator was passionately exclaiming. The last 2 bends. A left followed by a right, the biggest and most difficult section of the entire track. If not managed well, one could either crash or drift off the track, and the first 3 riders were also braking to control their speed, except Bai Lian whose speed remained unchanged. She rested her heels on the foot pegs, adjusting her posture to control the bike's center of gravity. The black motorcycle under her command was like a nimble warhorse, leaning into and pressing through the bends, leaving a trail of sparks and flash on the outer track. Look, she's passed one. Let's see if she can hold on to third place. On the final lap, the camera was fixed on her. With the high-pitched screech of rubber on asphalt, the red bike stopped at the finish line, followed swiftly by the black bike cutting through the bend past the original second-place yellow motorcycle, ZZZT. Stopping at the finish line. On the big screen, the intense battle made it impossible to pay attention to anyone else. All eyes saw the black bike resting next to the red one, with the rider in a white and black racing suit casually resting one hand on the cool-colored fairing and the other pulling off her helmet, as her legs supported her against the ground. Her dark hair was loosely tied at the back of her head with a band, and under the slanted white lights, the loose strands were lifted by the wind, turning her tumbled dark hair luminous with a pale yellow glow. Her cool gaze inadvertently swept towards the camera, aloof yet wild. It was a rebelliousness etched in her very bones. Chapter 440. 173. Your answer has been recorded as the standard answer. Second update. _1. The girl's face on the big screen was magnified. Her cool, slender fingers held a helmet, with a wisp of red visible on her wrist. Even through the distant lens, one could feel the tension in her entire being. A swagger unique to her age. At the starting track, the crowd fell silent for a moment before cheers erupted suddenly, like a rolling heat wave. It was uncommon to see female riders on the racetrack, even more rare to see one with such strength, especially a third kind, one that was so good-looking. Sue, that was amazing. Chael's deep brown eyes burst with intense color as he excitedly turned to Su Nanjing beside him. Oh, your sister is really so surprising. Chael laughed heartily as he patted Su Nanjing's shoulder. You people from Flower Country are just too humble. He used several exclamation points to express his astonishment and satisfaction. The last 2 laps of the duel were a feast for motorcycle enthusiasts. Su Nanjing caught on, and he replied to Chael with a smile. I'm glad you liked it. His expression was calm, but inside, Su Nanjing felt like a drop of water in a frying pan. Of course, Chael looked toward the finish line. Does your sister have time? I'd like to meet her. She, said Su Nanjing as he saw that Jiang Fulai was no longer there, and apologetically told Chael, she's in her senior year of high school, making time to come was already difficult, she needs to return to do her schoolwork. That's too bad, Sue. Let's then talk about the collaboration, Chael persisted enthusiastically. The red car belonged to Chael's team and won first place. Chael was very satisfied, propelling the collaboration that Su Nanjing had in mind right onto the agenda. The two returned to the VIP room, and behind them, Xiao Bingwen and Xiao Yilei exchanged glances, seeing disbelief in each other's eyes. Miss Bai Shi. Xiao Yilei couldn't find the right adjective and ended up with just one word: she's fierce. Xiao Bingwen reminisced about those unruly eyes on the big screen and exhaled deeply. But, this time it seems we've turned a mishap into a blessing. Xiao Yilei gripped his fist, looking at Xiao Bingwen with excitement. The third young master has secured the collaboration. After Guo Huai left, someone informed Chael, which displeased him, and then Bai Lian emerged out of the blue, showcasing a classic bend press in the last two tracks, performing with such stellar technique right behind the red car. With all these factors in play, an elated Chael agreed to Su Nanjing's terms. If Guo Huai had not left and everything had proceeded as usual, Chael wouldn't have agreed so quickly, and it would have taken at least another month of negotiations. After today, her status in Nanjing's heart might surpass that of Su Jini, Xiao Bingwen commented softly. With Zhang Fulai around, very much to Su Nanjing's liking, skilled in motorcycles, securing a deal with Chael. Xiao Bingwen thought, it might no longer be a might. The title of Miss of Xinjiang District, owned by Su Jini, might have to make way for Bai Lian after she entered Jiangjing. Not far off. In the crowd, the class monitor of the 8th class came to his senses and nudged Chen Zhu beside him. Chen, that's Bai Lian, right? But the screen now displayed a defiant, self-indulgent face, and he hesitated to recognize it. Chen Zhu stared at the screen, which now showed an advertisement, and said nothing. Bai Lian returned to the rest area over here. Zhang Fulai was already waiting for her at the door after the bend press. Her mood was good and she took off the hair tie from the back of her head, reaching out to him. Where's the hairpin? Obviously, she couldn't wear the hairpins with a helmet, so Bai Lian had Zhang Fulai remove them. Zhang Fulai still looked aloof and serene. Even in casual white clothes, he exuded an air of refined elegance. His fingers pinched two wooden hairpins, eyes downcast, signaling Bai Lian to sit. Bai Lian sat on the sofa, with Zhang Fulai standing behind her. His articulate fingers threaded through her black hair, his movements slow and methodical, gathering a bunch of hair smoothly. Do you know how? Bai Lian felt him fiddling with her hair and leaned back slightly onto the sofa, a hint of doubt in her voice. Zhang Fulai responded nonchalantly with downturned eyes, tying half of the hair behind her back. The first attempt wasn't smooth, but by the second, head found his rhythm. I just watched it. Zhang Fulai twirled the dark hair around the wooden pin, his movements gentle, his voice soft. The process was very cool. His earnest compliment. Bai Lian lounged lazily on the sofa, not rushing him. But, Zhang Fulai gently inserted the hairpin into her hair. It was loose but anyhow bound together. Then he paused and picked up the second hairpin. It's very dangerous. Chapter 441. 173. Your answer has been recorded as the standard answer. Second update. _2. He paused, then uttered 3 words. Su Nanjing knew how to race, but Zhang Fulai had never seen a racing scene before. Today was because it was Bai Lian's first time watching. The whole process was extremely perilous. Especially in the last 2 bends, Bai Lian's reckless attitude nearly left Zhang Fulai out of breath, while everyone else cheered. Zhang Fulai put on her second hairpin, as her loose hair seemed a bit more secure, but not as neat as when she did it herself. He glanced at her, then slowly turned to face her, squatting down slowly to meet her eyes. There was always a touch of aloofness between his eyebrows, but today it had softened slightly. Zhang Fulai said softly, even if you have to ride a bike, can you go a bit slower next time? Those light-colored eyes, like glass beads, watched her quietly, earnest and persistent. Otherwise, I'll tell your grandfather, he added. Bai Lian. Fine. Give me a piece of paper and a pen, Bai Lian urged Zhang Fulai. I have some inspiration. The life and death speed had sparked a burst of creativity in Bai Lian that she was eager to record while she still remembered it. When Su Nanjing and Xiao Bingwen finished up and returned, Bai Lian was writing something on a piece of paper, sitting by the window with her head down and a lamp shining above her. Well, leave in a bit. Zhang Fulai glanced at Su Nanjing and Xiao Bingwen. Su Nanjing walked over for a look. Not leaving now? Bai Lian was drawing something, likely numbers, certainly something Su Nanjing had never seen before. Xiao Bingwen didn't dare to wander off, staying quietly to the side. His current demeanor towards Bai Lian was even more respectful than before, as she had displayed enough to command respect. Let's wait until she's done. Zhang Fulai reopened his laptop, the fluorescent light casting a cool glow on his face. Without her gouging, Bai Lian could only roughly jot down her inspiration. 9 o'clock. Xiao Bingwen drove back. Bai Lian and Zhang Fulai sat in the spacious rear seat. Yen Lu's next song was promising, and it was only then that Bai Lian felt in the mood to open the app, causing the screen plugin to activate as well. She randomly opened her account. The monthly rankings scrolled down. NO. 1 Liang Wuyu 48800 NO. 2 Su Jiuf 45112 NO 16. Ning Xiao 35587 NO. 37 Song Min 32589 NO. 43 Tang Ming 30178 NO. 261 by Xueqi 22493 NO. 852 by Gen 0. What should have been an overwhelming flood of private messages was now nowhere to be seen. Bai Lian's app hesitated for a moment before restoring smooth operation. She glanced at her points, clicked into this month's question bank. With each question worth 100 points, she hadn't done any, and the first one she came across was mathematics. A problem asking for the range of values for blanks. In a quadratic equation with one variable, ABC represents a triangle. She needed to find the range of BC. Scanning over it, Bai Lian roughly knew how to proceed and opened the drawing board on her phone to begin calculations. In the driver's seat, Xiao Bingwen turned on the music. In the car, Yen Lu's voice started to play, making Bai Lian instinctively look up. In the passenger seat, Su Nanjing was now vigorously attentive to Bai Lian's every move. Seeing her look up, he immediately perked up. Sister Bai Lian, you know this song too? It's by the singer Xiao Bingwen likes. Yen Lu. Xiao Bingwen glanced at the rearview mirror and replied politely. Bringing up his favorite singer, he added, this song would sound even better played on a guzheng. As the guzheng was mentioned, Su Nanjing remembered that Bai Lian could play it too. He said to her with a smile, Sister Bai Lian, he has a childhood friend who's studying the guzheng with a famous teacher. Maybe he can introduce you to her sometime. You mean Shuha? Xiao Bingwen's expression softened a bit at the mention of this person. That's right, Su Nanjing told Bai Lian. There are many good guzheng teachers in Jiangjing. If you're serious about wanting to study the guzheng, he chatted on. Bai Lian lowered her head, turned to the next problem, and said candidly, I'm just interested in the guzheng, I hadn't thought about studying it seriously. Her only love now was studying. Otherwise, why would Director Jian think that the only option was for her to return to Jiangjing? Being good at guzheng can be useful too, Xiao Bingwen picked up the conversation. Shuha is very talented, and her teacher holds her in high regard. I heard she's going to meet with old Master Chen. Su Nanjing shrugged. He wasn't particularly interested in the guzheng but had heard of Lung Shu's reputation. They arrived at Purist Street. Zhang Fulai escorted Bai Lian down. Su Nanjing looked at the low houses on Purist Street, guessing that Zhang Fulai would be a while before returning, so he got out of the car to smoke by the door. Xiao Bingwen came down on the other side. The two discussed the day's events. When the time comes, give some scarce materials to Master Ma, Xiao Bingwen estimated roughly, speaking to Su Nanjing. What do you think of the chances he agrees to let Professor Huang come on as an honorary professor? Chapter 442. 173. Your answer has been recorded as the standard answer. Second update. _3. He still hadn't given up. If academician Moss materials aren't enough, he'll turn to young Master Zhang, unless you come up with something that truly excites him. Su Nanjing flicked the ash from his cigarette and shook his head. If he were so accessible, he wouldn't be known as the clear stream among academicians. One who joins no power and focuses solely on research. His own achievements, the medals he has received. Even old Master Chen treats him with great respect when they meet. What are you planning to do about Guahuai? Xiao Bingwen remembered the matter at hand. Su Nanjing's eyes turned cold. My second uncle got the news so fast. I'm sure he'll soon find out about my negotiation with Chael tomorrow. If he knew the collaboration was pushed forward by a fortuitous mistake. In Ji Heng's courtyard. It was Saturday, and Jiang He had been with Ji Heng all day, swinging his legs as he watched Ji Heng draw the designs. Seeing Bai Lian return, Ji Heng looked at her hair. Where have you been? Your hair is a mess. Bai Lian almost wanted to laugh but held it in. Jogging. There's supper. Knowing Bai Lian loved to exercise, Ji Heng simply pointed at the pot and continued to focus on his drawing. Bai Lian took the supper back to her room, took out the guzheng and a sheet of paper, and refined the piece inspired by the night's musings. This musical composition was also nearing completion. Unlike the previous two, Bai Lian intended this one to be a boisterous feast. Wary of disturbing the neighbors, she lightly pressed the strings, planning to refine the piece in the next 2 days. After roughly adjusting the piece, she picked up her smartphone and slowly worked on the exercises from the app. No one knew that NO. 852s by Jen had climbed to NO. 598 in just one night. Monday. After school. At the school gate. Class 8 also noticed the standout Bai Lian. What are you doing? Bao Boyu, who was seated beside her, slung on his backpack and glanced at the class president. The president hesitated and lowered his voice. I'm going back to print out the study methods and materials from Bai Lian and Ning Xiao. You coming? As soon as he spoke, Bao Boyu hurriedly looked towards Chen Zhu and Ren Wanxian in front, then finally said, Are you really going? Yeah. The president, recalling what he had seen the night before in the school rankings, said, You know, all 3 of them scored 730 points. So what? Even if you read it, can you score 30 in 3 months? Bao Boyu whispered. Could you possibly get into Beijing University? You'd be better off currying favor with Ran Wanxian and young Master Chen. Both of their grades weren't far off, but there was still a long way to go to reach Beijing University. The class president paused. What if? I'm going to print it out. Aren't you coming? Bao Boyu helplessly gave him a look, as Bai Lian seemed to have some inexplicable power of faith within the school. Not going. Then he'll go alone. The president left quietly. Up ahead. Bai Lian held her smartphone, scrolling through questions on the screen when she saw Su Nanjing waiting outside. He was talking on his phone while watching the flow of people. On the other end of the phone was Gao Yan. You owe a big favor for this. Did young Master Zhang hit you? It's fine, Su Nanjing touched his nose, laughing. Anyway, you are the only one who needs to know about this. As for the rest, arrange as you see fit. First, find me about 10 home tutors. Chale played a significant part in this, and Gao Yan had been considering taking Bai Lian as her goddaughter. Hearing this news, she sighed. She truly is your lucky star. Don't worry. I've reserved her a spot for the future. Why don't you ask her again if she's interested in becoming my goddaughter? Su Nanjing just laughed. That I don't know. As Bai Lian approached, she heard him on the call but didn't interrupt. Su Nanjing's gaze briefly sharpened. He caught a glimpse of a familiar page on Bai Lian's smartphone. Politely, Su Nanjing told Gao Yan, I'll call you back later. After saying that, he hung up the phone, eyes fixed on Bai Lian's smartphone. Little sister Bai Lian, what's that on your phone? This. When asked, Bai Lian answered and turned her phone towards Su Nanjing, who just so happened to see a message stretched across the screen. Hello, your answer has been included as the standard answer. Chapter 443. 174 Bai Lian's True Strength _1. The words at the top of the mobile screen drifted past. Su Nanjing had also been tormented by this app and once doubted whether Zhang Fulai and Zhang Shijue were even human. He fell silent for a moment before putting his phone back in his pocket. Then, with a touch of impoliteness, he asked, Bai Lian, could I have a look at your question bank? Bai Lian. She handed her phone to Su Nanjing. Su Nanjing respectfully didn't tap anywhere else but opened the overall rankings, saw the familiar L, checked his familiar following list, and finally opened Bai Lian's homepage, NO. 192 by Gen 23875 from the get-go. Ming Dongheng had told Su Nanjing a few things about Bai Lian. The Su family, out of respect for Zhang Shijue and those close to Zhang Fulai, didn't conduct extensive investigations. Ming Dongheng had said that Bai Lian's grades were average. Su Nanjing believed it until now. Nanjing, Xiao Bingwen stopped the car at the intersection, and seeing that Su Nanjing hadn't come over for a while, he came over to urge him. Upon seeing Bai Lian, he greeted her politely, Miss Bai. Su Nanjing slowly looked up, and returned the phone to Bai Lian. What's the matter with you? Seeing Su Nanjing's unusual expression, Xiao Bingwen asked. He knew Su Nanjing was there to talk to Bai Lian about tutoring. Su Nanjing took a deep breath. Her ranking on the prep camp app is 192. What? Xiao Bingwen looked at Bai Lian's phone in astonishment. Bai Lian nodded her head. Yes, 192, what about it? Even Tang Ming had made it into the top 50. Bai Lian felt that compared to others, her ranking was also within a normal range. Schools here probably don't understand the significance of this ranking. Zhongjing University is open to the whole world, and the foreign exchange students inside are often lured by other students to stay in Zhongjing, making the competition fierce. Being from Zhongjing himself, Xiao Bingwen withdrew his gaze in shock. Therefore, on the app, domestic students who make it into the top 500 have a chance to get into Zhongjing University, and the top 200. It means you're not only capable of getting into Zhongjing University but also of choosing a very good major. Both these guys had a rough time getting into Zhongjing University, coming from a business background. Especially in Xiao Bingwen's eyes, being from a place like Xiongqing with less developed teaching resources and information, breaking into the top 200 meant she had an incredibly daunting talent. Upon hearing this, Bai Lian understood the reason. You're that strong. Su Nanjing clicked his tongue and came back to his senses. I'm actually the one benefiting. When you apply for a research position in the future, you'll go straight to our senior management. He casually made a promise to Bai Lian, which made Xiao Bingwen take another look at Bai Lian. Bai Lian gripped her phone but gave no response, only asking Su Nanjing, "What did you need me for today?" Su Nanjing. Just passing by to check on you. Tutoring? He was too embarrassed to say it. Bai Lian. Such a random visit, even more outrageous than young Master Zhang. All right, then I'm heading to a classmate's place. Seeing that Su Nanjing had no particular business, Bai Lian waved to him and turned to go to the Zhang family's home. Su Nanjing stood there, watching her walk away. After Bai Lian left, Xiao Bingwen exhaled. Nanjing, she really is. No surprise, Su Nanjing murmured. 192. Should have figured it out long ago. Anyone young Master Zhang takes an interest in, where's there not a freak? How could those two know that Bai Lian hadn't even finished this month's questions? This 192 ranking was merely the result of Bai Lian refreshing the app for one day after a rest on her weekend. Thinking this was Bai Lian's limit, they had no idea that this wasn't her true strength. Today, the Zhang family didn't have much product to unload. Only Bai Lian and Pu Xiaohan had come, and everyone else had gone back to do homework. The two sat in the courtyard eating the fruit washed by Mother Zhang. Xiao Lu will probably finish shooting by the end of the month, Mother Zhang said to Bai Lian with a smile. When she mentioned Yen Lu, her eyes shone with pleasure. She'll be back in Xiongqing after the shoot. Yen Lu had been filming for nearly 4 months. Her acting skills and foundation were solid, and she carried herself well. It was only her line delivery that sometimes couldn't keep up. She held her own even against seasoned actors. If it had been up to her alone, her scenes would have been completed long ago, but due to other actors, it was delayed until today. Bai Lian finished a cherry and nodded. I see. Keeping diligent with her studies, Yen Lu usually didn't bother Bai Lian. Bai Lian hadn't checked on Yen Lu's progress recently, but Mother Zhang had seen her several times. She and Xiaoza owe a lot to you, Mother Zhang looked at Bai Lian and then at Pu Xiaohan. And you guys, her classmates. Mother Zhang didn't continue, but Pu Xiaohan and Bai Lian understood. Auntie, Yen Lu and him, they've done nothing wrong. Pu Xiaohan handled her camera, filming the backyard. She spoke unhurriedly. And Zhang Xi's. He's a good person. Chapter 444. 174 Bai Lian's True Strength _2. Zhang Shi's imprisonment this time was largely related to Yen Lu. Yet Zhang Shi's parents never blamed Yen Lu. Bai Lian listened quietly, picked another cherry from the plate beside her, and finally opened WeChat. She sent 2 images to Warden Jian. New song Warden Jian. So soon. On the other side of the mobile phone, Jian Zhongyo put down his pen and picked up his phone. Not far away, a man and a woman stood up. Teacher. Lu Jiao Shuha. Keep practicing, I've got something to deal with. Jian Zhongyo raised his hand to signal them to carry on, then turned and walked back to his house on the campus. On his way back, he opened up Bai Lian's lyrics and composition. The first image was the lyrics. When Jian Zhongyo looked at it, He was struck by the unusual fact that Bai Lian had not used her usual neat font. Instead, she had written with a wild and uninhibited style, as if the brush strokes were flowing clouds and streaming water. Even though it was just an image, he could sense the unrestrained spirit of the person who penned the lyrics. Although Jian Zhongyo was not a calligraphy student, his background in a calligraphy family meant that he naturally recognized. This was clearly Liang's style. Who transcribed this for Bai Lian? Jian Zhongyo marveled to himself and then focused on the content. Following the first, second and third songs, the title of the fourth song was 4 characters. Rewriting the past, seeing the roadside flowers bloom for you again, the old path of bygone days once more we tread. Jian Zhongyo read through to the end and his eyes rested on the last 3 lines. Sun never setting, so beautiful in place of. He took out his keys, unlocked the door to his room, and decided to check out Bai Lian's song in his small recording studio. The arrangement of a song was too important. Jian Zhongyo had yet to play any of her compositions, but from the lyrics, he had an idea of the general style of the music and was afraid he might not be able to handle it. As he looked at the last few lines, he took out his guzheng and asked Bai Lian, "What does this mean?" Bai Lian replied swiftly, "The name sounds good, I'm thinking of snatching it for myself." Jian Zhongyo. This child, why is there such a scent of bloodthirstiness? Bai Lian. What do you think? Can you arrange this song? This song was entirely different in style from the previous 2. Jian Zhongyo looked at the lyrics and melody, feeling inspired and faintly sensing a lethal edge, a song that could possibly be firing in style. Jian Zhongyo marveled at the composition and thought it deserving for a high school senior to have written. He dared not claim that he could do a good job arranging it. This one was a bit of a challenge. Warden Jian. I'll try my best. After trying out some sounds in the recording studio, Warden Jian went back to his room to get his laptop. Far away in Jiangjing, Sister Xian received Bai Lian's message. "Warm your hands," she passed the cup of water to Yen Lu, smiling. "I need to go back to the company to arrange your next song." Yen Lu exhaled a puff of white breath. "Ms. Bai writes that fast?" Sister Xian nodded. Not far away, an assistant with the script approached. "Yen Lu, the screenwriter wants you to take a look at the new script." Yen Lu gave her thanks and took the script. Sister Xian watched the scene contentedly. Yen Lu had made a stand now, stabilized in the Great Yong film crew, and her acting was recognized by everyone, as the crew addressed her respectfully as Teacher Yen Lu. "Okay then. You keep reading. I'll head back to set up the publicity campaign. By the time you're done shooting, it should be time to release the new song." Sister Xian informed Yen Lu before returning to the company. It should be by the end of the month. In the past few months, Yen Lu had been focused on filming Great Yong, had signed a confidentiality agreement, and couldn't reveal much inside information. During this period, her 2 songs had become incredibly popular, causing company resources to subtly favor her. Those with potential could get access to better resources. At Beijing, the headquarters of Yen Lu's company, Yen Lu is releasing a new song at the end of the month? The boss, upon hearing this and looking at Sister Xian, became even more amiable. "Great, the company will coordinate with you on everything." He sent Sister Xian off with a cheerful smile. Then, back in his office, he looked at Enqi and his agent, drew a cigarette, and pondered, "Enqi, how about you change the timing of your album release? If it clashes with Yen Lu's." Enqi was a current hit singer, but his CP with Man Shi was in a precarious state. Who could have imagined that just half a year ago, Yen Lu was just a notorious actor? In just half a year's time, the hit singer Enqi had to avoid clashing with Yen Lu's new song release. It couldn't be helped. Yen Lu's first 2 songs were too popular, even making it onto overseas charts. The boss words made Enqi's expression grow even grimmer. His agent saw this and quickly smiled at the boss. "Well, follow the company's arrangement." Once they left the office, Enqi pulled out a face mask and said coldly, "Haven't you found out who the composer and arranger are yet?" "Someone's bid went up to $1 million and still didn't get it." The agent shook his head. "What do they see in Yen Lu? Wouldn't any singer sing it better than Yen Lu with that kind of arrangement and composition?" Chapter 445. 174 by Lian's True Strength _3. Compared to professional singers, Yen Lu's singing skills are quite ordinary. It's also quite strange. If you say Yen Lu has a financial backer, you don't see her flooded with resources. After thinking it over, the only envy-worthy thing is her composing and arranging skills. What do you think, if you were still hyping a CP with Yen Lu, would she tell you who they are? The manager asked Unshaken softly, or maybe let you sing instead? Upon hearing this, Unshaken fell silent. Rarely, Unshaken felt some regret. Because what the manager suggested wasn't impossible. Everyone knew Yen Lu was quite generous with people before. Look into it again, find out who's behind her. Unshaken put on his mask and lowered his brows and eyes. At the end of February, in Xueqi, Bai Lian had not been busy with anything else for the past half a month, just focusing on problem-solving. Saturday afternoon. Bai Lian was doing homework by the fish pond in the garden, with Xueqi sitting next to her doing a puzzle, while Bai Lian neatly wrote answers on a blank sheet of paper with a pen. The app, apart from sending out 20 problems every month, also features a challenge question bank. Each time you complete a challenge question, your points multiply. Zhang Fulai's unlimited points were gained just like this. Bai Lian didn't have an advantage in chemistry. She did more challenge questions, and most importantly, the challenge bank was all math problems. Su Nanjing came over to take a look and, having been away from high school for a few years, had nearly forgotten all these complex numbers, joining Xiao Bingwen in admiration. Sister Bai Lian's handwriting is really nice, truly befitting a top student. Xiao Bingwen didn't dare come too close, but he had seen Bai Lian's handwriting once or twice. He sneaked a glance at Su Nanjing, thinking, you didn't say that before. Zhang Fulai stood nearby, towering and elegant, holding a box of fish food, pinching a little and carelessly sprinkling it down. The food he sprinkled seemed to carry a barrier, causing the fish to scatter in all directions. Zhang Fulai's face was cold. Bai Lian sat on the stool, lethargically resting her chin in one hand and tapping on her phone with the other to upload answers, her dark almond eyes half closed as she watched the fish. Stop feeding them, the fish will die of hunger. These were Bai Lian's words. Su Nanjing looked up, not daring to laugh. If it were him, he'd face punishment from young Master Zhang the next day. Xiao Bingwen, however, lowered his head. Zhang Fulai casually put down the fish food, not caring much. You feed them. After seeing him finish, Su Nanjing sat next to Zhang He and spoke to Zhang Fulai. The contract is signed. Aren't you really going to mention it to Academician Ma? Zhang Fulai looked at the 2 boxes of chess pieces on the table. Zhang He had just been playing Gamoka with Bai Lian, and he sat down on the gazebo's long bench, an arm resting on the railing. You first notify uncle and aunt. Rare metals were, after all, a big deal. He, on the other hand, turned on the laptop that was set aside. Okay, Su Nanjing idly raised his hand in acknowledgement. Bai Lian, meanwhile, was looking down at her phone. The answer review was complete, and her ranking jumped successfully from 56 to 19. A WeChat message popped up on the top of her phone. It was from Yen Lu, location. Yen Lu returned to Xueqi today and arranged for Bai Lian to dine with some students from class 15 on behalf of the Zhang family. Now sending Bai Lian the location. Bai Lian lowered her gaze to put away her pen. Zhang Fulai closed the laptop, his brows and eyes slightly raised. Is she here? Yes. Bai Lian nodded. Yen Lu also wanted to invite Zhang Fulai and Qi Yundai, but since the beginning of the year, Qi Lu had been busy and hadn't returned to Xueqi, only giving Bai Lian a message to train Zhang Xiai's well. The two of them took Zhang He to eat out. Leaving Su Nanjing and Xiao Bingwen looking at each other in bewilderment, Su Nanjing rested his chin on his phone. Xiaoming, where did they go? Probably went to eat with Miss Bei's classmates. Ming Dongheng knew about Ning Xiao and those with him. Xiao Bingwen and Su Nanjing did not pay much attention. Bai Lian's classmates must be from Xueqi First High School. The fact that Bai Lian was a prospective student of Zhongjing University was already surprising enough. Xiao Bingwen's phone lit up. He looked down to see a video notification, Yen Lu's new song. Xiao Bingwen was taken aback. He didn't follow the entertainment industry, but seeing Yen Lu's name, he clicked in anyway. A new song tonight? Su Nanjing heard the video blogger's recommendation. Why are you so interested in this singer? She's not a singer, Xiao Bingwen clarified. Because Shuha listens to her songs, so I pay close attention. Su Nanjing was even more surprised. Lang Shuha? She likes a pop singer? Rumor has it, Xiao Bingwen lowered his voice, saying to Su Nanjing. Her teacher appreciates this singer very much. Therefore, everyone around the president of the institute, including Xiao Bingwen, paid close attention to her. Beiqing. At the Bai family home, Bai Qiming put down his coat and glanced upstairs, asking the butler, has the young lady not come down? The butler respectfully replied. She's upstairs discussing Zhongjing University's prep camp examination questions with young Master Song. Prep camp. Nearby, an uncle from the Bai family took the tea handed to him by a servant, puzzled. What's that about? The exam topics for Zhongjing University's prep camp, the butler explained with a submissive gaze. From the overall rankings, you can predict the chances of getting into Zhongjing University. Oh. The mention of Zhongjing University sparked the uncle's interest. He took a sip of tea and then put down the cup. And how is Xueqi ranked now? Although the idea of two siblings from the same family applying to Zhongjing University sounded a bit far-fetched, recently Bai Xueqi had been saying that Bai Xueqi made substantial progress in her studies. Since the incident with the institute president, the family had rarely contacted Bai Xueqi. But the Bai family still held on to a glimmer of hope. Bai Qiming beamed with pridefulness, clearly very pleased with himself. This kid keeps it a secret, I still don't know. As the two of them were talking, Bai Xueqi and Song Min came downstairs one after the other. Just in time, Bai Qiming waved them over, his stern face softening a bit. Xueqi, your uncle from the family is asking about your prep camp ranking. Chapter 446. Who is the background of 175? Very good targeting. Second update. _1. Beijing is colder than Xiangqing. Bai Xueqi wore a plaid coat, while Song Min walked beside her in a knitted sweater, both of them with beautiful features. Standing together they looked like a golden boy and a jade girl. Listening to Bai Qiming's words, Bai Xueqi's expression remained subdued. I was just about to show you. She came downstairs and handed the white phone to Bai Qiming. Sitting opposite Bai Qiming and the great-uncle with Song Min, how did it go? The great-uncle asked Bai Qiming when he took the phone, glancing over, which rank? Bai Qiming opened the app, and saw the ranking. No. 199 Bai Xueqi 31478 rank 199, which should not be low, but Bai Qiming and the great-uncle did not understand the app. They just looked up at the two opposite them. What does rank 199 represent? The great-uncle also fixed his gaze on Bai Xueqi, waiting for an answer. Bai Xueqi just smiled. Song Min took out his own phone, his demeanor cool. It means Xueqi can get into Zhongjing University. Really? Bai Qiming could not help but stand up. He clenched the phone, and although he tried to restrain himself, the smile that spilled out from the corners of his eyes was evident. Bai Xueqi let out a slow breath. For the whole month of February, since returning from Xiangqing, she had hardly slept at all. She had been letting Bai Xueqi tutor her non-stop, and not even when Bai Lian was still with the Bai family did Bai Xueqi work this hard for Bowtie's sake. The greater the pressure she put on herself, the greater her improvement, and although the scores fluctuated, her ranking already spoke volumes. The great-uncle, reversing his attitude from half a month ago, smiled at Bai Xueqi. Xueqi, at the end of the month there's a family dinner, ask your mother if she has time to come. This time, Bai Xueqi merely smiled. By her side, Song Min held his phone, silently observing the scene, his thoughts unknown. Bai Xueqi called out to him, but he did not respond. What are you looking at? The rankings. Song Min stood up, ready to leave with Bai Xueqi. They were off to the Song family to receive online training from Zhongjing teachers. Which rankings? Song Min looked at the setting sun, his voice very light. Bai Jian's. Bai Xueqi had not paid attention to other people's rankings. Liang Wuyu and Su Jiyue were too disheartening. Let alone the overall rankings. Upon hearing this, she scrolled through the monthly rankings on her phone, and it did not take long for her to see, No. 19 Bai Jian 54878. He's probably not a current student, Bai Xueqi said. Even Liang Wuyu doesn't have standard answers. Song Min thought the same after all. What current student would already be writing these answers? However, Song Min spoke up. That name, it's the same as that composer, isn't it? Are you talking about Yen Lu's composition? Bai Xueqi naturally remembered that the two names were the same. It's probably a coincidence, but Yen Lu released a new song today. I want to watch it again. One was a prodigy on the Zhongjing Preparatory Camp app, probably a treasure in the hands of the professors in the labs. How could they possibly mingle in the entertainment industry? Apart from coincidence, Bai Xueqi could think of no other explanation. Behind them the Bai family. With a teacup in hand, the great-uncle watched the two with a smile. Qiming, don't you think these two make a good match? Meanwhile in Xiangqing, in a hot pot restaurant. The male assistant sat on the first floor, looking upstairs. Shout in, Who is Sister Lu meeting with, to be so formal? He was a new assistant and bodyguard found for Yen Lu by Sister Xian. As there were some things Xiaotian, a girl, was not suited to handle. Xiaotian, playing with the menu, said, "A friend of Sister Lu." With Sister Lu's current status, the male assistant marveled. Those friends are lucky. Hey, everyone online is guessing the identity of the arranger and the composer. Do you know anything? Xiaotian handed the menu to the waiter, casting a glance at him. Just friends of Sister Lu, you should know how tough her journey has been. I think Director Wan has been really kind to Sister Lu, the male assistant scratched his head. That's because Sister Lu is talented, Xiaotian replied nonchalantly. Stop asking, or Sister Xen might give you a thrashing. All right then, the male assistant said, his eyes catching the sight of 2 adults and a child, suddenly commenting, Xiaotian, don't you think these 2 have an even stronger aura than Sister Lu? Xiaotian looked up to see a somewhat familiar back. The girl wore an ice blue blouse, its hem embroidered with plum blossoms in the snow, and feeling the gaze upon her, she lazily turned to look their way, her brows slightly lifting. Xiaotian inhaled sharply. It was that miss who had visited the set before. Upstairs. Today, Yen Lu had invited a group of young people. Zhang Mama had not come. Pu Xiaohan, Ning Xiao, Wang Qi, the cultural committee member, along with Bai Lian and Jiang Fulai. There were 11 of them in total. Yen Lu wore knee-high boots, a mid-length coffee-colored coat, her hair cut short and dyed smog blue, casually pinned to one side behind her ear, revealing a snow-white ear. Efficient yet charming, this was the look for her new music video. Chapter 447. Who is the background of 175? Very good targeting, second update. _2. Compared to a few months ago, Yen Lu was now beginning to show a formidable aura. As soon as Wang Qi entered and saw Yen Lu, his face turned red and he didn't dare to speak. At the moment, he only sat together with Pu Xiaohan and the others. When Bai Lian and Jiang Fulai arrived, it was Yen Lu who opened the door for them. She was invited by Qi Yundai to call the 2 of them, Miss Bai, young Master Jiang. Her gaze finally landed on Jiang He. Xiaoniao bro, Pu Xiaohan stood up before Yen Lu could speak and waved at Jiang He. Come sit here. Jiang He walked over reluctantly. As soon as Jiang Fulai entered, the atmosphere in the private room quieted down. He sat next to Jiang He with Bai Lian beside him, and Yen Lu sat next to Bai Lian. It was just enough to fill up the round table. Pu Xiaohan put some meat on his plate with serving chopsticks and suddenly said, In a while when the good people come out, there won't be enough seats. We can do without Birdie bro, Wang Qi suggested. Pu Xiaohan's eyes lit up. That makes sense. Jiang Fulai glanced at Jiang He, feeling quite cheerful. He sat beside Bai Lian, his eyes lowered as he looked at his phone, with a cold air about him, but he did not disturb the others, and the classmates gradually became bolder. Bai Lian was talking with Yen Lu. Great Yong has finished filming and is now doing post-production dubbing. Yen Lu had some regrets. My line delivery is too weak. Bai Lian lowered her head and sipped a cup of clear tea, her voice dispersing. Director Wan said you performed well. Listening to Bai Lian's words, Yen Lu couldn't help but tip her head to the side, observing Bai Lian intently, recalling what Director Wan had said to her. You know about your friend, right? She has a very special temperament. When you hit a bottleneck and don't know how to act, think about your friend. If she wasn't just a student not from the entertainment circle, I think she is like Miss Bai from the original story come to life. If she were willing to act, what chance would you have? At that time, Yen Lu didn't yet know about Miss Bai's life experiences and hadn't researched the character biography. Now that she had read through the entire script and written a character bio, observing Bai Lian made her feel that Director Wan's words weren't without reason. What is it? Bai Lian noticed her gaze and set down her teacup. Yen Lu snapped back to reality. A new song will be released at 8 this evening, and after that, Sister Xian is preparing to get me on 2 variety shows. She discussed her following arrangements with Bai Lian. The variety shows were for promoting Great Yong, and as for new dramas, Sister Xian wanted to wait until Great Yong was aired. By then, Yen Lu would have fame, and the dramas would have better quality. Bai Lian picked up her chopsticks and leisurely picked up a piece of cooked corn, listening slowly to Yen Lu. That's good, so the next song can wait. With those words, Yen Lu suddenly remembered, she was still a high school student. Miss Bai, you should focus on your college entrance exams first. Many were looking into who might be supporting Yen Lu from behind. But who could know that behind Bai Jian, there still lay a diligent high school senior studying for exams. 8 o'clock in the evening. As soon as Yen Lu's new song Rewriting the Past was released, it shot up to the top of the new song charts on various music apps and landed on Weibo's hot search. Unlike the previous two songs, the top hot comment below said, "After listening, I feel like I can get into Jiangjing University." Thanks to the hype of the previous two songs, this one became particularly popular among student groups, especially those who were studying for exams or about to enter the examination hall. As modern technology becomes more and more advanced, individuals face it as if they are facing the endless universe. There are too many people who find it hard to bear the feeling of helplessness. This song is like a wild festival, igniting the blood deep in people's bones. This song had a huge impact. Even more fervent than the last, Gambling with Liquor. Beijing. Enqi Studio. His cigarette glowed intermittently in his hand as he looked at the overwhelming news, his expression darkening. An actor like Yen Lu, being able to press a singer like him to this extent, if someone had told Enqi half a year ago that Yen Lu would threaten him, he wouldn't have believed a single word. Next to him, Manshi sat down. Put out the cigarette. Enqi's manager cursed as he finished a phone call. He looked down at Enqi. "Enqi, hold off on releasing your song. Her momentum is too strong. If you release it now, it will be suppressed by her new song." It went without saying who she referred to. Manshi naturally knew about the heat on Weibo. She hadn't surfaced much in recent months, and internet memories were short. The incident of her accidental like finally came to an end. The price was that she hadn't gotten many high-profile endorsements in these months. She pressed against her brow, opened her phone, and frowned while looking at Yen Lu's Weibo. Yen Lu was nearing 10 million followers, not a lot, but Manshi saw that the top 3 hot searches on Weibo were all about Yen Lu. Her lips pressed tightly, realizing that rising to fame is really simple. She clicked on a hot search, scrolling through the comments. The phone of Enqi's manager rang again, and after he answered, his face darkened completely. "Come Here Friend has decided to invite Yen Lu." Come Here Friend is a variety show that invites friends over to chat and cook a meal together, and it was currently very popular online. The manager had had drinks with someone from the variety show twice. It was unexpected that they would invite Yen Lu. Everyone knew that Yen Lu's Great Yong was in editing and would likely air during the summer break, and this top 3's production would 99% be a hit. The entertainment circle serves dishes according to the playback of productions, and this time it was Enqi's turn. Enqi stubbed out his cigarette and stood up. Man's eye's finger stopped on a comment as she was scrolling and suddenly paused. Am I the only one who thinks that a melody portion of this song's arrangement sounds very similar to the musical performance at the Music Academy 1 year ago? Enqi, look at this. Manshi handed her phone to Enqi. Enqi glanced down. There were no clear boundaries for plagiarism in music arrangements in the industry. After all, commonly used chord progressions like 4-5-3, 6-2-5-1 were still being used by people. As long as the internet trolls got moving, it would be fine. Enqi, holding the phone, asked the manager, "Have you figured out who's backing her?" The music industry's pie is only so large. Yen Lu, a non-original singer, had touched the interests of many singers, like Bai Jian and Jian, newcomers previously unknown in the industry, easy targets. Chapter 448. Behind the Scenes Mastermind, the teacher found for Alien_1. Logically speaking, there are no secrets in the circle. The word and music composer and arranger behind Yen Lu really just came out of nowhere. Looking back, there's no similar style to be found. Nowadays, with hip-hop and rap prevailing, there are only so many people in the traditional music circle. The agent suspected it was a couple of top-tier artists who created alternate accounts to pave the way for Yen Lu. But no matter how long they investigated, they couldn't match these two with any known lyricist or music arranger in the circle. It's as if these two really did come into existence just for Yen Lu. Other than hanging their names on Yen Lu's new releases, almost nothing is known about them in the circle. Not their gender, not their age, nothing. The production quality of each of Yen Lu's songs is top-notch, as well, the flute, pipa, and guzheng sounds. Taken individually, each would be worth listening to on repeat. It's simple why Yen Lu's third song immediately blew up. From the lyrics to the music, to the arrangement, to the singer, everyone involved seems like an expert. But oddly, no leads could be found. They didn't even know where Yen Lu recorded the songs. To say Yen Lu doesn't have a powerful backer seems baffling, yet to say Yen Lu does, well, She hasn't even landed any global endorsements yet, save for a single new product, solid foundation paste. Neither in Qi nor Man she was interested in it. First, her ambiguous history with CEO Lu was all over the place, and there was no talk in the circle of her being particularly close to anyone. The agent shook his head. Yen Lu's background was easy to check. These past few months in Qi didn't dare to act rashly, but Yen Lu hasn't made any significant moves besides releasing songs. This time, not willing to be overshadowed by Yen Lu's new song, and Qi decided he wouldn't remain passive any longer. He lowered his head. I understand. And Qi knew people at the Jiangjing Music Academy. Do you have a summary of your school's performance competitions over the years? Xiangcheng. In the private room, Pu Xiaohan and others were also watching Yen Lu's new song. Wang Qi, sitting beside Pu Xiaohan, excitedly shared the link in the class group and put on his headphones. Come to your senses, Pu Xiaohan said to Wang Qi with a smirk. Weren't you a fan of Manxi before? You almost got into a fight with Zhang Erbi. How come you're a fan of Sister Lu now? Wang Qi had a deep memory of that slip of the hand incident. He quickly gestured to Pu Xiaohan, relieved only after making sure Yen Lu hadn't noticed them, and said somewhat embarrassedly, Youthful ignorance, you know. From their few encounters, he felt Yen Lu was a decent person and quite charming. Understandable. Let's eat. Pu Xiaohan picked up some food for him with her chopsticks. Delicious, isn't it? While eating, Wang Qi scrolled through the comments under the song. After listening, fans started analyzing the lyrics of the song. Top tier as usual. He immediately noticed the second hottest comment. The name, The Never Setting Sun, is indeed nice. When will we take it back? Smirking, he laughed and then liked the comment. After everyone finished eating, Yen Lu offered to take the people from class 15 to karaoke. She knew that during her filming period, these kids often helped out at the Zhang family. Pu Xiaohan was the first to refuse. Sister Lu, let's wait until after our college entrance exam. Recently, everyone's been tortured by Alien and the study god's notes to the point of sleeplessness. The learning atmosphere in class 15 has been good lately, probably moved by Lian and Ning Xiao's study schedules. There was also Lu Lingxi's heartfelt advice during the class meeting. High school and college indeed provide the best opportunities to break out of your original social class. It's hard to enlighten these students, but Bai Lian makes a good poster child. That's true, Wang Qi sullenly crushed his can of cola. I'm also trying hard to study. Alien, when you guys ascend later, can you take me with you? Bai Lian raised an eyebrow, giving him a look. Wang Qi was genuinely a bit sorrowful. I'm seriously afraid that after the exams, you'll either go to college in Beijing or Jiangjing, leaving me here chanting Makabaka. Listening to their conversation, Yen Lu realized that the group around the table were candidates preparing for exams. After finishing their meal, Bai Lian and Yen Lu lagged behind. The other students were discussing problems up front. Jiang Fulai was following close to Bai Lian, listening to Wang Qi and Pu Xiaohan discuss a math problem for a while. For about a minute, he couldn't help but glance at Wang Qi and Pu Xiaohan. Touching the back of his head and sensing a chill, Wang Qi said, So if you substitute the trigonometric function, why is this problem so perverse? 2/3 times the square root of 3. Before he could finish, Jiang He, who was being led by the hand by Pu Xiaohan, looked up slowly and said, 2/5 times the square root of 3. Huh! Wang Qi and Pu Xiaohan stopped their discussion. Chapter 449. Behind the scenes mastermind, the teacher found for Alien_2. The two of them exchanged glances, then bowed their heads to pull out their mobile phones and check the answer. 2/5 times the square root of 3. Wang Qi, Xiaohan. What goes around comes around. The pair lifted their heads, pretending nothing had happened, not daring to discuss the problem in Jiang He's presence. I heard he's going to take the bar exam? Yen Lu came back today and visited Zhang Xi's with Mother Zhang, wearing a black mask and asking in a low voice, Can he become a lawyer? After all, it was a criminal offense. Bai Lian didn't understand these things either. Jiang Fulai lowered his brow slightly. The temperature in the private room was cold, and he was holding a jacket in his hand, uttering only one sentence, Don't challenge Qi Lu's professionalism. Yen Lu was worried and anxious, which of course, Qi Yundai had already considered. She escorted Bai Lian to the door where Xiaotian and the male assistant waited outside for Yen Lu. This is Xiaotian, you've met him. Yen Lu didn't dare to speak much to Jiang Fulai but introduced the two new assistants to Bai Lian, This one is a Huang, a new assistant. Sometimes, when there are too many trolls, it's a Huang who handles them. Even the most famous celebrities have trolls, let alone Yen Lu. A Huang was very curious about Bai Lian but did not dare to ask more. After Bai Lian and Jiang Fulai left, a Huang asked Xiaotian in a low voice. They're actually friends with Sister Lu? Who is this Miss Bai? How come Sister Xin hasn't signed her? With that aura and appearance, wouldn't she become a star if she entered the entertainment industry? Miss Bai is not interested in the entertainment industry, Xiaotian replied. Otherwise, she would have been snapped up long ago, wouldn't she? Yen Lu looked at the two of them. You can also take a couple of days off. It wasn't late after dinner. Jiang Fulai drove Bai Lian home, whereas Xiao Han was going to Ji Hang's place to shoot new material, so she went with Bai Lian. Tomorrow would be March, and Ji Hang had already finalized the designs for the males and females and began cutting and making clothes. Nearly 40 pieces of clothing needed to be rushed out by May, which was a bit of a tight schedule for 2 months. When the 4 people arrived at Ji Hang's courtyard, there were 3 people in the courtyard of Ji Hang. Seeing Xiao Han, Ji Hang introduced these ladies. These are embroideresses from around here, because there are too many clothes, and I was afraid we wouldn't make it in time for your graduation photos, so I asked them for help. Handcrafted clothes have a long production time. This is great, Xiao Han said excitedly to the 3 new embroideresses. Can you appear in the shot? Aunt Shen, having been briefed by Ji Hang, nodded to Xiao Han with some reservation. We can. Xiao Han immediately took out her camera from her bag and began filming details under the courtyard's lights. She planned to edit a video from the start of Ji Hang making the clothes until the whole class was dressed and had their graduation photos taken, which would be very meaningful as a keepsake. For this time's labor costs, Xiao Han contributed most of the funds and only a small portion came from the class fund. It's probably because Class 15's class fund was never depleted. Although Class 15 didn't have as substantial a background as Class 8, Xiao Han's video views were quite impressive, making her a little rich girl in Class 15. Ji Hang moved the embroidery frames to the side, and Jiang Fulai placed his coat on the stone table, helping to set things up. Ji Hang put down his smoking pipe, glanced at Jiang Fulai, and didn't say anything else. Xiao Han finished filming a segment and stopped next to Bai Lian. Lian's sister, Bird Brother is 8 years old, right? Right. Bai Lian glanced down at Zhang He, who was sitting on the stone bench nibbling on an apple, and hooked her lips slightly. Why? Never mind, Xiao Han muttered and walked away with heavy steps. After everyone left, Bai Lian leaned over slightly and flicked Zhang He's forehead with her hand. What have you done? That evening when they parted ways, she had noticed Class 15 looked as though they had taken a hit. The little bird brother refused to answer. Rewriting the Past topped the new song chart overnight. Besides the composition and arrangement, the lyrics of the song also trended on the hot search. The sun never sets. Xiao Bingwen looked at the last line of the lyrics and found it interesting as well. Next to him, Director Chen, who was speaking respectfully to Su Nanjing, heard the words and laughed, not quite understanding music, but this phrase he caught on to. Haha, stealing the idea, I love it, I'll go have a listen. Director Chen didn't usually listen to songs. He just tuned into the radio when driving. He didn't pay attention to Yen Lu's new song. Now, however, he started searching for this new song on his phone. Beside him, Xiao Bingwen watched Director Chen, thinking that such an idea was really like something a Chen family member would have, a bandit-like idea, but the lyricist probably didn't mean it that way, right? Zhang Jing. Su family. The evening still featured a family dinner. Ever since the Guahuai incident, all the people Su Jueming had planted next to Su Nanjing had been removed, which Su Jueming had anticipated. He would not have resorted to this if Su Nanjing hadn't made such a big move this time. With no one left inside, it became difficult for him to keep tabs on Su Nanjing. Although no one said anything out loud, Su Jueming knew that the Zhang family must have had a hand in the purge of Su Nanjing's inner circle. He really has some good luck. Su Jueming gritted his teeth inwardly. Had paid a heavy price and still hadn't gotten close to Zhang Shijue. At the dinner table, some were praising Su Juming's son, Su Jin, who had just discussed cooperation with the official research and development department. The elder Mr. Su glanced at Su Jin and nodded in approval, offering a few words of praise. Not bad. His appetite was poor, and he didn't eat much, only looking up to ask Su Jueling, how is Nanjing doing lately? Gao Yen sat next to Su Jueling, her eyes downcast and silent. Su Jueling was modest. "Big brother, don't be modest," Su Jueming said to Su Jueling with a smile. "You must be negotiating a big deal but keeping it from Dad. Is it supposed to be a surprise for him?" There indeed was a surprise. Su Jueming bowed his head, hiding the cold sneer at the corner of his mouth. He had really set Su Nanjing up for a fall in the Su family from early on. Not to mention the elder Mr. Su, even other members of the Su family all knew that Su Nanjing was up to something big. Having been away from home for more than half a month, Su Nanjing had also been somewhat neglectful of the Su family affairs. Plus, with Su Jin recently chalking up one accomplishment after another, it inevitably led the elder Mr. Su to some contemplation when comparing them. "No big deal," Su Jueling said with a smile, turning to his father. "This matter was supposed to wait for Nanjing to come back and tell you himself, but since you asked, I'll tell you now. Nanjing has negotiated a rare metal supply partnership with a foreign company. They will ensure a supply for the coming year, and the contract was just signed the day before yesterday." The moment these words were out, the laughter and chatter around the dinner table instantly vanished. A look of surprise and joy spread across elder Mr. Zu's face. He sealed the deal? Good, good. Truly worthy of being a member of the Su family. He was so pleased that he asked someone to fetch his prized daughter red wine to uncork. "Are you sure it's the Dawson family?" Su Juming's fingers, hanging by his side, clenched slightly, his smile freezing for a brief moment before instantly returning to normal. "Younger brother, would you like to see the contract?" Su Jueling asked with a smile. "We're going to deliver next month. You'll know then when you see it." "All right." Su Jueming struggled to form a smile at the corner of his mouth. Aside from saying all right, he had no other words to offer. The Dawson family, the largest supplier in the world, almost monopolized the entire market. If Su Nanjing had indeed secured a deal with them, his standing in the Su family would only skyrocket. He had taken a great risk by having Guo Huai come back. Why was Su Nanjing still able to close such a deal, especially so quickly? Su Jueming found it utterly incomprehensible. "We really owe it to that girl. What are you planning to do?" After dinner, Su Jueling walked slowly back with Gao Yan, but try to ride the motorbike less. It's not safe. Su Nanjing was home, and Su Jueling was strict with him too. "What can I do?" sighed Gao Yan, hugging her military coat closer. "I wanted to make her my goddaughter but she didn't want to." Su Jueling turned his head, a look of surprise in his handsome eyes. "The one you mentioned last time is her?" "Yeah," Gao Yan pondered and then pulled out her phone from her large pocket, calling Su Nanjing. Su Nanjing answered quickly. Gao Yan gave Su Jueling a signal to be quiet before asking, "Didn't you ask me to find a teacher last time?" "I asked Principal Liang for recommendations and confirmed with several of them, or else." She rolled her eyes, as if mentioning it casually. "Shall I send them to Xiangqing?" Chapter 450. 177. The True Arrangement, Dean Jian. Anger, second update, _1. Gao Yan had known about Bai Lian for a long time. Su Nanjing had only roughly shown her some pictures and when she asked him some questions, he fell silent. Gao Yan had always wanted to take the opportunity to see for herself, but she didn't know when she would come to Jiangjing. After she spoke, there was silence on Su Nanjing's end. Gao Yan raised an eyebrow, her tone leisurely. "Do you think the person recommended by President Liang is no good? But this is the best teacher your mother could hire, and she agreed to help me only because of CC. Gao Si, Jiang Fulai's biological mother." "It's not that thanks Mom." On the other end of the phone, Su Nanjing looked up lightly. "But it seems we might not need it now. Bai Lian's academic performance was such that an ordinary tutor wouldn't suffice." "Not needed." Gao Yan did not understand. She walked along the corridor, and the lanterns above her were not very bright. Su Nanjing said helplessly, "Bai Lian's grades might be better than mine." Of course, Su Nanjing was too embarrassed to omit the might. Gao Yan. "So, I can't go to Xiangqing?" Gao Yan drew this conclusion, feeling somewhat unwilling. "Then when can I meet her?" "After the college entrance examination." Bai Lian was bound to score well enough to get into Jiangjing University, no doubt about that. Sunday afternoon. And Qi finally found the clip mentioned by netizens among the many recordings. He edited it out and analyzed each phrase. Indeed, one phrase's arrangement sounded very familiar. Just one phrase, And Qi's manager looked at the harmony comparison generated by the studio staff with a frown. Is that persuasive enough? The studio staff coolly laid the evidence in front of him. It depends on how we operate this. So what do you say, should we go for it? And Qi's manager did not think for long. Most of the company's resources were currently invested in Yen Lu. Major music platforms were promoting Yen Lu's new song. And Qi's resources had decreased significantly, and even Come Here Friend was inviting Yen Lu, threatening in Qi's top brother status. Resource allocation was finite. Contact all major entertainment bloggers and get everything ready to launch, and Qi's manager made the final call. Remember, after all accounts have posted, to immediately get the top comments pushed to prominence. That way, the first thing the public would see would be the top comments, swaying even those with doubts. They had done this kind of manipulation before. Monday. Yen Lu's song had just been released Saturday evening, and Xueqi #1 high school's radio station began playing Rewriting the Past right after classes on Monday morning. This song was more popular than anyone could have imagined, from its lyrics to its melody. Bai Lian was eating with a group from class 15 in the big cafeteria. Tang Ming, carrying his tray from a distance from his own class, sat down next to Wang Qi and finally exhaled a sigh of relief. People in our class are asking me for your and the study god's avatars. Bai Lian slowly ate her meal, head down. For what? Wang Qi was surprised. For worship, Tang Ming said with resigned emotion. I've already been stuck on their bedside. Wang Qi pondered. Is that even a thing? Today, there was a group meeting, and Jiang Fulai was usually tied up with laboratory work. After finishing her meal, Bai Lian picked up her phone and started reviewing questions, only to see a meme sent by He1. Pig's life is hopeless. JPG. It was clear she had been scolded. Bai Lian replied with a meme of her own and reopened the Prep Camp app to check the new question. 1 o'clock in the afternoon. On Weibo and various short video platforms, major marketing accounts started posting the same video. The video content was simple, isolating a section of Yen Lu's music and comparing it with a snippet from 2 years ago, noting a similar style and chords. Army of online commentators were quick to jump in. So similar, are you saying we're blind and can't see it? I've been wanting to ask, why is Yen Lu's song so popular? She's not even an original artist. Now we see the scandal, eating melon. How many haven't listened to Yen Lu's song? I must be the first on the internet, right? Check the lyricist and composer, there must be more juice to it. Yen Lu had stepped on quite a few toes, so as soon as the marketing accounts published it, many in the industry secretly added heat to the topic. There's a saying, when the wall falls, everyone pushes. But by the afternoon, scandal in rewriting the past arrangement became a trending phrase across various platforms. Following that, netizens also dug up Yen Lu's previous, dark history. Her new song was already very hot, and now with these revelations, it dominated the public discourse for a time. Class 15 spent the afternoon attentively in lessons. After school in the afternoon, the school's broadcasting station was still playing Yen Lu's song. Chapter 451, 177. The True Arrangement, Dean Jian. Anger, Second Update, _2. Lotus Road. Xiaohan and the others made their grand exit. Yang Lin heading to the milk tea shop while Bai Lian followed Ning Xiao and the rest to the Zhang family's backyard, where a truck was already parked at the entrance. A group of students finished moving the flower pots in just a few minutes. Mother Zhang brought out 2 plates of watermelon and set them on a small table in the yard, organizing everyone to have some fruit. Let's have dinner here today. In 2 days, Xiaolu will be going to record a program and won't be able to join us. She tied an apron around herself. Sure, Bai Lian took a slice of watermelon and took out her phone to message Ji Hang. I'll just let my grandpa know. As Bai Lian was looking down to text, someone knocked on the yard door. Yen Lu tucked her hair behind her ears to answer it. As soon as Ah Huang saw Yen Lu, he spoke anxiously. Sister Lu, were you not on your phone? Sister Xian said she couldn't reach you and sent me to check. I went to visit a grave this afternoon and didn't bring my phone. Yen Lu was on vacation, and Sister Xian had mentioned there were no activities planned for her lately. As she went to fetch her phone, she asked, what did Sister Xian want from you guys? Xiao Tian was about to speak but then noticed students from Xueqi #1 middle school sitting in a row in the backyard, each holding a slice of watermelon, eating, and curiously watching them. Bai Lian, however, was not sitting. She stood under the shade of a tree, her blue and white school jacket casually open. One hand held a slice of watermelon, the other a phone, and she was looking down to text. As they talked, Bai Lian had just finished sending her message and looked up at Xiaotian and Huang, her pale face slightly lifted, an air of languor about her. The setting sun tinted her wispy hair with a hint of gold. Despite the urgency of the moment, the sight of Bai Lian calmed Xiaoshen's nerves. You two take a break. Bai Lian put her phone back in her pocket and then bit into her watermelon without looking up. Next to her, Mother Zhang handed watermelon slices to Xiaotian and Huang as well. Huang, holding his slice, had no appetite whatsoever. Inside the house, as soon as Yen Lu picked up her phone, she saw numerous missed calls from Sister Xin, Time Entertainment CEO, and others. She was about to return Sister Zin's call when the CEO of Time Entertainment called. Yen Lu, the CEO of Time Entertainment, exchanged pleasantries. You must be aware of the situation online. It's quite significant this time, and the PR department wants you to make a Weibo post right away. Deny any connection with the arranger, so this incident seems unrelated to you, minimizing the issue. But Wang Xian disagrees. Please persuade her to deny any connection. Yen Lu replied politely, I can't do that. The CEO of Time Entertainment had expected Yen Lu to be more clear-headed than Wang Xian, but she was more resolute than Wang Xian, frowning. With a lyricist and composer on hand, there's no need to worry about an arranger. Don't be stubborn about this. I'll have a look first. Yen Lu didn't want to explain too much and gave a brief answer before hanging up to call Sister Xian. Sister Xian quickly explained the whole situation. There was only one chord progression that was marginally similar, completely unrelated to the main melody, and definitely not plagiarism. But netizens wouldn't be convinced by such a dry explanation. Don't know who started it, but they're blowing this out of proportion, Sister Xian said, her hand on her forehead. By the time I found out, it was already trending #1 online. It's tough to set boundaries on this kind of thing. The company wants to sever ties with the arranger, but I suggest you don't go along with it. This is happening because of you. Yen Lu knew her own rise to fame very well. Bai Lian was the biggest benefactor on her path, and Dean Jian was found by Bai Lian. I know. Let's get someone to take it off the trending topics first, and if there's any issue, direct them to me, Yen Lu said, managing her own Weibo. As soon as she opened the app, she was flooded with direct messages. The song had received good feedback the other day, and combined with today's expose, a whole crowd of rubberneckers had poured into her Weibo. Seeing Yen Lu come out, Huang stepped forward. Sister Lu. Yen Lu raised her hand. Let's talk outside. She took Huang and Xiaotian outside, and as the three of them reached another yard, Xiaotian asked anxiously, Sister Lu, are you going to clarify this? Those who want to accuse me will find an excuse. Yen Lu had experienced a mass backlash before and wasn't overly concerned. What she cared about was that Bai Lian and Jian Zhongyo might be implicated because of this. And the song rewriting the past. Wang's phone beeped, and he glanced down. It's Lu Yang's assistant. Sister Lu, they definitely want to talk about the come here friend guest issue. What should we do now? Yen Lu would be recording Come Here Friend in 2 days, followed by going for acting lessons. Lu Yang was the friend arranged by the show's team for Yen Lu, a currently popular star, whose participation was quietly confirmed the day before yesterday. You answer it, Yen Lu said calmly. Xiao Huang, on the other end of the phone, Lu Yang's assistant, was very polite. Lu Gu has caught a bit of a cold recently and might not be able to record Lu's show. Yen Lu gave Huang a look. Suppressing her irritation, Huang smiled and said, Lu Gu, take care of yourself. Let's cooperate another time. After hanging up the phone, Xiaotian couldn't help but say, Not feeling well, my foot. I'll be recording other shows in no time. What should we do now? Huang asked. In the yard, Mom Zhang was calling out to Yen Lu. Xiao Lu, tell the 2 assistants to stay for dinner as well. Sure, Yen Lu replied loudly, her face snowy white against the bluish foggy smoke, her gaze sweeping over the 2. Don't let Auntie and the others find out about this. Ha! Huang was somewhat puzzled. Was Auntie and the rest important at a time like this? Yen Lu led the 2 assistants inside to help Mom Zhang with cooking. In the yard, Bai Lian had just finished a piece of watermelon. She stood still, stretched out her hand, and casually threw the watermelon rind, which landed in the trash can at the entrance of the yard with a clang. She leisurely pulled out a piece of tissue and meticulously wiped her fingers. Sitting on the steps, Pu Xiaohan took out her phone, walked over to Bai Lian, and said, "This is probably it." Pu Xiaohan handed her phone to Bai Lian. The people from class 15 weren't fools. Xiaoshen's behavior was a clear indication that there was a problem. Coincidentally, this matter was also a public incident. Bai Lian didn't care for the internet, so Pu Xiaohan casually checked her phone. Bai Lian crumpled the tissue into a ball and took Pu Xiaohan's phone to read a Weibo post. At Time Entertainment, all these resources just to promote Yen Lu? Is Yen Lu your godfather? It's hilarious. Outside of those 2 songs, what else does Yen Lu have to show for herself? Now with the new song's arrangement causing controversy, is this the superstar you neglect other artists for? Hilarious. And the comments below. Let's predict Yen Lu Studios' PR response. Yen Lu only has a working relationship with Jen. Please don't escalate the actions of Jen to the artist herself. Yen Lu also strongly condemns such behavior and has already terminated her collaboration with Jen. Doghead. This comment was effectively sealing off all of Yen Lu's potential escape routes. Pu Xiaohan, being half involved in the entertainment circle, picked up a piece of watermelon and crouched down to eat it, saying, "With so many of Luja's rivals mobilizing their big marketing accounts and blocking all her paths, do you know this Jen?" You know him too." Bai Lian glanced over and then took out her phone from her pocket, took a picture of Pu Xiaohan's phone screen. She was nonchalant. "I know him." Pu Xiaohan quickly ran through who she knew, thinking there was only one possible person she was aware of, and then it hit her, holy crap. Jian Zhongyo? After taking the photo, Bai Lian casually opened WeChat and sent it to Jian Zhongyo. Bai Lian. Picture. Bai Lian. 1 minute later. Jian Zhongyo. Jian Zhongyo. Exclamation point. Jian Zhongyo. Angry. Chapter 452. 178 Brother Jiang intervenes _1. Young people's world is something Jian Zhongyo doesn't quite understand. He couldn't name a single hot star if asked. It was the start of the school semester, and he had even sneaked out for a trip during the holiday, with many tasks awaiting him. Today was Monday, and he had just finished a meeting when he received a message from Bai Lian. As soon as he opened the picture, he saw the bold black letters. Rewriting the past, arrangement controversy explodes. He squinted his eyes and sent Bai Lian several symbols. The older generation could handle videos, but many Weibo functions remained a mystery to him, so he scrolled through somewhat slowly. At that moment, Bai Lian sent another message. Controversy. He hadn't found out what the controversy was yet, but he replied quickly. I'll take a look. Dean Jian was too lazy to keep scrolling and directly asked a teacher he knew beside him to operate it for him. Miss Yen Lu. The teacher took Dean Jian's phone. He had recorded with Yen Lu twice and naturally recognized her. Don't worry, I'll check it for you. It took the teacher just a few minutes on Weibo to understand the whole story. The barriers within the arrangement community aren't that high. Actually, before this, most people wouldn't go specifically digging into the arranger of a song. Now that it's been dug up by paid posters, it could only mean that this was the only flaw they could find in the song. On the other side of the phone, Bai Lian, having seen the reply, knew it had nothing to do with Dean Jian. She was waiting for Dean Jian to reply to her. Yen Lu was still busy in the kitchen with Zhang's mother. Xiaotian and Huang, the 2 assistants, had originally come to bring Yen Lu back to deal with the situation, but before they could get to it, Yen Lu caught them and put them to work washing and sorting vegetables. Xiaotian, the kitchen space was small, and Huang, who was squatting in the hall removing shrimp veins, felt a bit clueless. What exactly am I here for? Why am I squatting here? He turned his head to look at Yen Lu, who was helping in the kitchen. It was a big issue that concerned Yen Lu's reputation, but she didn't seem to be in a hurry at all. Instead, she was taking her sweet time in the kitchen. Xiaotian, while picking shrimp veins, felt a weird calm settle over him. Let's just keep sorting for now. Outside, after Bai Lian and the others had finished eating watermelon and went to throw out the trash, Bai Lian and Ning Xiao entered the house. Why haven't you started doing the problem sets yet? Ning Xiao brought in a flower pot, his voice calm. Bai Lian grabbed a pair of scissors, the ones on the app? At the beginning of the month, the app had released new problems, and Ning Xiao had already started solving them. Bai Lian hadn't started, and many people were stumped by a particularly current problem on the app. Yes, I was just looking at the Langland Seagull Zero. Bai Lian stood by the window, started trimming the branches. I'll look at it in a couple of days. Right now, I have to sort out some materials for Hewen. Hewen was like a senior brother who had his younger sister do all the grunt work. As soon as new literature was published that he hadn't had time to read, he passed it on to Bai Lian, asking her to read it and summarize the core points and overviews for him. Bai Lian hadn't even started college yet, but she was already getting a taste of postgraduate treatment. But the literature Hewen sent was all in fields she was interested in. Ning Xiao, who already knew who Hewen was. As the two talked, Xiaotian and Huang squatting nearby were completely lost. What hap, Hewen? And what was that about Langlands and Seagull again? All this was beyond them. The two were utterly confused. Eventually, they got back to talking about Grandma and Uncle Wang. How the boy's grandma was sick, and the uncle was taking care of her at home. That was what normal students talked about. Today the house was crowded, but with the help of Yen Lu and the two assistants, Zhang's mother quickly prepared the meal. She moved 2 tables together, and a bunch of people gathered around to eat. Alien, when is Qi Lu coming back? At the dinner table, Zhang's mother recalled that the last time they had a meal, Zhang's father was there, and so was lawyer Qi Lu. When Zhang's mother mentioned Qi Lu, Yen Lu also looked at Bai Lian. Qi Lu was the life-saving benefactor of Zhang Xiai's. Bai Lian, holding chopsticks and picking up a stalk of bok choy, said upon hearing this, next month. Last year, Qi Yundai was in exile, but this year he was returning to his position. Ming Dongheng said he didn't have much vacation time, but he would still take the time to come back and test Zhang Xiai's. Around the dinner table, they chatted about this and that, but no one brought up Yen Lu's issue. The dinner lasted until after 7 in the evening. As Ah Huang finished eating and started to help clean up the table, he looked down to ask Xiaotian, why does Sister Lu have so many student friends? Also, who is Qi Lu? I don't know, Xiaotian responded as he placed the dishes into the kitchen. Xiaotian and Ah Huang hadn't been involved with Zhang Shi's case and didn't even know that Qi Lu was a lawyer. They only thought it was some 2-character name. These students are so lucky to be friends with Sister Lu, Ah Huang sighed. Then his concern returned to the pressing matter at hand. Time Entertainment knew that Ah Huang and Xiaotian were with Yen Lu. The Public Relations Department couldn't reach Wang Xin for a decision, so they called Ah Huang. After taking the call, Ah Huang finally found an opportunity to speak with Yen Lu. Sister Lu, the Public Relations Department communicated with me. You just need to post a clarifying Weibo. A Weibo post clarifying that she had nothing to do with the arrangement. Yen Lu shook her head, offering no explanation. If this matter isn't clarified, with such a fuss, Yen Lu might lose a lot of resources. Ah Huang couldn't understand it at all and said, Xiaotian, what do you think Sister Lu's team is thinking? Who exactly made the arrangement? Xiaotian shook her head. Yen Lu recorded the songs herself, so she didn't know who wrote the lyrics and music. Within the entire Time Entertainment, probably only Sister Xin and Yen Lu knew about it. At 8 o'clock, a group of students bade farewell to Mother Zhang. Jiang Fulai's car had just stopped on the opposite side, waiting for her. As Bai Lian walked toward the car, her phone vibrated a few times. Principal Jian had finally figured out the ins and outs of the situation. He didn't send a message. He called Bai Lian directly. Pressing the answer button, Bai Lian walked towards the light across the street. Principal Jian. I found out, Jian Zhongyo didn't beat around the bush. He was still sitting at his desk, reaching out to click on a long recording. There is a video on the internet from a previous internal performance of our school, and I conducted that performance. I checked the records of that performance at the school. Principal Jian didn't have a vivid memory of that performance, and it was only after seeing the video online that he realized he had such an arrangement to his credit. It was indeed Jian Zongyi's own stylistic hallmark. There was nothing much to say. Jian Zhongyo could only sigh. The netizens, or rather, Yen Lu's aggressive moves, were too powerful. With so many years of performances at Jiangjing Music Academy, each nearly 3 hours long, they could still find these arrangements amidst them all. What do you plan to do? Bai Lian reached out to pluck a leaf from the side, toying with it in her hand, her voice calm and unhurried. Jiang Fulai saw her walking so slowly, so he got out of the car to wait for her. Bai Lian was not yet done talking with Principal Jian. We need to handle this. Principal Jian also calmed down, having lived long enough to know that with such intensity behind it, there must be someone stoking the flames. Otherwise, even if it's clarified, a lot of people won't be notified. Everything needs attention. Spreading rumors takes just a mouth. Debunking them runs you ragged. After hanging up the phone, Jiang Fulai opened the car door and asked a few questions, to which Bai Lian recounted the whole situation with Yen Lu. Your new song. Jiang Fulai knew she wrote lyrics and composed music, and his eyes turned colder too. Yeah. Bai Lian was not too concerned. She got into the car and began to check the academic paper Hewen had sent her on her phone. Jiang Fulai, seated beside her, raised his hand to signal Ming Donghing to drive, his eyes narrowing slightly. Don't let Principal Jen act rashly on this matter. Give me Yen Lu's agent's contact information. Rewriting the past had already been labeled impure, and clarifying it completely wasn't something Principal Jen, an outsider to the circle, could accomplish. Bai Lian opened Sister Xin's WeChat and sent it to Jiang Fulai. Jiang Fulai reached out to open it and added her as a friend. Why are you looking at this? Jiang Fulai waited for Wang Xian to accept, his gaze glancing over at the new academic paper Bai Lian was viewing. It looked familiar. Hewen gave it to me. Upon hearing this, Jiang Fulai knew what Hewen was up to. The light was turned on in the back of the car, and he sat under it, dressed in a black shirt and black trousers, his refined facial features especially cold, and he just tugged at his lips at the comment. Hewen, who was at a research base dressed in a sterile suit, suddenly sneezed. A male student in the laboratory glanced at him. Hewen, do you have a cold? Don't pass it on to the junior sister. He picked up a mask and had Hewen put it on. Hewen. Beijing. Time Entertainment's public relations department had not yet gotten off work. Everyone was busy dealing with Yen Lu's situation. In the office, the CEO earnestly said to Sister Xian, "You've been in the entertainment industry for so long, you still don't know what it takes to maximize profits? If there's an author for the lyrics and composition, it's easy to find another arranger, just push the blame on him, give him some compensation to shut him up. Is this arranger Yen Lu's father? Won't you make any concessions at all?" Hearing this, Sister Xian sitting opposite only raised her eyebrows. Principal Jian might not be Yen Lu's father, but Bai Lian could be considered as such. With Principal Jian's status, the fact that he was willing to arrange music for Yen Lu was all for the sake of Bai Lian. In the whole entertainment industry, no senior had a stature like Principal Jian's. If the PR department clarifies it, just push the responsibility onto Yen Lu. Sister Xian put down her teacup. Yen Lu had been through a lot, and Sister Xian had become indifferent. As for the rest, well, try to debunk it as much as possible. This isn't plagiarism to begin with. It seemed Sister Xian and Yen Lu were already out of control. The CEO lit a cigarette, looking at Sister Xian. In that case, let Yen Lu rest for a few more days. Let Man she replace her in Perfect Day this time to avoid the limelight. Perfect Day was a variety show invested in by Time Entertainment. Businessmen always seek profit and avoid harm. Now the netizens were all dodging Yen Lu, and a bunch of her past scandals was being circulated. Time Entertainment was worried about affecting the reputation of their produced variety show. Yen Lu was currently involved in 2 variety shows, Perfect Day and Come Here Friend. The latter had a signed contract, while the former did not. Of course, now with Yen Lu's situation escalating, it was damaging to the artist's image. The variety show could also break the contract and have Yen Lu compensate for it. Sister Xian took out her phone and got in touch with the marketing accounts. Just as she turned on her phone, she received a new friend notification. Chapter 453. 179 might be because I composed the music myself. Second update, _1. Xinjie added Bai Lian to her private account, which was known to few people. She opened her friends list, and although there was no information on the other party's certified page, the account name consisted of 3 words, Jiang Fulai. Just a profile picture and a name, and Xinjie felt a chill down her spine for no apparent reason. Back when she was in Chongqing, she had never heard anyone call out the name Jiang Fulai. Even a prominent lawyer like Qi Yundai was addressed as Young Master Jiang, but Jiang Fulai had mentioned his name when introducing himself. Xinjie remembered the pronunciation, but not the characters. Now she finally matched the characters with the pronunciation. She reached out to accept the friend request and took the initiative to send a greeting. Jiang Fulai on the other end didn't reply but recommended a business card to her. Jiang Fulai. Add him. Xinjie didn't dare to ask who this person was and directly added the stranger as a friend. She was just wondering who Jiang Xiaojun wanted her to add when the next second, the message from that person came through. Hello, I am Chu Rong, a planner from Shijiang. Shijiang, one of the top 3 marketing firms in the country, mostly deals with national brand projects. This was the first time Xinjie had connected with such a high-level executive. On the other side of the phone, Zhang Fulai had sent Bai Lian back home. Today wasn't late yet. Ji Hang was still embroidering in the courtyard, the large light illuminating and casting a long shadow behind him. His mobile phone was also next to the embroidery frame. He was video calling with Ji Xiaojun and Shen Qing. You're back early today. Hearing the sound of the door opening, Ji Hang raised his head slightly. Yes, Bai Lian put down her backpack, washed some fruit in the kitchen to share with Ji Hang and sat beside him. She greeted Shen Qing and Ji Xiaojun while speaking to Ji Hang. Grandpa, do you know about the Landau Zener crossover? What crossover? Ji Hang's wrinkled hand paused, his mind still lingering on the wave-particle duality of light. Had Bai Lian mentioned she wanted to switch subjects beforehand? He calmly made another stitch, deftly directing the conversation. There's something I need to tell you. Go ahead. Bai Lian bit into a pear, speaking unhurriedly. Your uncle is now in Jiangjing. Ji Hang knew Bai Lian was an excellent student, probably the smartest among the Ji family. Have you thought about what you want to do in the future? Bai Lian. Quantum mechanics. Her answer was crisp and decisive. Ji Hang. Are you going to study this? Wave-particle duality? What's that? On the other end of the phone, Shen Qing was full of confusion, and Ji Xiaojun also leaned in. Bai Lian looked encouragingly at Ji Hang, who set down his needle expressionlessly. All of this is related to quantum mechanics. In short, a photon is a superposition of waves and particles. To put it in plain terms, do you know about online games? You know there is a rock ahead, but it won't spawn until you get close. The moment you walk over, it immediately spawns. Shen Qing didn't understand, but she felt something odd and involuntarily rubbed her arms. I see, Ji Xiaojun nodded his head, his mind recently bombarded by a plethora of data. So, Alien is going to study physics? That's the plan for now. Bai Lian finished the pear. Uncle, is there something you need? Shen Qing chimed in from the side. He wants to find you to help him with the data analysis. Ji Xiaojun. Ji Hang picked up the needle again. Let's wait until after Alien's college entrance exams. Nearby, Bai Lian didn't bring up the crossover again, and Ji Hang finally relaxed. Meanwhile, with Zhang Fulai. In the study. His phone was lit up with a hands-free call activated. On the other end, Zhang Ziju's voice sounded puzzled. Marketing. Yes, Zhang Fulai reached out, picking up the cushion on the carpet with 2 fingers and casually tossed it onto the sofa. His voice was indifferent. The person is all I need. Okay, Zhang Shijue arranged it, curious about what it was but didn't dare to ask. Are you coming back next month? Zhang Fulai paused for a moment. Coming back. He ended the call, returned to his seat, and turned on the computer. The glow from the screen cast his face in a stark white light. He logged directly into WeChat. The request from Director Jian had been accepted, and the person had sent Zhang Fulai a video and a document. The video was an internal performance from Jiangjing Music Academy, and the document listed the names and times of the performers involved. He edited a segment from the video and took a screenshot of the list with Director Jian's name and the school's seal. Zhang Fulai. Do you mind if it's revealed that you are Jian? Zhang Fulai knew that Director Jian had used the pseudonym Jian to collaborate quietly with Bai Lian on music, purely for the music's sake, but had not expected that after the song became popular, such a situation would arise. At that time, Yen Lu was still relatively unknown, and Director Jian didn't want to label the song with something as significant as Director Jian. Chapter 454. 179 might be because I composed the music myself. Second update, _2. After the 2 songs, the reputation of the lyricist and composer by Jian and Jian had already been established. They were the rising stars in the circle. Whether Director Jian made a public appearance was no longer a concern. At least the new song wouldn't be tagged with Director Jian. Director Jian, I don't mind. Zhang Fulai had anticipated this as well, his fingertips idly tapping on the tabletop. With no issues from Director Jian's side, things would be easily manageable. The next day, Tuesday. Yen Lu's popularity was still sky high. Bai Lian received a WeChat message from Sister Xin during her afternoon class, telling her that Sister Xin had driven to Xueqi overnight. After the afternoon classes ended, at the Zhang family's place, Mother Zhang knew Yan Lu and the others had business to discuss, so she went to sell flowers in the front, leaving the backyard and the living room for Yan Lu and the others. Sister Xin had driven to Xueqi overnight and arrived in the morning. After getting some sleep at a motel, she didn't reach the Zhang family's place until now. Sister Xin, Sister Lu doesn't agree to post a clarification on Weibo, Huang said, having stayed up all night following public opinion, and poured a glass of water for Sister Xin. You haven't seen what people online are saying about Sister Lu. Yan Lu treated her assistant well, was approachable and not pretentious, and Huang liked this boss a lot. I know, Sister Xin said, holding a teacup and looking at Yan Lu. Did Lu Yang reject you? Yeah. Yan Lu wasn't surprised by this. I'll check with some old friends. Sister Xin took out her phone to call a friend within the circle, looking for someone to step in temporarily. As soon as the person on the other end heard it was about Yan Lu who had been at the peak of controversy these past few days, they politely declined. Are you guys sure about recording in Xueqi? Isn't that a bit too far? We're shooting in Xiqing recently. After hanging up the phone, Sister Xin also felt somewhat helpless. It was then that the back door was pushed open, and upon hearing the sound, Sister Xin quickly stood up. The person who entered was Bai Lian, one hand carrying a black backpack, the other holding a removed school uniform, and using her elbow to close the door as she walked in. Miss Bai, Sister Xin gave up her seat to Bai Lian, her tone full of apology. It's my fault, I've dragged both you and Director Jen into this. It's my fault, Yan Lu also felt very sorry. She hadn't expected the incident to disturb Bai Lian, who only loved studying. There are too many marketing accounts smearing me, and I've given them plenty of material in the past. It's okay. Bai Lian understood all there was to know about the entertainment industry. She didn't care much about it. Even Pu Xiaohan, who focused on making videos, was being slandered, let alone a public figure like Yan Lu. Teacher Zhang will arrange for clarifications later. Sister Xin paid attention to Bai Lian's expression, and seeing that she didn't mind, Sister Xin finally relaxed. I know. Zhang Fulai had mentioned this to her the night before, but Sister Xin still hadn't seen Zhang Fulai remove the trending search. Nor had there been any movement from Chu Rong in her contact list. For Sister Xin, the important thing wasn't the dirt on Yan Lu, but rather Bai Lian and Director Jen. Since neither of them would hold a grudge against Yan Lu because of this, she could rest assured. Across from her, Huang watched Sister Xin and Yan Lu treating Bai Lian, the high school student, with such respect that he was inwardly surprised. As Sister Xin was speaking, her phone lit up. She glanced at it, and her face lit up with excitement. Yan Lu, Teacher Mei Yi is willing to be the guest star for this episode. Teacher Mei Yi? Yan Lu was very surprised. How could he come? Bai Lian also looked up when she heard the name. She had been to the set of Great Yong. The Teacher Mei Yi in question was the actor who played Bai Zhongyu. Maybe he sees potential in you? Sister Xin, handling her phone, was clearly very excited. I'll talk to his agent about the variety show first. Bai Lian looked away and lazily at her phone, as Zhang Fulai sent her a WeChat message. Do you want to register on Weibo? Bai Lian? Question mark. Zhang Fulai. Screenshot. After opening it, Bai Lian saw a topic about Bai Jian. She didn't have a Weibo account, but after 3 songs, the fan count for the Weibo topic had already surpassed 100,000. She was rarely lost in thought, and as she downloaded Weibo, she suddenly remembered that she was leaving more and more of herself in this era. As Bai Lian was registering on Weibo, Jingjing was pondering. When Zhang Fulai received Bai Lian's Weibo account, it was a simple one-letter name, Jian. Just like Zhang he felt a little guilty every time he saw this character. After following Bai Lian, his phone rang. It was from Chu Rong. Young Master Zhang. Chu Rong's voice was very respectful on the other end of the phone. When Shi Zhang was close to running out of business, it was the Zhang family that invested in it. The marketing accounts and the popularity have all been arranged. Their team had planned out the strategy overnight. Chapter 455. 179 might be because I composed the music myself. Second update. _3. Ensure Yan Lu won't be stained by this incident and use the opportunity to push the song to another level of popularity. Although Chu Rong didn't quite understand why such a minor incident in the entertainment industry would warrant the attention of Jiang Fulai, who was said to have been hands-off for quite some time. Jiang Fulai walked to the isolation room, his voice faint. Okay, I'll have Dean Jian post on Weibo. Jian Zhongyo did have a Weibo account. When Jian Zhongyo received the message from Jiang Fulai, he was still at school. He stopped in the middle of the path, logged into his Weibo account, which he had just registered the previous night at Jiang Fulai's request, with only a few bot followers, but it was already verified. A big V verified so quickly? A teacher beside him looked at Jian Zongyi's V verified account and didn't understand. Jian Zhongyo hadn't even posted a single Weibo. I don't know. Jian Zhongyo opened Weibo and posted as per Jiang Fulai's request. Beijing. Time Entertainment. Man Shi and Enchi's teams met up. Man Shi, Enchi's agent smiled. Perfect day will still be yours, right? Man Shi pressed her lips together, nodding with a cool smile. I guessed as much. Enchi's agent then turned her head with a smile. I thought they would clarify that Yen Lu had nothing to do with the arrangement. I didn't expect Wang Xian to be so stubborn, actually refusing to agree. Enchi removed his sunglasses. Are you sure she doesn't have someone backing her? With the situation turned out like this, we haven't heard of any PR firm stepping up for her, his agent, who was antsy just yesterday, finally relaxed. Don't worry. Rumors had been circulating on the internet that Yen Lu had the support of a high-level executive from Zhongguang Group. Compared to Zhongguang Group, Time Entertainment was like an ant to an elephant. Although paparazzi had been stalking Yen Lu for months, they hadn't caught a glimpse of the rumored sugar daddy. Yen Lu's issue was still trending on Weibo without any forceful measures to remove it from the hot search. It seemed the rumors were just that. Rumors. The group was quite relaxed together. Enchi's agent laughed and said, Enchi, why don't you and Man Shi go out for a meal in a couple of days? I'll arrange for someone to take pictures. To ride this wave of public opinion, Enchi's studio had spent a lot of money. As they were talking outside, an assistant hurried in with a phone in hand. Mr. Enchi, something's wrong, look at the hot search. Making a big deal out of nothing, Enchi's agent frowned. What happened? Everyone in the room took out their phones and opened Weibo. Weibo was a bit slow. Netizens thought the Yen Lu incident had come to an end, but little did they know that at 6 o'clock today, another bombshell dropped. The top hot search was, time to eat melons, followed by the word, explode. Click in and you see that several major marketing accounts had reposted a Weibo post from someone named Jian with the emoji of eating melons, VJian. Maybe because I composed the music myself, image, / at Black Friday, screenshot. So similar, do you think I'm blind not to see it? Was this the mysterious composer? Everyone was taken aback, then they went to check Jian's Weibo verification. Jian Zhongyo, Dean of Zhongjing Music Academy, National Team's Chief Guzheng Player, Royal Music Academy. Looking back at Jian's two screenshots, the first was the comparison made by netizens of that music performance, the second was a list of that performance with 3 words in the column for the guidance teacher, Jian Zhongyo. And there was an official stamp behind it. The top trending comment was very direct. What the hell? The legendary self-plagiarism? Isn't the biggest bombshell that Jian is actually Dean Jian? The arranger is Dean Jian, damn. Who wrote the lyrics and composed the music? Who could have made Dean Jian willingly arrange the music? Why not take a look at his following list? Chapter 456. 180 Regretting Not Doing It Sooner. Mysterious Composition Under 1. Netizens mostly came for the excitement, and the vast majority of them did not recognize Dean Jian. But there were some professionals in the comments section providing explanations, along with striking and vivid contrasts. The status of the Dean of Zhongjing Music Academy might not be known to those who don't study art or mingle in this area. But when you compare him with the president of Zhongjing University, it becomes crystal clear to everyone. Yen Lu had a 3S+ level drama waiting to be aired, and beyond that, 3 songs that had broken through the music industry in China this year. No one could have imagined that the obscure arranger would be someone like Jian Zhongyo, who was detached from the entertainment circle. Jian Zhongyo could be called a master, an artist who could perform at national events. Perhaps many netizens still couldn't imagine Dean Jian's status in the world of national music. But Enchi and his entourage, who had been to the music academy for lectures, were well aware. Enchi's agent felt like he was going insane, his hands trembling. The arranger for Yen Lu is him? From the very first song? Why has there never been any hype on Yen Lu's side? This didn't make sense. And Chi went to Zhongjing University for a single lecture and got through to so many marketing accounts. Yen Lu's arranger is Jian Zhongyou, and Wang Xian doesn't pay for internet trolls and marketing accounts for promotion? He was the same as most netizens. If the arranger is Jian Zhongyou, then who else could even be mentioned in the same breath as him for songwriting and composing? And Chi's agent clicked on Dean Jian's following list. The short video app was suitable for the elderly, so Dean Jian was often active on the video app. This was his first time registering on Weibo, and his account was only following 3 people. Yen Lu, the official Weibo of Zhongjing Music Academy, and as in Chi looked at the last one, an account with a system-generated gray avatar and the name, Pic. The Weibo account was obviously newly registered, with no posts, but already had 100,000 followers. Beside him, and Chi also stood up incredulously, the arranger is Dean Jian. Then everything made sense. Right, he also follows Yen Lu, and Chi's agent said, somewhat dazed. No wonder Wang Xian would rather Yen Lu be suppressed than issue a clarifying Weibo post, even letting Yen Lu give up, perfect day. This all-in gamble had resulted in a total loss for their side, as the millions invested earlier had completely turned into traffic for Yen Lu. That was the top artist in national music, a height in art they in the entertainment industry could never reach in their entire lifetimes. Thinking about the earlier marketing Chi had done because of his visit to Zhongjing Music Academy, the agent couldn't help but glance at Manchi beside him. Manchi was a first-tier actress created by Time Entertainment, and at the beginning, he had chosen her for Chi over Yen Lu because of her popularity. Now, however, the agent was beginning to regret it. If they hadn't backstabbed Yen Lu, would this popularity also include a part for Chi? Would they perhaps also have had the chance to have Dean Jian arrange music for Chi? Once some thoughts appeared, they couldn't be contained, and even Manchi standing to the side could sense this. Xiangcheng. After Sister Xin finished a phone call with teacher Mei Yi and confirmed the filming location and celebrity guests with the directors of Come Here Friend. With teacher Mei Yi coming, you won't have much pressure, Sister Xin said, coming back from the yard with her phone in her hand. Will you be filming here? The show crew might give you a script. A script? Bai Lian heard for the first time that even variety shows required scripts and she looked up, surprised. Sister Xin was also helpless. There's only teacher Mei Yi among the celebrity guests. The other groups probably have several friends from within the circle. Yen Lu's everyday life is dull, while other artists watch shows, have numerous friends, talk about life. She spends every day reading books and studying acting with her teacher. I'm afraid she'll invite teacher Mei Yi over, and they'll spend a couple of days reading books. Can you imagine the audience watching them read for 2 hours? As she spoke, Sister Xin looked toward Bai Lian. Since she met Bai Lian, Yen Lu had been reading books more diligently than the average high school senior. In the Great Yong Drama's promotional clips, most of the snippets of Yen Lu were of her reading books or scripts and observing her seniors. Take them to visit Wallow Street, Bai Lian suggested. However, as a phenomenally popular tourism street, it was always crowded and might not be suitable for long-term shooting. Bai Lian tilted her head, looking at Yen Lu, as her fingertips tapped on the table, slowly starting to think. Perhaps because she felt guilty about not keeping a closer eye on Zhang Xiai's, Bai Lian had been feeling remorseful about his year in prison and became even more caring towards Yen Lu and Zhang's mother. Sister Xin's phone rang again. It was the CEO of Time Entertainment. As soon as she picked up the call, the delightful voice on the other end rang out. Sister Xin, look at you, not letting us know sooner that the arranger is Dean Jian. Chapter 457. 180 Regretting Not Doing It Sooner. Mysterious Composition Underscore 2. The boss politely called out. Sister Xin. Wang Xian was stunned at the moment. She didn't know about Zhang Fulai's and Director Jian's plan, but when the boss mentioned it, she realized that Director Jian must have clarified the situation online. She responded with a few words, and then the boss suggested introducing a few more good friends from the industry to Yen Lu to help her with the recording of the show, which Wang Xian rejected. All right then, I'll talk to the friends from the show and get Yen Lu on for a couple more episodes. The boss didn't mind. By the way, who is the composer and lyricist for the arranger Director Jian? He was fishing for information. Regardless of the upcoming drama's performance, people in the circle all knew that Yen Lu would be popular just by her songs. Given the quality of the composing and lyrics, and with Director Jian arranging lately, there's no one in the music industry who could compare. Sister Zin's gaze fell on Bai Lian, skillfully deflecting the conversation. The boss of Time Entertainment was also tactful, not probing further. She was on the phone, while Xiaotian and Huang next to her hadn't received the Weibo notification, but their WeChats were bombarded with inquiries from numerous friends. As soon as Huang unlocked his phone, he saw a message from a friend who also worked in the industry. Yan Lu's arranger is the dean of Zhongjing Music Academy? Damn, you kept such a big secret from me. I've been worried for you for 2 days. De Huang, I'm really angry now, smile. Huang. Huh? At night, 10 o'clock. Backter Street Bar. Bai Lian sat on a high stool, leisurely writing down her homework. The first batch of old doctors will soon get their licenses. Mao Kuan was tapping on the bar, signaling the bartender for a cocktail. Xueqi hasn't returned yet. The pharmacies in first-tier cities have all rejected the solid element paste. The solid foundation paste had low profits and the market was intentionally suppressing it, but it sold well in Chongqing among locals and tourists. The rest relied on Mao Kun's ability to move merchandise at the underground fighting ring. Only the medicine usage there was too vigorous to break into the mainstream market. But he said he's going to do something with sinking. Mao Kun didn't understand these things. The Luo family is the domestic medicine emperor, financed by our country to suppress other Chinese medicine markets, Sun Chun explained as she came over with a tray. So Mr. Xueqi decided to first penetrate the lower-tier market, only going into rural and 18th-tier city pharmacies. He's already found dozens of distributors. The people of Chongqing all knew about the large-scale purchases of Chinese herbs, and many of them had not gone out to work this year, staying to grow medicinal herbs in Chongqing. Once the market opened up, everything else would be easier to handle. Bai Lian was listening on the side, not quite understanding, but after Sun Chun's explanation, she got it. This was a long-term battle. There wasn't much Bai Lian and Mao Kuan could do to help. Bai Lian only asked them to teach her the set of acupuncture techniques for myopia once they got their traditional Chinese medicine licenses. I have a fight scheduled for Saturday, Mao Kuan mentioned to Bai Lian after their conversation. Sis, are you coming to watch? Mao Kuan didn't fight very often now, but the fighting ring had invited him because he was so popular. A fight? Bai Lian wrote down another line under the light, remembering what Sister Xueqi had said. Is it hard to get tickets for the fight? That's for outsiders. I'm practically one of the family at the ring. Mao Kuan took a sip of his cocktail. He had never been to high school, but he was curious. Are high school assignments really that numerous these days? Every time Bai Lian was at her busiest, she had to write homework, always homework. Having finished her work, Bai Lian did not check her answers, but leisurely turned the page. Can you bring people in to film? She explained that Yan Lu needed to record a TV program. Wallow Street was too crowded and Yan Lu couldn't visit often, but Backter Street was full of international folks, and no one would recognize a domestic minor celebrity. There were also many interesting things. Sister Xueqi thought Yan Lu was too dull and worried the show wouldn't have a good effect. Mao Kuan didn't know. He muttered into his phone for a while, then said to Bai Lian, but they can only have 5 tickets. However, the footage needs to be screened by the fighting ring after post-production, since many things in Backter Street shouldn't be revealed to the public. I'll have Xiaowu follow them, so they won't cause any trouble. Xiaowu was now a well-known small-time player in Backter Street. 5 tickets meant that most of the variety show crew couldn't come. Got it. Bai Lian nodded in agreement. Behind them, Sun Chun returned to the bar, picked up a lemon, and thought to herself, bringing people here to shoot a variety show, aren't they going to be scared to death? Are you about to leave? Bai Lian suddenly remembered this and turned her head to look at Sun Chun. Chapter 458. 180 Regretting Not Doing It Sooner. Mysterious Composition Underscore 3. Sun Chun fetched a bottle of alcohol from behind and showed great respect to Bai Lian. Mr. Xueqi asked me to go to Zhongjing to mix drinks and learn a few things. The bar had a branch in Zhongjing. Bai Lian watched Sun Chun smear lemon around the rim of the glass, smoothly flipping it in the air. The bar's lights shone on Sun Chun's seductive face as she moved with grace and ease. Would drinks made like this taste better? She picked up the drink Sun Chun had mixed for her. It was very mild, quite different from the alcohol she was used to. Beside her, the male bartender handed over his own mixed drink to Mao Kuan with a look of grievance. Mr. Mao, why does Miss Bai only drink what Sun Chun mixes? Is mine not tasty? Mao Kuan glanced at Sun Chun and then at Bai Lian. No, it's also possible that yours just doesn't look as good. Thursday. Su Nanjing drove Bai Lian back to Purist Street. In most cases, Su Nanjing had replaced Ming Dongheng as Bai Lian's chauffeur. We're going to Backter Street to watch the fights this Saturday. Su Nanjing stopped the car at the intersection and looked back at Bai Lian. Bai Lian, little sister, do you want to go? It's a rare opportunity. I only got it through Chael. In the passenger seat, absorbed in Weibo, Xiao Bingwen lifted his head and hesitated. It's too bloody, better not. It was a mess there too. Su Nanjing realized and looked in the rearview mirror at Bai Lian, who was reading her book obediently. That's right, Bai Lian, little sister, you should focus on your studies. Bai Lian lazily responded with a hum. The car speakers were playing a loop of 3 songs by Yen Lu, connected via Bluetooth by Xiao Bingwen. As Su Nanjing started the car, he asked, Do you like Yen Lu that much? Xiao Bingwen returned to WeChat to message Lung Shuha. Xiao Bingwen, I can't believe your teacher is involved. Lung Shuha, she has the talent, it's rare for someone to have arrangements done by the teacher, I wonder who the composer is. You don't get it, Xiao Bingwen held his phone. If you knew who did the arrangement, it would shock you. Su Nanjing wasn't interested in the entertainment circle. He was preoccupied with dealing with Chael's matter recently or thinking about how to formally introduce Bai Lian to the Su family or how to introduce the Empress Mother to Bai Lian. Messages hit the wall. Who is it? Su Nanjing replied nonchalantly. Dean Jian, Xiao Bingwen whispered with a mysterious tone. Shu's teacher. Ah! Although Su Nanjing had heard of these two, he had never met them and was quite surprised. He's arranging for a star? Yes, Xiao Bingwen sighed. Everyone's guessing who the mysterious composer is. They're definitely not any less talented than Dean Jian. This has been a frenzy in both the music industry and entertainment world. Xiao Bingwen was close to Lang Shuha and naturally understood music too. The fact that Yen Lu's 3 songs were such a hit already illustrated the composer's abilities. After Dean Jian appeared, even Lang Shuha and his circle were guessing who the lyricist and composer were, not to mention others. Su Nanjing also found it unexpected, then remembered something and explained to Bai Lian in the back seat. Dean Jian, that's the teacher who's really good at guzheng. Bai Lian, little sister, when you go to Zhongjing, I have a surprise for you. He recalled something Gao Yan had told him. In the back seat, Bai Lian lazily turned a page. The car arrived at Purist Street. Bai Lian said goodbye to Su Nanjing. Next to Purist Street's trash cans, a blonde-haired man squatting and smoking stood up when he saw Bai Lian. With a cigarette dangling from his mouth, he pulled a few tickets out of his pocket and handed them to Bai Lian. Bai Lian reached out to take them. Inside the car, seeing Bai Lian interacting with a ruffian with yellow hair, Su Nanjing couldn't help but sit up straight, his gaze following as the yellow-haired man gave Bai Lian something. Hey! Su Nanjing sat up, his eyes narrowing slightly, and tapped Xiao Bingwen's shoulder. Doesn't the thing in her hand look familiar? Chapter 459, 181st Annual Feel-Good Article. Alien offers tickets, second update. _1 Xiao Bingwen was messaging Lang Shuha while casually browsing Weibo. Lang Shuha, link, Lang Shuha, this big shot's Weibo. He clicked on the link and saw a Weibo post with the word, found, with only 1 following, which was the Douyin platform, but already had 2.01 million fans. All active ones. Is this the Weibo of the lyricist and composer? Xiao Bingwen followed the account and heard Su Nanjing's voice, and when he looked up, he saw Bai Lian slipping the blue ticket back into his school uniform pocket. It does look a bit like your ticket, Xiao Bingwen paused. It looked very much like a Fight Club ticket, but she seems to have many? Those tickets could only be obtained by Su Nanjing through Chael. The Chen family might also be able to get them since it said they have a senior brother in the Fight Club. But Su Nanjing and Xiao Bingwen were not familiar with them. Even so, Su Nanjing had only gotten 3 tickets. At a glance, Bai Lian seemed to have many. It couldn't be, right? And, considering Bai Lian's demeanor, she did not seem like someone who would go to a gory place like a fight club. It seemed he sensed their gaze. The blonde guy smoking looked up and smiled at Xiao Bingwen and Su Nanjing. He wore a black t-shirt with a skull pattern and a silver necklace around his neck, exuding a vibrant vibe. Xiao Bingwen. It shouldn't be. The next day, Friday, Bai Lian sent the organized data to Hewan. Hewan sent her a message of thanks. Through a long corridor, the Research Institute office. Wearing a blue radiation suit, Hewan stood in front of all the team members, listening to Jiang Fulai speak. The underground laboratory was naturally cold, with cold white lighting, and surrounded by high-tech machinery. Zhang Fulai was sitting in his seat with the computer screen displaying academic papers in front of him. One hand rested on the armrest while the other pointed at the computer screen, his prominent nose adorned with glasses and lips tightly pursed. His cold, white fingertips paused on an example, and he slightly turned his head. Adhesive forces and repulsive forces have opposite curvatures. One causes space to contract and the other causes it to expand. Are you using this example to discuss positive and negative energy? What should I say to you? Should I encourage you to bravely challenge Dirac? He chuckled disdainfully, and others in the know understood that it was directed at He-Wen, who lowered his head even further. He-Wen. After Zhang Fulai finished looking over everything, he stood up with his phone. Is this the review you organized? He glanced again at the printed documents in He-Wen's hands. He-Wen, yes, new literature. Zhang Fulai gave him a cold look. You don't need to write acknowledgements. He-Wen. Once Zhang Fulai left, other team members approached, imitating Zhang Fulai's words and then patting He-Wen on the shoulder. Brave enough to challenge Dirac, that's He-Wen. You're our lab's next Dirac. Today, only He-Wen was rebuked, while the rest reveled in his misfortune. He-Wen, holding several papers and smiling, said, Say that one more time, and next time Zhang Shao invites us to eat, you all can order for yourselves. The others. He-Wen turned back to his station, picked up his phone, and vented to Bai Lian. Got scolded today, running with tears, running with tears, running with tears. Shangqing No. 1 Middle School. When Bai Lian saw He-Wen's message, she had already finished school. She glanced down at his reply. He-Wen often got scolded, and she was used to it by now. In class 15, a bunch of people gathered, with Pu Xiaohan speaking loudly. We don't have to go to Aunt Zhang's place for the next few days. Yan Lu is going to record a show there. Bai Lian slowly followed behind the group. She was looking through the questions on the Zhangjing app. Upon opening the app, she saw cries of anguish all over the public screen, but Bai Lian wasn't paying attention and just kept brushing through the questions, most of which were fill in the blank. Wang Qi, Pu Xiaohan, and the others had been in the midst of a heated discussion. That was until they saw the person standing at the doorway of the bubble tea shop, and their voices subconsciously quieted down quite a bit. When Bai Lian looked up, she saw Zhang Fulai standing in the corner outside the bubble tea shop. School had been out for a while, but there were still plenty of people at the bubble tea shop. Zhang Fulai stood in the corner about 2 to 3 meters away from the doorway, where the warm light of the setting sun slanted down through the roof. He was clad in a black jacket, the zipper left undone to reveal the snow-white t-shirt underneath, with his fringe longer than his eyebrows, casually swiping his phone screen, looking both disengaged and aloof. As Ning Xiao and Tang Ming passed by, they respectfully greeted Zhang Fulai. Zhang Fulai looked up indifferently. I'm going to see Yan Lu. Bai Lian didn't go into the bubble tea shop. Instead, she shielded her eyes from the still somewhat glaring sunset with her phone and slightly raised her head.